It's okay. I don't see anybody in chat, so I think everybody forgot we did this.
Great.
They'll show up eventually, though. It's fine. It's like, the internet has the attention span of squirrels, just like us.
Right. If, the YouTube notifications
Oh,
work,
shit,
right?
we're live. Oh, I'm going to get canceled for calling the internet squirrels. No! No! Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Tech Talk. We're going to let some people roll in here. AuxxZillary over there gets his microphone working. It decided it wanted to go flaccid today. We ran out of computer Viagra, so
yeah,
he's getting her figured out right now. It just takes a little bit of time. This is part of Tech Talk, is fixing technology. Why don't you walk us through what you're doing there, Mr. AuxxZillary, in this DIY jerry rig DIY-gasm AuxxZillary episode of how to fix your mic stand.
My mic boom, the part that actually holds the mic, the twisty bit, this guy.
That is the technical term.
Yeah. I think because I'm just way too strong. So it's got a square piece on the bolt that's supposed to keep the bolt from spinning free, right? Well, you guys can't tell, but I can tell that the square piece in the bracket is rounded out. I just twisted it too hard. And so I have another boom, but it doesn't have the, like, what is it, 1/2 inch or whatever, the microphone thread to it. You can kind of see it here. It's actually meant for a camera. It's a camera arm.
That's a camera arm?
It's got the 1/4 inch thread for a camera. This one I'm working on right now. Yeah,
I've never seen one of those actually like set up for a camera arm before. They've always been either lamps or mic stands.
Yeah, I thought that I had intended to use this for like the overhead camera, but it's longer than the one I'm using, but it's still not really works well enough. It doesn't go high enough for the workbench.
Gotcha. I'm just using the old Guitar Center $20 cheapie that just has like a block of concrete at the bottom of like a metal pole, and it works great.
I'm trying to swap out this piece for the one on the other arm, and I'm making some progress here.
No, this is wonderful. I mean, this is the technology. Dude, are you drinking coffee out of a fucking Pyrex measuring cup?
Yeah.
I just noticed that. I was like, why is there a bowl of soup on his desk? And I'm like, that's his coffee.
Yeah, it's half a pot or so.
Dude, you win the internet today. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody drink coffee out of a Pyrex measuring cup. That's legit.
My normal cup is metal, so I can't microwave this one.
Oh.
And I figure, you know what? Since it's already in the cup and it's warm, I'll just drink it out of that.
You're like, I want me some hot coffee, so I'm gonna take one for the team.
Unfortunately, these things are not well insulated at all. Like the conduction on this is like super high. Like
you can literally cook on the oven, can't you? With those, can't you like literally put that on the burner and like boil water in it?
I wouldn't recommend it, but yeah, probably it's oven safe at least. But I wouldn't put this over the stove.
Oh, okay. Was Corning like a different formula? Like, remember that Corning cookware?
Corning still makes. They're the ones behind Gorilla Glass.
Yeah, remember they made like you could buy the glass pots and pans and shit. Like I remember my grandma had them back in the day.
I have Pyrex baking dishes. That's what I mean. Like oven, no doubt. Yeah, but stove, I'd be a little careful.
No, but I'm saying Corning used to actually make pots that you could put on the stove that were like all glass that you could like use gas or electric to heat.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I remember that they like I think they broke down after like 10 years and got brittle, so like people were just having them like explode on their countertop under the stress and like blow water all over them, so they stopped making them.
Oh shit, that's not cool.
But no, my grandma used to have them. I always thought it was the coolest thing ever because like when you're boiling water and you're like boiling eggs or like ramen or something like that, you could literally like see it through the side like boiling. And I thought that was really, really cool. But yeah, I remember it was cheap too. It was like by comparison to the metal stuff, it was really, really cheap. That's why my grandma had it, because we were like super poor people. Still am. Hey, everybody in chat, what's up? Let me welcome a couple of you fabulous sons of bitches to the Tech Talk that is the YouTubes. What's up, Queezark, Enfierter, Shallon D? How you guys doing? We got Wings Cancer in the house. He said mashed potatoes. Okay. Well, I can see this is going to be a great show. Oh, by the way, David is not going to be joining us today. Sorry, guys. Last night, he notified me this morning that he has to go fight with the tax man. So he will be back next week for the show. So in the meantime, you will just have to tolerate me and old AuxxZillary here, the microphone repairman, and we will get you through this hard and rough time. Tech We Love said, did you already talk about how Google supercharges YouTube? No, we have not. We're still waiting for people to get in here while Ox fixes his microphone. It usually takes about 15 minutes before everybody shows up. We're at 177 concurrent users. We usually peak out at around 500-600. So we're just allowing people ample time to get their coffee, grab some popcorn, put on some slippers, and just sit down in front of that computer to listen to our buttery, sexy voices. And you know, AuxxZillary, I'm trying to give him time to like fix his microphone while everybody's coming in here. So I'm just going to engage the chat. But yeah, we will be talking about that. The topics today, of course, are Google Supercharges YouTube. We're going to talk about that. That's a hardware topic. We got AirDrop could be hacked because, you know, of course, you got to throw a little fear and drama into that shit. And then we got NASA Mars helicopter flies on Mars. So obviously that applies. So anyways, helicopters do fly. That's what they do. But yeah, that's Ingenuity's little helicopter. And what's it called? What's Ingenuity's helicopter's name? Oh, he doesn't got a microphone. I forgot it was unplugged. Oh shit!
Perseverance is the big drone. Ingenuity is the helicopter.
Ingenuity is the helicopter. Okay, thank you, sir. You may unplug again. Yeah, no. So anyways, we're gonna talk about Ingenuity's flight. I mean, spoilers, it was successful. Like, obviously, if they can land a freaking drone the size of a Honda Civic on the surface of Mars using a giant sky crane with 4 rockets on it and like a decelerating like vessel that doesn't just blow up on impact, I'm pretty sure they could figure out how to get a freaking RC helicopter to fly for like a couple of seconds. So to be honest, it wasn't that big of a surprise to me when it was successful, but at the same time, I mean, it's pretty amazing shit. But we'll talk about that more when the resident NASA nerd gets on comms here, because Ox is definitely about as NASA nerd as they come. I know he doesn't look the part, but he definitely plays the part. Hey, what's up, Krillin64? How you doing, my brother? Hey, what's up, Muhammad? He said, love you, Jerry, all the way from Pakistan. What is up, my man? Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here from Pakistan. What time is it in Pakistan right now? I'm curious. Colonel64 said, how are you doing today? A little rough. I woke up and was like, you know, shooting out the brown salad for a little while and have had some stomach cramps, but I think I'm doing all right now. It's probably a little bit too much information for you, but I'm doing better. I'm definitely doing better. AuxxZillary had a little mishap this morning. His microphone arm decided to go AWOL on him. Not AOL. That's different. That's dee. No, it blew out a bolt. So he's doing a on-site repair in the field. Hey, what's up, Tech We Love? He said, did you know that Russia and China are working on planning a moon base? I mean, it doesn't surprise me, actually. China's actually really advanced in the space race. A lot of people don't realize that, but it kind of makes sense since NASA probably buys like 90% of the technology that builds all their stuff from China. So it kind of makes sense that China would eventually just use their own stuff and build a bigger, better rocket. Good luck catching up to Elon, though. Elon's kind of set a whole new bar with the whole space race thing. As a matter of fact, I heard a rumor has it, and it's not a rumor. I know it's out there, but I heard that our moon landing mission, NASA like stepped down, and now the Falcon 9 rocket's going to carry the mission. Like, what? Hey, Ox, what are you doing over there? Are you DJing? Waka 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 waka. All right, he's getting this. Oh, it looks like the microphone is in fact upright, guys. I can see the little bunghole sticking down. It is. Oh, he's plugging it in. Wait for it. Wait for the sound. Oh.
Except it's facing the wrong way.
Well, spin that shit around. Come on.
Then it doesn't. That's not right, man.
This is a professional production, man. Spin it around.
Yeah, okay.
Hey. This is professional, okay? I spend at least 10 minutes of my week getting this show set up, bro. I spend 10 minutes of my week just painstaking laboring, pushing on buttons with my mouse cursor.
Like, why can't I just rotate this in the fucking...
Hey, Purple Johnny said, thanks for the review of the Yamaha MG mixer. Got one set up and it's sounding superb. You are very welcome, man. I still use mine to this day. This is now officially the new king of the longest mixer I've ever used. It's also the most sold item of anything that I've ever listed an Amazon affiliate link for, which I found really amazing considering how much it costs. Usually high cost items don't sell as much. The only thing that's outsold that is the fans, the little Arctic, like $8 fans. So, all right, Ox, give us an update. What do you got going on there, bro?
Okay, look, I don't know how to get this thing turned around without like being weird.
I have an idea. Flip it upside. Just flip it upside down on the mount. Just rotate it so it's pointing down towards the table. And then, oh yeah. Can you rotate it outward and then down, like origami that shit?
Like that, I guess.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough. There you go.
And then I can. Is that okay? Is
yeah.
Like
then
it's kind of up high.
And then point the camera so we can see you. So we're not looking at your watch and your man titties.
Is that too high? Is that okay?
No, that sounds great.
Oh, good, because it's like Almost arm's length. Okay.
No, I think it's because you have. I think OBS Ninja adds a compressor now automatically. So even if you get a little bit further away, we'll lose some fidelity, but you should still sound nice and good. So give us some words, fine sir.
Words.
Yeah, I hear you just fine, guys in chat.
Awesome. Cool, because like you're way. It's like announcer status.
Yeah, I mean, you're still. It looks like you're still clipping into the red. Our levels are similar. I just have more bass because I'm closer to my microphone. But no, you sound fine.
Bass. I mean, I could boost my bass.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. There you go. Can you bring it any closer than that? Like just a smidge closer, or is it like?
I can bring it down a little.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
It can be a frame. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I can also boost my. I can boost myself in a mixer or something if that would
boost
help.
Your mixer up just a little bit.
It's just a little bit. Just a little bit. A little more.
I think we're matching. We're both hitting. Yeah, negative.
Toast?
Yeah.
Toast?
Yeah, we're both negative 10 dB,
Awesome.
so it should be good.
Super duper.
Should be good. And then if people say I'm too loud, I'll just do this. I'll just go, woo. Hey, now I'm not too loud. Look at that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's analog volume adjustment.
Yeah, there we go.
Right, dude, we're back in business. All right. Let's see. We got 278 people. People are still pouring in. Did you Twitter out the link, my friend?
No, I'll get on that right now.
All right, he's on it. We got all of our topics lined up. We are rare and ready to go. Hey, surprisingly, this is actually one of our faster setup times.
That's for sure.
You want to start a petition for me to grow a beard? I can't really grow a beard. I've tried.
You really can't.
I've tried.
Everything every time.
I just look like I should be driving a van that says free candy on the side and have like a roll of smokes like rolled up in my arm sleeve. Like I never achieve like man beard status. It's always like kind of halfway through puberty beard, and that's about all I get. Kind of sucks. Krillin64 said, do you have a good USB mic suggestion to upgrade my Blue Snowball to when I have the money? Well, Blue Snowballs actually sound pretty good, but an AT2020 would probably be like the next step up from that. And and they're cheap. Like you can find, if you look for them used, you can find them for like $50, $50-$60 used, or you can buy a brand new one for like, I don't know, what are they, like $90 now? Something like that?
Around there, yeah, probably. Well, with the whole like everybody working from home thing, you might end up paying a little more. But
that's true. I forgot about that.
There's also a USB version of the NT1, which is what you're using.
That is true, but that thing also costs like $300. So
I didn't know.
Yeah, they're a little on the spendy side. The one cool thing about the AT2020 though is I believe the XLR and the USB version are the same price. So if you don't have a mixer board and you need like the audio interface built into the microphone, the AT2020 USB just plugs right into a USB port and it's good to go.
Nice.
There's also a knockoff AT2020 that a lot of people don't know about called a pluggable USB Vox. It's basically just an AT2020 rebranded, and it's about $20 cheaper, and it only comes in USB. They don't have an XLR version of that one, but I used it for years, and people said it sounded fantastic. I'd use it when I was traveling, connected to my laptop for doing like live streams for Maker Faire and stuff like that. So, but a Blue Snowball isn't bad. I would honestly say like with the Yeti Blue Snowball, just get it a little bit closer to your face. Because it's near field, and just pump up the bass a little bit on it. It's a little bit, bass void, but if you just EQ in a little bass, either through OBS or through like a physical mixer board, God, it'll sound great, man. Like I know people that still use Blue Snowballs today. They have more viewers than I do. So
it's definitely even like a Yeti or something, the same deal. It's definitely about the EQ after the fact. Like there's like filters and stuff you can get or plugins for OBS that'll help with that if that's your angle.
I can do a demonstration. This is a $300, I think it was $300 mic. And if I take all the EQ out of it, so let me just flatten it. So this is what it sounds like with absolutely no EQ and no pop filter. And then if I get too far away from it, then this is what I sound like, and it's like nothing remarkable at all. Yeah. But like
that's how Jerry sounds in real life.
Yeah, but then you put on a pop filter, like this, and you get up nice and close. And you're like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" But then I still sound like flat because
there's like a
this is a
tinny, but
this microphone is used for mostly recording instruments. Surprisingly, it's a really really flat microphone, meaning it doesn't add anything in the bass, anything in the treble. It just records what it hears. So, but what the cool thing about that is because it's neutral, I can add in bass and add in treble and stuff without blowing it out. So if I want to just add in a little bit of bass there and a little bit of treble at the high end, and now I'm like radio voice Jerry. Welcome to the stream. Hi guys. Look at that. I didn't have to buy a new microphone and I sound that much better. Buy my radio CD telethon cassette tape from 60 Minutes at night. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I'm still half asleep, guys. I gotta drink my coffee. You bet, Krillin64. What else we got going on over here in the chat? If SafeMoon passes this audit dose, does that mean anything? Or audit, does that mean anything? I'm invested, but total gamble. Well, it's a total gamble no matter what. Even if it does pass audit, it's still a total gamble. What? I mean, anytime you look at it, SafeMoon is this new like crypto token that's basically like a crypto coin that like the longer you hold it, the more you're rewarded, which is very pyramid scheme-ish.
That seems strange.
Yeah, and it's like, and the people that created it technically hold like way more than they should of it. So it's just another fly-by-night token. I don't think it's going to have any like lasting or staying power personally, but at least it's not a scam like BitCloud is. Like BitCloud is just an open. Weird. Yeah, they're an open straight up scam. So, but at least SafeMoon is like, you know, they're kind of their marketing is a little bit. I don't want to say I mean, it's dishonest. And it's pointing out like best case scenario, like everybody's a winner and everybody's gonna get rich, blah blah. No, that's not how it works. Like somebody has to get screwed for somebody to make money. Yeah. That's obviously how it works. Anytime you're selling a token, it's like people are only gonna buy it for what it's worth at the time, and if too many people sell it, then the price goes down, and if it's under the water of what you paid for it, you're screwed. That's just how it works. So not unlike other investments, right? Just at a lower volume. And the market cap on all the coins is total BS. Even on like coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum and stuff, like whenever they predict the market cap like they do with like stocks and stuff, they're like way off, and it's like way up into like the $1 trillion atmosphere, and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they can't really have one yet, right? Because it's estimated. They're still minting more coins, so like that's going to change. Yeah,
it's always a predicted market cap, right? It's never solidified. And like with BitClout, like half the coins like were minted on day one and given to the owner. Yeah. So even if it did, if everything about it became legit and it became actually decentralized with it's not, actually open source when it's not, and all those things happen to make it like legitimate and not a total scam, you would still have one guy that holds 50% of every coin that can ever exist. So anytime if an exchange ever put it on there, it would just tank down to fractions of a penny, because he could literally sell out for millions and millions and millions of dollars. And everybody else would get completely screwed because they're starting at some insanely high valuation of like $170 a token, which makes no sense. So that one's an obvious scam. SafeMoon is, I don't want to call SafeMoon a scam. I just want to say it's just gambling. It's just another one of these fly by night. Everybody's got a stimulus check. Nobody understands how crypto works. Let's try to get everybody to let's put a bunch of wow factors on this and a bunch of bullet points about how you're going to get so rich hanging on this coin. Well, first of all, if you have to hold on to something forever to make it go up, okay, listen to that. Like, just listen to that sell. Like, the longer you hold, the more you make. No, because they're basically saying that they don't want anybody to ever sell the token because nobody's going to sell it because it just keeps guaranteeing going up in value. But it can't. That's not a sustainable model.
That's like one of the first. So like I'm very basics when it comes to like stocks and stuff, right? And that's like one of the very first things that I really had to wrap my head around was that, like, as an example, I invested into Carnival Cruise. Okay, back when it was like $11. Yeah. Okay, it's upwards of 25 now, and I have no intention of selling until it gets back to the 40 plus that it was. I'm going to make some bank off of this one. I know it, because they're going to come back. It's Carnival Cruise. They're going to come back. But I keep looking at it, and it's been going up. It's actually been up about 120%. So, like I said, it's about $25 now. And I see, oh man, if I sold right now, I make $400 or something. But it isn't anything until I sell.
Yeah.
And people forget that. Like, it's not cash in hand. The value doesn't exist until I sell it. And so that's like, sometimes it's like a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around. It's like, it isn't money yet.
Yeah. So let me give you an example. I know multiple people that hold Dogecoins in the millions, literally millions of Dogecoin. Yeah. They can't get the money for it that it's worth, because if they sold 1 million Dogecoin, by the time they sold their 10,000th coin, it would tank it. Yeah. And it would just start going down, and they get diminishing returns. And eventually there'd be so much supply outweighing demand that it wouldn't be worth anything, and it would crash. Right. So that's what they talk about when they say whales selling, right? When you have a whale sell that comes in and sells a huge amount, like an absurd amount of stock or an absurd amount of cryptocurrency, it tanks the value for everybody else. So what they usually do is they wait over time for it to come up, and then they slowly let out a little bit and they allow it to remain stable and then cash out over time, even though they know that there's no way they'll sell all the coins that they have, because they'll make more doing that slow burn sell and holding it stable than just crashing in the beginning, trying to get every single cent they can. And that's why I tell everybody that's in crypto, it's like, dude, like if you log into your crypto wallet and it says you're worth like $22,000, that doesn't mean you're going to sell that and get $22,000. That's an estimate.
Same thing happened with the GameStop, right?
Yep, exactly.
Like, people were buying it up, which drove the price up. But as soon as somebody started selling massive amounts of them, the price tanks, and then people swoop in to buy, and it rises up again. And you buy the dip and all that. But
somebody said that I can change the channel membership to $1. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just saw that recently.
Shit, let me make a note of that. I'll totally do
tiers. You can have tiers, $1, and it's like you can set any range from $1 to $99, I think.
Wow, so they're totally just ripping off Patreon at this point.
That's not what happened with GameStop. Kinda, it is kinda. Like I know the overall intent of the GameStop thing was to fuck over the guys who were trying to short the stock. I know that was the main intent.
That was what they were trying to coordinate through Wall Street bets.
There were a few times during that span where a lot of people sold and it dropped. Heck, I almost got in on one of the bigger drops where I think it peaked at like 300 something and then dropped to like 120. Like that was a bunch of people selling off to make money. And I think it was after that first initial short fuck over thing that they were trying to do.
It's because it was all based on coordinated speculation, right? I mean, nothing about the GameStop thing had anything to do with the actual value of the company. I mean, stocks are kind of a mix of speculation and like what the company's doing and numbers from the company. Like how did they perform financially? What was the revenue stream? Like those things affect the stock also. But in GameStop's case, they're circling the drain and they're just dying and they're getting shorted heavily by these hedge funds. And that's why Wall Street Bets was like, let's go get them, right? It was like a perfect storm, perfect conditions, perfect stock. And so GameStop just like went way up. There was a couple times where like whale people came in, including other hedge funds, and bought it and dumped it and caused these massive ripples. But people kept buying back in and cranking it back up again.
Which is awesome.
And then you even had, people like Elon Musk and stuff on Twitter, like rallying the troops or whatever, like to the moon. Every time he says something, things go up. I mean, he's one of those people where he has so much influence. It's like all he has to do is say the word Doge and put like a moon emoji and the thing goes up like 10 cents in a couple of hours. It's pretty wild, like how much control that guy has. Oh, somebody wants some attention.
It may have been.
Yeah, Colin. No, David today. He apologized. He had to duck out this morning. He had some personal stuff that he had to take care of. Shalon D said, "I've always wondered how a shark can dump, say, an example, 100 million on Bitcoin. No exchange will let you do that. Well, I mean, there's no regulation.
There are other ways of acquiring Bitcoin than through an exchange. I'm sure there are private exchanges. I mean, really, all you got to do is know somebody's wallet, right? So, and just directly send them as much as they.
Yeah, you could literally just pay somebody that had like 1 million coins to just transfer it to you.
There's probably private exchanges in a sense where it's a bunch of club or it's a big club of people who just trade amongst themselves or whatnot.
No, there totally is. But as far as buying like 100 million in Bitcoin, that probably wouldn't be too hard to do, actually. I think an exchange probably could fulfill that order if you were somebody that they would authorize to buy that much in one go. Exchanges usually limit your buying power a little bit, just because they don't want to get underwater having to cover you or something like that. If they're doing all these trades, like they're on the 99% of doing this 100 million trade or whatever, and you go bankrupt and like fall out, like that then they're stuck holding the bag, right? Yeah. So because the exchanges do take risk because they're going out and finding the deals and like connecting them and pulling them in and trying to meet like your market trades and certify thing. But before it goes into your wallet, it's like they're kind of a middleman. Yeah. Like they're in there doing stuff. And same thing with the stock market.
Escrow.
That's why you have to fund exactly. Escrow. It's like why you have to fund $20,000 or $25,000 to open a trading account with like TD Ameritrade if you want to do day trading. Like if you want to do long-term trading, then it's fine. They'll cover you because you're guaranteed to be in it for a while. But if you're doing day trading, that's really volatile. They'll make you put a bunch of money in your account just to be able to cover you when you're doing like all these high volume trades. And if you drop under that amount, I think after a certain period of time, they kick you out. Like you have to maintain a positive $25,000 US balance to be a day trader. And that's an SEC rule, but there are no SEC rules for Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency. It's the wild, wild west still, and it probably won't be for long because they're already implementing laws that affect like Coinbase and Bittrex and Binance, and there's even state level laws. Like in Washington State, we even have our own crypto laws on top of federal laws. But as far as I know, none of those laws right now actually affect your buying power or your selling power of cryptocurrency, other than you still have to track it for tax purposes, and they will come after you for that now. But aside from that, no, you can, it's wild, wild west. You can, that's why a lot of investors like crypto, is because you can just jump into it any size. Doesn't matter. If you have $20, you can jump into crypto.
We got $20 from Redneck with Tech.
What is up, bro? He said, hey, Jerry, just wanted to interrupt. Hey, anytime you want, brother, for $20, man. We're cheap date. He said, the Dirtfish Olympus stage rally is this weekend, and I'm volunteering. Hope one of these days, when spectators are allowed again, you'll come and enjoy the woods and the sounds once again. No, I'd absolutely love doing that, man. I'd love to get out to Olympus rally. I'm not the most mobilist human being right now because of my back problems getting so freaking severe that I have a hard time, like pretty much standing for more than 10 minutes. But no, I'd love to come out there and, toss out a lawn chair and sit there and try not to get ran over by a rally car. That sounds like a good time. As a matter of fact, we should we should take your rally car out there and out on one of those stages when they're closed down and just go hammer down.
I don't have a rally car, man. I got a little podunk.
No, not you. I'm talking about Redneck with Tech. He has a blue Subaru WRX, non-STI, but it's making like STIs, like stock STI power. It's like it's a quick little beast. Nice. I've raced him on a closed circuit on I-90, a closed down part of I-90 that was just for racing that day. And yeah, it's got some pretty good legs on it, man. That little thing, it sounds badass too. Thank you for the $10. He said, glad to see you feeling better, man. I mean, I hope, wow, do I look like I'm feeling better? I actually feel like crap today, but thank you. I appreciate the compliment. He said, stay safe, stay happy, and keep following your dreams, brother. I'm trying not to follow him off a cliff at this point. He said, you've been and still are a huge influence to chase my dreams. Dude, that's awesome. If I can influence somebody else to do things that I can't do, that's a win, man. That is a win in my book. Johnny Winter, thank you for the 50 Danish kroners. He said, AuxxZillary, you need to give Luke from Float Plane some pointers regarding beard growth.
No.
He just said no.
Shaving. That's all I got. That's all I said. I said he has to pay me. Luke's too famous. Luke's too famous for me to give him free tips. But the only one I'm going to tell him is stop shaving.
You think Linus pays Luke anything? Come on, dude. He's like poorer than we are.
Yeah, right.
Have you seen his house, dude? He literally lives in a tent. He lives in a tent behind Linus's house. A lot of people don't know that.
It's probably a really nice tent.
I mean, it's a Coleman. I mean, it's not terrible. Hey, thoughts from New Lowell. Thank you for the $5 in Canadian dollar roonies. He said the chip thing. Wait, the chip thing has got me off a lot now. What? The chip thing has got me off a lot now. Gonna have
talking like Doritos.
Yeah. What chip thing are you talking about there? Thoughts from New Lowell. Because I'm like, dude. I mean, chips get me off too, but for different reasons. I mean, Doritos or like computers, like silica. What are we talking here? Yeah. Aslat said, did you guys see NASA announced an instrument that has produced oxygen from the Martian atmosphere? Oh, wait, did they complete that experiment?
I almost added that as a topic instead of the helicopter thing. Yeah, from what I understand, they were able to extract breathable oxygen from the atmosphere.
So this is the experiment where they're trying to extract breathable air from the atmosphere, not the one where they're trying to get it from like the dirt, right?
Yeah, I believe that's it. Hang on, here I'll pull it up.
Because I heard they had an experiment where they were like a reactor that would take like the Martian soil and like extract the oxygen from it or something. It was something like that. Something.
I put it in the chat there.
Because why couldn't they just get oxygen out of the Mars atmosphere? Isn't there an oxygen content?
It's wicked thin. It's like 3% of Earth atmosphere because there's something wonky with the magnetic field of Mars, like it's super weak or dead completely, something like that. So the solar wind like stripped most of the atmosphere.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So I think that's the explanation. I'm sure I will be corrected in chat if that's not the case, but I'm pretty sure it feels right that there's something.
They do think that Mars used to have an atmosphere comparable to Earth. So that's why they're going through all this trouble, right? Is because they think that used to be Earth. It's
almost a certainty, just with the way that they've seen, like the way that the water that, I mean, it's still there in the caps and stuff, but they can tell that there used to be like lakes and rivers and stuff like that based on at least comparable to what they've seen, on Earth's geology. So it's almost a certainty.
But solar radiation just burned everything off. That's why it's just a wasteland.
Yeah.
All right, so it said a golden toaster-sized device pulls oxygen from the Martian atmosphere, which is about 96% carbon dioxide. Wow, that is not human-friendly at all.
No. But even then, it's wicked thin. So, like, it doesn't matter really what it's made out of. The fact that it's, like... That's also part of why it's so cool that this helicopter worked, is because the atmosphere is so thin, the machine itself has to be super, super light. And I think they said the blades on the helicopter are like 4 feet wide or something. So
yeah,
like,
they spin at 2,500 RPM, which here on Earth they'd have to spin it like 400 or 500. So it has to spin massively fast. And the entire payload weighs like I think 4 pounds.
Something,
not kilograms,
tiny,
4 pounds. Like imagine that. It's like that huge thing, and it is big. If you look at it, like if you see the picture of the people standing next to it, it's got a big blade diameter.
The rover is a monster. And then
the helicopter. The helicopter is pretty damn big. If you look at it like next to a DJI Phantom, which basically weighs like almost the same. It's pretty wild to see like how lightweight they built that thing. Like there's some exotic materials definitely in that thing. But it did fly. The sumbitch flew. I saw the video.
I believe it. Yeah, no. There's a clip. Yeah,
yeah. They recorded black and white. They recorded its own shadow through its black and white camera. They recorded it from the rover itself. So they got like a side profile shot of it. Apparently, they have audio of the flight too, but I don't know if they've released that yet. So they said that there is a microphone on the rover and on the helicopter. So they might have audio from the flight. And I'm pretty excited to see that. We have to wait forever for this stuff because it takes forever to broadcast it back. And then they have to like massage it a bunch and everything and patch it up. It's not like the easiest thing in the world, like get data between us and Mars. Like there's a satellite in orbit for the higher speed transmissions, which are still slower than shit. And then they can even do like I think they can even transmit from the surface directly to Earth if the orientation of the planet's right, but it's even lower bandwidth.
Would make sense. Which would make sense. Yeah.
It's like it's really, really difficult and slow. It's like literally having like an 80s modem connection to this damn thing. That's why whenever they download a video, it like takes them like a week to download like a couple of frames, you know.
GeoShifter says that NASA is a scam.
Oh, is NASA a scam?
Yeah,
no, GeoShifter, are you sure? Because if you're sure, I mean...
They're insisting they're not a flat earther, though.
Why would he lie to us about that, though? So I bet you he's telling the truth and we're all wrong.
Hey.
I think he's right. I think, you know what? I've never looked at it that way, but GeoShifter, I think you're right. I think that I've been brainwashed, and everybody else on Earth that has a higher education and has a high IQ has been brainwashed, but the dumb people haven't been because they don't understand how to take an IQ test, so they've avoided it. So I think that's pretty amazing. I mean, hey, I'm going to join it. Hey, flat earther. From here on out, I'm a flat earther. Thank you, GeoShifter, for helping me become a flat earther.
It's just turtles all the way down.
Turtles, and like keep your cats away from the side because they'll knock shit off. It's like this is amazing new evidence that you guys are only getting here from Tech Talk about how NASA is a total multi-billion-dollar operation ran by Jewish space lasers.
That's right. It's all Stanley Kubrick. It's all him.
Totally is.
Yeah.
GeoShifter said, if you have a high IQ, you use science, not pseudoscience.
What do you? I don't know. I don't want to go down this path.
I'm just having fun with him because he's obviously a moron. Yeah, I don't have a problem calling him like I see him. What I thought was funny is he said if you have a high IQ, you use science, not pseudoscience. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. He was 100% because I use science. He uses pseudoscience. I can prove everything I say. You can't. So that's the pseudo part, i.e. fake.
Right.
Anyways, it's fun to mess with those people because they do need to be messed with.
It's all good.
AuxxZillary's like, I don't want to mess with them. But I like messing with people like that. I find it highly entertaining, and it gives me purpose in life, and I love it. I'm a little bit of a different breed of creature. So anyways, this toaster-sized device that pulls oxygen from the Martian atmosphere, that's pretty damn cool that it's so small. How much does it extract? It said like a couple of grams, right? An hour?
See.
Like not enough to breathe.
Blah, 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 rolling, blah, blah, blah.
10 grams, dude. That's nothing.
Designed to create up to 10 grams, so you wouldn't want to rely on it for your survival, but NASA hopes to have more. Which, it's proof of concept.
True.
If we scale this up, we launch 10 or 12 of them to like set themselves up to start pumping oxygen, or some sort of generator to puff up like a little squishy dome kind of habitat. Boom.
This is probably one of those projects too where a lot of the components don't scale up in size as you build it. So it's probably one of those things where it's like if you build it 10 times the size, it makes 100 times more oxygen, right? I mean,
it said first run, Moxie extracted 5 grams of oxygen, the equivalent of around 10 minutes worth of breathable oxygen for one person. I mean, it's only doing what? Okay, so it's designed to do 10 grams per hour, which is 20 minutes of breathable oxygen per hour. That's a pretty good exchange rate, in my opinion. That's pretty good.
Wait, 10 grams is enough to actually breathe for a period of time?
Well, because it says first run, Moxie extracted about 5, or the equivalent of around 10 minutes worth of breathable oxygen.
I did not know that 10 grams was 10 minutes of breathable oxygen. Why the hell are scuba tanks so big?
Well, because it's really compressed, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure that out. Oxygen. Are they collecting it as liquid oxygen or something? Because I'm trying to figure out where the hell you store enough oxygen to breathe for 20 minutes in a device that small.
9 more times.
This seems like Harry Potter magic stuff now.
Yeah. Bottom line, oxygen. When astronauts take their first breaths of locally produced oxygen on Mars, they may have this gold toaster-sized gadget thing. That's pretty sweet.
I'm missing a bit. Okay, never mind. It's because we don't breathe a shitload of oxygen. We breathe mostly nitrogen. So realistically, It's creating the oxygen that we need, but it'd probably just get the nitrogen from some other source.
Yeah, possibly.
Like the soil or whatever. That's the majority. Pure. Yeah, right. You're not going to breathe pure oxygen. That'd be dangerous.
And then, yes, they're saying scuba tanks aren't pure oxygen. Yeah,
okay, right. It's just compressed air, which is mostly nitrogen. So yeah, no, that makes sense.
Right, 10 or some grams worth. I don't know how much a tank is supposed to hold. 30 minutes, an hour. I don't know.
Dude, that's wild though. Okay, so I'm trying to like visualize this. 10 grams of oxygen. And I'm guessing this is going to be 10 grams by weight, so liquid or compressed gas, right?
Yeah.
So 10 grams. Wow, you can breathe for 20 minutes on that. Oh my God. So liquid oxygen is like when they're filling the LOX tanks on those rockets is the oxidizer for the fuel. I mean, that's a lot of oxygen. Like in that tank. If a human can breathe on freaking 10 grams for 20 minutes, that's pretty amazing to think how much liquid oxygen they're actually storing up in that freaking LOX tank for the burn to launch a rocket into space. Kind of gives it like a whole different perspective, right? Wow. 10 grams of gas is a lot? Really?
Well, you have to think, look, I mean, how light is air?
That is true. Yeah, because even when you fill a cylinder, because that's how they do it. Like if you when they fill a cylinder, you can weigh it. Like a scuba cylinder gets heavier the more compressed air that's in it. So the compressed gas does give it more mass. So I guess 10 grams probably would be a lot as long as it stays in a gas. I think I'm thinking of it transitioning to liquid like LOX. Right. If it's like liquid oxygen, then it would be much heavier, right?
So the volume of 1 gram of oxygen gas at STP, which I'm guessing is some sort of standard pressure, is just under a liter. So imagine a liter, right? A liter bottle of soda, right?
Yep.
That's a gram of oxygen at standard pressure, I guess. I don't know exactly what STP means, but I'm assuming it's some sort of standardized pressure.
So where the hell are they storing it in this toaster box? Are they just pissing it out back to the atmosphere once they measure it, or?
Yeah, they didn't really get into that, but I imagine they're storing it somehow. They got to, there's probably tanks or something on the.
Yeah, you'd have to have a pretty gnarly compressor.
Standard temperature.
Have you ever seen a scuba compressor? Those things are insane. Because like a scuba tank is stored at like 3,000 or 4,000 psi. I mean, you have a bomb on your back.
I wonder too, though, if it would be easier to compress on Mars, given that there is a lighter atmosphere. I wonder if that makes it easier to, could you smush it easier because of that, or would it be more difficult because it wants to boil off, right? There's no air, there's less air pressure, so it wants to expand, and so would it be harder then to compress it down because of that?
Yeah, because you don't on Earth you have more pressure pushing in on it, right?
Yeah.
So the more of a vacuum, the closer it is to a vacuum, the more harder work you're gonna have to do to put more pressure in, right? Because it's gonna be more pressure. Like getting 10 pounds into it is gonna be harder to do than 10 pounds or 10 psi or pounds per square inch here on Earth. On Mars, that would be harder to achieve because you're starting with a thinner atmosphere and less pressure, right? Or I shouldn't just say thinner, but less atmospheric pressure pushing in on. That's weird, but I didn't realize that. I never realized that a gram of oxygen took up that kind of volume. That's impressive. So you basically have 10 2-liter bottles, an hour of oxygen. And then when you combine that with the majority of nitrogen and and
Right, 'cause you don't
argon,
need-
CO2, all the stuff that you're breathing, like carbon dioxide and everything. Once you combine all that together to get the breathable gas, only 1/5 of that 2-liter bottle is actually what you need to breathe. So I could see that being stretched out over 20 minutes. I mean, I'm guessing that's probably not comfortable breathing for 20 minutes, but that's impressive. So how cool would that be, man?
Yeah.
How cool would that be to be able to just generate your own oxygen just right from the atmosphere?
Yeah, this is a huge thing, I think, especially if we're talking long-term colonization of Mars.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's huge.
Because that means if they can get oxygen out of the atmosphere, then that means that if they can find a source of hydrogen or something, some reaction that they can get hydrogen as a byproduct, they would actually be able to just make their own water, right? So they can make their own water. They could convert it back and forth between water and air, right? And get a fuel in an oxidizer or get water to drink.
It's cool.
I think, that's pretty damn cool, man. Then you start getting to that point where it's like the Mars base actually makes sense, because the only thing you'd have to really take is food.
Well, and plus what's really super cool, especially for the colonization angle, is like this is actually they're extracting the oxygen from the carbon dioxide. And so that's kind of the big deal, which means like this same technology could be still used not just to pull it from the shitty atmosphere, but also from like it's recycling whatever little pod that we have too. So like as it's less, we have to, I imagine, because you're reusing it in a way, you won't have to bring as much of our own oxygen. We're recycling a lot of the stuff we're producing. We could probably get plants going to help with that sort of thing too.
Be able to make their own rocket fuel, right? Because if they already have rocket motors that run on hydrogen, right? I mean, not the safest thing in the world, but it's a rocket motor. Who cares?
Yeah.
So if you can make hydrogen on the surface of Mars, then you got a fuel depot, right? So now you only need enough fuel to get you there. You don't need enough to get you back, because you got a gas station there. And then we could deploy the gas station autonomously, have it already there creating the fuel and send us back the data, like that the tank's full and ready to go. And then they know when they launch that everything's ready to go. Like they can just land and fuel and then come right back. Yeah. I mean, that's cool, man. This is like, I mean, it's going to play out like slow over time because just technology, right?
Which is unfortunate.
It's like, it takes forever to get to freaking Mars. And I don't think we have the energy to like fold space time yet. So
I just wish we found something exciting enough to make it a race again. Because we really could, if we really, really wanted to. If the Chinese said, you know what, fuck the moon, we're going to Mars. We're going to put a man on a Mars.
I think they will.
In 10 years. America would explode and everything would be focused on beating the Chinese, just like it was the Russians. And that's what we really need. We really need a big, or one of these rovers is going to find something fucking trippy, like, I don't know, some weird evidence of something that ought not to be there.
Yeah, some new element that'll give us like unlimited energy or make fusion like fusion way easier. Like it'll be something like that.
Some kind of fossil.
That'd be crazy, dude.
Because hey, given everything we've seen so far, it's not unreasonable to think that there won't be some kind of dinosaurs or whatever. The planet's 4.5 billion years old or something. It's crazy. So like, they must have gone through a similar sort of cycle as Earth did.
Yeah, and Earth covers everything up with sediment. So Mars, over tens of millions of years, it probably had the same damn thing happen to it.
And they've been blown about. Like the atmosphere stuff has been wicked thin. These storms and stuff have been blown around for a long time. So like, what we have to work real hard to dig deep to find stuff that's millions of years old might just be sitting on the surface somewhere. We just got to find it, or not far beneath, And that'd strike a fucking match. If we found something weird like that, like evidence of more complex life, because we have found like bacterial stuff and whatnot, which, okay, big deal. We do that on comets all the time. But like, if there was something more complex, a plant, a fucking leaf imprint on a rock, we'd have people there in less than a decade.
I do believe, though, that Elon Musk, because he can operate outside of a lot of this government oversight and stuff like that, like NASA, I do believe he's probably going as fast as you could. Yeah. Like I do genuinely, like, as fast as he's blowing up these starships, just one after another, and always having another one ready to go. I feel like he's going about as fast as you possibly could, like, with the resources he has at his disposal. Yeah. But I think you're right. Like, if something really lit a fire under our ass, it'd be like NASA would just merge with SpaceX. They'd get like $1 trillion budget, and they'd just be like, every day we'd be launching something.
Wouldn't that be a trip if they nationalized SpaceX? I feel like people would get pissed.
They would.
If
they would.
Government tried to swoop in.
Yeah, especially the investors. SpaceX investors would be just like instantly just like panties in a bunch.
Right?
Because once government oversight like kicked in, it would just screw the entire mission of SpaceX. Because like that's the thing is they're beating everybody else because Elon's like super high risk, super high reward, iterate, like everything that nobody else will do because they're all too chicken shit to do it.
I dig it. I think it's man, it's super cool. I'm so stoked. I like the.
I mean, look at the Dragon capsule, dude. We spent what 50 plus years creating the Soyuz capsule and our space capsule and the shuttle, and they're all just like cables and wires hanging everywhere, and Elon in like just a couple of years like sends people to the International Space Station on basically like a luxury craft that looks like Star Trek The Next Generation built it, and it's like completely hands-free. They never have to touch a single control from launch to attach and coming back. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, it's like NASA is so focused on making like the perfect astronaut to fly the shittiest, most, well, not shittiest, but the most overbuilt thing that you could possibly build with a trillion parts. And then you got Elon over here. It's like, oh, throw a fucking iPad in it and make it 90% software, and then you can stick anybody on it and fly them up there.
I do think too, though, like there's a difference where NASA works with the lowest bidder, right? And Elon it's all internal, so he can spend as much as he wants because there's going to be a return, and I think we're at a perfect time where, one, the government is allowing the like airspace, right? Because you still have to get approved through NASA. And I think the FAA to launch these rockets and stuff. Like the feds are still controlling who actually like is able to get off of the planet, but they're able to kind of like get, like you said, get around some of this red tape and stuff that they can have an infinite budget because I can't imagine SpaceX is making money. Like maybe
not yet. I don't think they're profitable.
They can't be profitable. There's no way. Yeah. They're being subsidized by NASA contracts and Tesla and
most of their
PayPal
satellites that they're
shit.
launching are their own. So even though they are launching other people's shit, they're mostly launching their own Starlink satellites.
Yeah.
But the thing is Starlink's going to fund that entire project forever. Once Starlink is like completely online and everybody has it, and it's like they have an entire global coverage of internet access, the amount of money that they get from all the different governments wanting to use it and all the civilians wanting to tie into it, and I mean everybody, like commercial, civilian, military, they're all going to want access to it. That's going to be just unlimited fundage coming into him to just keep SpaceX going. Even if SpaceX was never profitable on its own, he would just have limitless amounts of money to just keep evolving the company. So, and the investors don't care. Like if the company's not profitable, they don't care as long as there's a constant stream of money coming into it. And especially if it's a constant stream from a company that the same person owns, right? It's like Elon owns SpaceX, he's going to own the satellite network for the internet, right? So there is, as long as he can funnel that money back over the company, they don't care if that thing's ever profitable. As long as the investors are happy and there's a positive cash flow, they don't give a shit. At least I don't think they would. Well, we got a bunch of super chats that came in. Did you see that?
Oh shit, thank you. Dude, just the most recent one.
Yeah, look, so we got Ice Ever, thank you the €5. He said, "Can you recommend a silent keyboard? My Logitech K740 is dying and they don't make it anymore. I'm very sensitive to noise. Hi from Lithuania." I'd say I love mechanical keyboards. Get a Cherry MX Red. Cherry MX Red switches they're super silent. They don't have the clicky, no clicky. I'd say like a Corsair, what is it? The Corsair K70 or K95. Those are both really good keyboards. You can get them in reds, browns. I think you can also get them in blues. Yeah, I had one in blue, but the red switches are the most silent as far as mechanical. And if that's still too loud for you and you want something that's like really quiet, then just get another membrane keyboard. He's using a Logitech K740. Isn't that the wireless? Isn't that one of the wireless keyboards? I can't remember. But I'm pretty sure that's probably like a membrane keyboard or something like that. The mechanical keyboards can be as quiet though, as long as you got the right switch. The switch dictates the noise almost exclusively. Let's see here. Blue Star, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. We appreciate that. Thoughts from New Lowell. Thank you the $5. Said the chip shortage was what I was talking about. I work 2 days a week now. Oh, the chip shortage. Oh man, that sucks. Yeah, that's probably not going to get healed anytime soon. I know that there's plans for Intel to build foundries in the United States.
But that's just going to take years.
It takes forever, and it's billions of dollars, not millions. It's billions of dollars to build that stuff. And once it comes online, there's no way they're going to be cost competitive with China in the beginning. So it's going to be an uphill battle. But at least now we'll have the technology. Like until now, the United States didn't even possess the technology to be able to build like a 14 nanometer chip. Like we didn't know how. Like we couldn't do it. Now the Intel has cracked that nut and they figured out how to build the machines that do that, what ultra lithography or whatever it is, which is like the super hard. I mean, you're literally like firing a laser like 60 times a second through like molten tin or something. It's really weird that they used to create those nanometer wavelengths. But they're figured it out apparently. So once they do that, they're going to be able to get down to 5 nanometer. And they'll be selling their machines, I'm sure, and leasing their machines to other companies too. So they're not going to just be making Intel silicon. They'll be making everybody's stuff, right? So hopefully over time that makes us a huge competitor in the chip world. That'd be really nice because we do have a lot of, I think we have a lot of like silica sand here in the United States, like for like chip processing and stuff like that. Like that's a resource we do have like a lot of. So it's just a matter of like having the hardware that can take that and etch it and everything into like these tiny itty bitty little transistors and make really useful chips out of them instead of exporting the shit to China and having them put it together. D-Pat, thank you for the $2 super chat. He said, so a full air compressor is heavier than an empty one? Correct.
Oh yeah,
correct. Yeah,
it has to be.
Yeah, air does. So air, when you compress it, does increase its weight, right? If you increase the density of something, you increase the mass. Exactly. And so like, have you ever gone and filled like a scuba tank before? Usually they'll put it in a pressure vessel and then they'll weigh it. So like when they're filling it up, so it's like they measure they also have a pressure valve on the tank, but it's like their secondary check. They usually use a scale, a sensitive scale, and they can tell them like roughly what's in the tank just by putting it on it. It's pretty cool. What were you gonna say, Aux?
Oh, someone previously in chat said like at 4,000 psi, a normal scuba tank weighs like 80 pounds.
I mean, I believe they're heavy as hell, dude. Like I went.
Plus the thing's like thick ass iron or something. Like
well, they have two types of tanks. The high pressure tanks are steel, and those ones are a little bit thinner walled, but they're still heavy. I mean, even an empty one I've picked up, they're heavier than shit. And then they make the aluminum tanks, which are what like most scuba divers like now because they're light, but they're way thicker. The aluminum tanks are thicker. So they only hold, I think, 3,000 PSI, whereas the steel ones can go up to 4,000. I don't know. Maybe the aluminum ones can do that now. So you get a smaller volume of air in the packaging, but it's a lot lighter weight. And scuba divers like that's a huge advantage for just being able to like move around comfortably and stuff in the water and not exerting yourself and burning up a bunch of, unnecessary oxygens. I'm actually a certified scuba diver. A lot of people don't know that. I haven't scuba dived in a long time, but yeah, no, I got my PADI certification down to, I'm only certified to 60 feet though. I'm not allowed to go any deeper than 60 feet technically. But I almost went back and got my second certification, but then I messed up my eardrums. So I have to take Sudafed to be able to dive. And that's really dangerous when you go down to crazy
you pass
depths.
Out or something.
Well, no, what'll happen is if your ear canals close up from congestion, when you're underwater, your ear canals collapse when you're underwater. When you come up, it'll blow your eardrums out.
Oh, damn.
And that almost happened to me. Like it literally, I could not surface and I had to stay down luckily I had enough oxygen that I could stay down for an extra 10 minutes, but I had to slowly let the pressure in my ears equalize because my freaking Sudafed wore off like halfway through the dive. And I felt like I was going to get stuck down there. And if I had ran out of oxygen, I would have had to just breach the surface and blow out my eardrums. And I was just thinking the whole time I'm down there, I'm like, oh man, I hope I don't have to do this. I hope I don't have to do this. I also, and the funny thing is I didn't even hurt my ears diving in open water. I hurt my ears diving in a swimming pool. Literally just coming up from like the 10-foot deep end of a swimming pool. My ears closed up when I was on the bottom. And when I came up, I messed them both up and gave myself bad tinnitus for like a week. And then I thought they were healed, but they weren't. I went back out into open water and it hurt really, really bad. So yeah, I don't dive anymore, but man, that was fun. I recommend anybody that can go scuba diving, like go do it. It is the coolest thing one of the coolest things you will ever do in your life. There's nothing
be a
like
little scary though.
Oh, dude, I was like, shitting my pants. I went through my entire, I went through, what was it? We were supposed to do a half an hour dive and I burned through all my oxygen in 8 minutes. They thought I had a leak on my tank. Like when we got up the top, they're like, we need to check your fittings because nobody burns through oxygen like that. And I was like, I do because, well, it wasn't just me. It was also, I couldn't figure out how to stay buoyant properly with my inflatable vest. So I'm like, just dumping the whole tank into my vest, trying to keep from hitting the bottom or floating up to the top with like, what do they call it? A runaway ascent. So because remember, as you're going up, your vest is expanding. So you have to be able to let air out. And then if you let too much air out, then you sink like a rock. So it's called a buoyancy compensation device, and you basically sit there and inflate it and deflate it constantly, depending on the depth that you're at, to hold your depth, and then you become neutrally buoyant. You can basically but if you start to go down a little bit, or you start to swim up a little bit, it'll just start hauling ass because your vest just inflates, because as you go up, the pressure reduces and your vest expands and it makes you more buoyant. So, and then you have to basically just hold on the freaking valve and dump all the air out of the vest so that you don't go flying out, breaching the surface like a whale. And it's pretty freaky, man. It's like the first time I did it, it took me 2 dives to get the hang of it to where I could keep it like perfectly level. And it's crazy because even just breathing makes you do this. So when you're scuba diving, if you're taking deep breaths, you do this. Like I was watching the dude in front of me, and he's just like up, down, up, down. Every breath he was taking was making him more buoyant, and then breathing out was making him less buoyant. So he's just doing one of these. And so you learn how to do like a breathing technique when you're scuba diving, where you're basically taking not really deep breaths. You're taking like a shorter breath, but like more frequently, and it keeps you like. So the scuba diver that we were with, the guy who trained us, he didn't go up and down at all. He was just like perfectly neutrally buoyant, and we're all like behind him doing one of these numbers like the whole time. It was pretty funny. And then we did have somebody that had a runaway ascent, which is like something you have to train for like 8 hours before they even let you go out into open water. And my buddy Ian, luckily he didn't get the bends from it because we were only down at like 30 feet. But yeah, it ran away. He filled up his vest too much, and he didn't get the dump valve in time as he was going up, and we're just watching him, and he's just like, whoop, like it looked like somebody tied like a helium balloon to him, and it just drug him up to the surface. And he couldn't dump his vest fast enough to come back down, so he just like popped out of the top of the water.
Ouch.
Yeah, he said, yeah, it wasn't the most pleasant thing on earth. Luckily that didn't happen to me though, so I was like, yeah, I'm the good student. Yes, I'm the good one. But I did burn through all my oxygen in my first dive in 8 minutes, because when you go down there, they check like every minute. They go like this. They like tap their oxygen gauge, and then you tell them how much oxygen you have. And I'm like, looking at it, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm almost out. And the diver, like, he thinks I'm getting my hand signals wrong. He comes over and looks at my shit, and he's like, no. He's like, up, everybody up. Because I was like, I was getting down to like nothing in my tank. So I was about, but I mean, it's okay. Like if you run out, you just grab your buddy's umbilical. Like everybody has 2 breathers or 2 regulators. And so if you run out of oxygen or whatever, you just pop your regulator out and just tap your buddy and grab his and just breathe off his tank, and so you can safely get to the surface. So there's a lot of safety stuff in diving. Like you don't want to dive alone, but if you're diving in a group, it's actually a pretty safe thing overall. There is a lot of backups, and like if your goggles come off, they teach you how to purge your goggles and get the water out of them. So if you something knocks your goggles off when you're down under, you can get it back on and get all the water out of them. It's really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. Eric Lacosta, thank you for the $5 in Canadian dollars. He said, have you read The Martian? The book goes deep into science of this.
Yeah.
I have not read the book. I've watched the movie though. I quite like the movie.
I admit I listened to the audiobook.
Well, that's just good as reading it, honestly.
It's tremendous. And yeah, the guy did spend a lot of effort in getting the science as accurate as possible.
Yeah, did you see was it like I think it was Chris Hadfield that broke down The Martian? And he actually said out of all the movies that he's ever watched, it was the one that most accurately portrayed like what could potentially happen.
Yeah.
Like he said, I think it was Chris Hadfield that said, yeah, the science in that movie was like fantastic. Like they really did a lot of good work to like cover all the different situations. I mean, there was obviously some dramatization, but he said that, the part where he kicks all the windows out of the craft or whatever to go into space. And you're like, how the hell could anybody survive that? And he's like, no, you totally could survive that. Right. Like the only reason you need a lot of protection is because here on Earth, the atmosphere is thick. Right. And you get a lot of friction from that, and the friction generates a lot of heat and a lot of pressure. But on Mars, you don't have that. So on Mars, you could literally just have a convertible rocket and like cover yourself with a blanket, and you could technically make orbit without dying. Wow. And so I thought that was pretty damn cool.
You'd still need oxygen and like a suit to keep pressure.
Yeah, you need a suit, obviously. Yeah, you need a suit, but it's like here on Earth, you have to have something that's aerodynamic. On Mars, you don't need anything, because like, why does something need to be aerodynamic when there's not a lot of drag? As long as you're not going super fast, which you don't, the escape velocity for Mars is like way lower than it is here on Earth. So you could literally have like a convertible shuttle and make it into orbit without killing everybody on board, which that would be impossible here on Earth. Even with spacesuits, it'd be impossible, because you'd be going so freaking fast. You'd be creating so much heat and friction from the atmosphere. Everybody would just burn up all nice and crispy. So I thought that was kind of cool that they did that, because when I watched the movie and I saw it the first time, I was like, oh man, this is some great ABS. Like, there's no way he's
That's
taking all the
pretty decent.
windows and crap out of this thing and like flying into space with a tarp over the nose where the nose cone used to be. There's no way. But
That's-
no, like I think it was
because
Chris
there's-
Hadfield that said, yeah, it was.
It's like hardly nothing there.
Yeah, he's like, no, it totally worked. He's like, yeah, no, the science like absolutely backs up that would work. And you're just like, what? Like, so actually getting into space from Mars is way easier than Earth. Like, it requires way less fuel. There's way less friction. I think the escape velocity is lower too, but there was some other thing though that is harder to do on Mars. I can't remember what it is. I think you might need more thrust just because of the thickness of the atmosphere. So that you may actually need more fuel. I don't remember if it's like the difference in gravity versus the density of the air, like how that all balances out to hit escape velocity to like actually get off the planet. But apparently we can. I mean, Elon Musk, he's confident that Starship can literally land on the planet and take off again from where it landed. So obviously he, you know, and that thing's taken off. I don't know how much of its thrust it's using taking off from Earth though. Like that thing has how many freaking engines on it? It's a lot. Like, I mean, the thing has a massive array of engines underneath. I think it's the most engines that have ever been fitted to like any rocket when it's in its flight configuration. And I don't think they use them all either. I think for is it takeoff or is it, no, maybe it's landing that they don't use them all. Because I know there's a situation
you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, there's a situation where a lot of them are redundant. Like they can literally shut down a lot of them and still like achieve their goal. Let's see, what do we got here? Blue Star. Thank you for $4.99 super chat. He said, so glad to be fully part of the online world now. Looking forward to my first cell phone. Thank you for all the work you do. Oh, I'm guessing you're a youngster. Let's see.
Come.
So he says he's on part of the online world and he's looking forward to his first cell phone. Well, dude, rock on. Little bit of advice that I'll give you is social media is pure cancer. So just take it with a grain of salt.
Just like look inward, okay? And it's okay to curate what you see.
Yep.
But
oh yeah, don't let anybody talk to don't that's one thing I get a lot. It's like, you can't just silence me, you have to listen to everything I say. No, you don't. No, I can and I will. Like in real life, if I don't like you in public and you're walking up and you're screaming in my face and being an idiot, I'm gonna just like shove you away and go my separate way. Like I'm not gonna deal with you there, I'm not gonna deal with you online. It's that simple.
I do agree that there has to be a line in the sand. I also would recommend to still hear differing opinions, and like and this is where you have to kind of figure your own shit out on what you are willing to like accept into your perception bubbles, right? Because like there is the danger of the echo chamber, right? Like you can't just surround yourself with like yes men, right? It is important to be exposed to different viewpoints so that you might have a fuller understanding of topics. But there are those who take it to an extreme, whether the filter part or like, you know, oh, I'm just going to block everybody who says something I don't agree with, versus blocking people who like are toxic. Right, just because they disagree or have a different opinion, they can still. I've plenty of people out there who can have a cogent and well-educated presentation to their differing opinion. But where I draw the line is like personal attacks. Right, it stops being a debate when somebody says, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot for believing that." Like that's an argument now. We're not learning from each other anymore.
That's the big one you just said right there. Is like when I'm not learning anything from it, that's when I walk away.
I'll listen. Like I'm fairly firm in the things that I believe in my framework of how life and the universe work. I'm willing to listen to differing viewpoints as long as we both understand that we're probably not going to change each other's mind, and that's okay. Like. Totally fine. I'm not really here to change someone's mind. I'm totally down to listen, and I am flexible enough and empathetic enough to see things from another point of view and to at least try to understand.
So I agree with you on some of that, but my minor modification to it is there are just certain arguments where it instantly just invalidates you as a person I can gain any value from. And in that case, I'm like, you're just burning my time, dude. Like, you got to get out of here. I'm going to send you on your way so you can go find somebody else a little more compatible with you.
And again, that's where that kind of swings back around to that self-awareness of like where you draw a line.
Yeah.
I'm not going to debate or discuss whether the earth is round.
Yeah, like I normally would have just banned that flat earther guy like right away, but I was just having some fun, right? At that point, it was me. He was entertaining me, but then it just got to the point where it was just annoying, so then I banned him. So yeah. That's how I use it. The way I figure it is it's not a democracy, right? You get to choose who you interact with. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, hearing people out is good, and data is another great thing. Like if you want to have an argument with me, like throw some data my way. I love looking at data. That's the thing that can sway me. I've been swayed on so many arguments where I've changed my position because somebody actually gave me a piece of data and a perspective that made more sense than what I had. And then I was like, ooh, okay, this is interesting. We're moving in a positive direction here. But unfortunately on social media, about 99% of the arguments that you'll get into or debates or whatever you want to call them, you're going to end up just having two people that are locked into their way of thinking, just trying to impart that on each other. And unfortunately, that's just a waste of time, unless you're looking to be entertained or trolled or whatever, which is fun sometimes. I mean, I do actually enjoy that. So, oh, this is funny, dude. GeoShifter went and created another account just to come back and get banned again. That's hilarious. I like how he says he has evidence. By the way, he doesn't have any evidence. That's the interesting thing about data and science is like, you can't just make stuff up and call it data. It has to act
where it's easy to produce misleading information, right? Like even man, this is rough. Like oh man, like statistics, right? You know, they'll come out, 49% of Americans want donuts every day, whatever. But like their 49% is actually like from 1,000 people that they called up on a Tuesday at 6 a.m. in the middle of Georgia or whatever. Yeah. Like this is I'm trying to impress this upon the girls as much as possible too. Is like TikTok is fine to get a like start on a topic, but you can't. It is impossible to distill nuanced issues into a 1-minute video. Like you can't. You're gonna miss so much context. And so like, okay, I saw this thing on TikTok. That's great. That's a great place to start. Like, okay, that's interesting and okay, but go find more. Because like, where did they get their data from? What is their angle, right? Like, what are they trying to push by spreading this, and to what end? You know, things like that. So,
no,
it's hard.
No, dude, hard. I was a data scientist at Microsoft for many years, doing database architect stuff, building OLAP cubes and things like that, SQL queries. I did all that stuff for years, and I actually loved it.
Data manipulation.
Data is great, but the one thing I learned working at Microsoft is that data can look any way you want it to.
Oh yeah.
So you have to be really, really careful to actually look at the raw data and apply your own analysis to it. And another thing too is to collate multiple data sources. So whenever you have one person that's creating a data source, say you have people that are in two schools of thought, you're usually going to have a bias in both schools of thought for the information that you want to collect and the information you want to observe. So what you do is you collect it from both sides. You basically collate it together, and then you go through it and look at it as a whole. And that way you basically have a better chance at seeing the whole picture. And I remember when I was at Microsoft, God, they'd ask me all the time, like, oh, hey, make a query that makes this look good, or make a query that shows that our bug fix ratio is higher than this threshold that we agreed to hit. And you could do it. Like, it didn't matter what the ask was. You could go in and be like, okay, I'm gonna arbitrarily neutralize this data set because it came from computers that had a MAC address between 1 and 3. You know, it's like you can start adding all kinds of stuff to make sure that it's massaged in your directions. That's why when you look at processed data, you should take it with a grain of salt, and you should always seek the raw data. Like, for instance, if it's some kind of poll or statistical poll, you need to make sure that poll is coming from a very, very diverse set of people. Like, you don't want to just, like you were saying earlier, like, don't just target one group of people. Don't run your poll at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday in an area where everybody's working, that you don't want to take the poll that might give you an unfavorable result. Don't fix the data. Instead, have a poll over several days that's completely open to everybody and it's advertised equally and discoverable by everybody. Then you're going to get a more realistic answer. So, but yeah, data analysis is like a really, really important thing, because what happens is you end up, well, flat earthers are a great example of this, right? They don't believe the earth is actually flat. I know many flat earthers. I've talked to many of them. This used to be kind of a fun thing of mine back then. None of them actually believe the earth is flat. Their argument is they just want to feel important. They want to feel right. They like the attention that it brings them being wrong. Like GeoShifter, for instance, he created another account just to come back. It's not because he truly believes he's going to convince me the earth is flat. It's because he likes the attention.
Hey, look at me.
Yeah, hey, look at me. And that's the entire flat earth community. If you've ever seen a flat earth convention, if you've ever watched Behind the Curve on Netflix, they're all just pontificating and trying to sell each other crap and trying to pump each other up. Like, oh, this is cool. And anytime they do a science experiment that doesn't give them the result that they want, they throw it out. And that's not science. Like, that literally is not science. When you conduct an experiment, it gives you a result that invalidates what you said, and you just throw it in the garbage and say, okay, the experiment must be broken. Because then you're literally cherry picking anything that'll prove that you're right, which with flat earth, there's nothing that can really prove you're right. I mean, it's something you can literally just walk outside yourself and make the determination. So, I mean, walk up on a hill and make the determination with the naked eye. You don't need any equipment. You don't need any measuring devices. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's no different than saying like aliens abducted me or something like that. It's like, there's no evidence. There's no tangible evidence there to show that it happened. Okay, an alien abducted me. Let's say people believe that people were abducted by aliens. And they got taken away, and the aliens had sufficient technology not to leave any kind of imprints or anything. And there's a perfect alibi every single time, and nobody around to see it. And it all happens, and there's nothing left behind at all, no traces of evidence. Yet they still left their memory completely intact of the entire incident when we have the technology to literally just knock people out. Yeah. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, they anesthetize you, right? We don't just go grab animals out of the public and like do vivisection anymore and then like patch them back up and send them back into the wild. No, we anesthetize them. An alien wouldn't have the technology to fly here and take you off the planet and cover every single base and then not have nitrous oxide, or not nitrous oxide, but whatever. And it's something to anesthetize you.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, Tim Tams, which by the way, fucking love Tim Tams. If anybody wants to send me some honest to goodness Tim Tams,
they are pretty legit,
delicious,
man.
So I'm always down. He says the Navy confirmed UFOs last week. Okay, so UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Anything could be a UFO if you're bad at identifying things, right? So that there's that common attachment of UFO must mean extraterrestrial. That isn't always the case, sure. I think the CIA even released a bunch of some government 3-letter branch released a bunch of film and like reports and stuff of crazy shit that they're seeing in the sky. Like,
yeah, UFOs are absolutely real.
Like,
it's
sure,
just, and actually some of them could be extraterrestrial, just probably not anything intelligent. It could be a meteorite. It could be something entering the atmosphere that got really, really hot and is creating some kind of eddy currents or something like that by cooling down as it's coming down. We've seen asteroids asteroids, but we've seen things enter Earth's atmosphere and blow up with like the force of a nuclear bomb. Because of the pressure and the heat gradient of it entering the atmosphere just causes it to hit like a critical mass and it just blows. We've seen those things and everybody's like, oh my God, nuclear bomb went off. No, it's like, this is all explainable. Like, we have enough data and we can look at these events and we can figure out what they are. And the ones that we can't figure out what they are, it's because it's the Bigfoot phenomenon. It's because they have a video that is not clear of an object for a very small period of time. And they're trying to classify it, right? And it's like, we literally make stuff. They can fly around at supersonic. We have hypersonic missiles. We've had them for years. Like, we're just now making it public, but we've had them for years, right? There's a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, like the Scram stuff.
Right. The government has lots of stuff that we don't know about, right? I mean, look how long it took us before we were aware of the Star Wars project, right? I mean, it's like we don't figure out these things until long after. The SR-71 was kept secret for like 30 years, right? People saw it all the time and thought it was a UFO, and it was like, no, they knew what it was. They just couldn't tell anybody because they're like, oh, you got us. You guys got a video of our super hyper secret rocket that we have or whatever. It's like, come on.
Yeah, didn't they have to come out and admit the Aurora project because they were like, it was an experimental plane, an X plane. They call it. They're bunches of experimental aircraft, and it was supposed to work off of like, I think they were trying to get like a slush hydrogen or slush something motor to work. Like, and it's a super thick triangular shape, like real thick looking, whatever. And some of their tests, like they were obvious pictures or something, like clear evidence that they were testing this thing out, and they had to come out and be like, okay, yeah, look, we said this wasn't a thing, but like it totally is a thing. but we scrapped it a while back and that kind of stuff. It happens. Heck, when they were doing the freaking stealth bomber and stuff, that's alien as shit. Like back when that was being developed.
Yeah, if you saw a B2 go over your house, you would shit a brick, dude.
Yeah, nothing like that ever existed when they were testing that shit out. So yeah, that's scary as heck. So yeah, UFOs, sure. Whether it's aliens, if anything, it would have been drones. They're not sending real creatures.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there isn't aliens either. I mean, that'd be silly as big as the universe is, right? I'm just saying that there's so much space between everyone when it takes like freaking 6 months or a year just to get to Mars and our own solar system. And we haven't detected. That's the thing is, like, if there was another civilization that was just one solar system over too, so we'd know about it. We'd already be going back and forth with radio signals. We'd already detect some form of intelligence, and we haven't because it's just they're not there.
Then there's also like we're going a little off topic, but
we go off topic every show. That's the beauty of Tech Talk. It's never on topic.
It's like I know I've mentioned this before, but like there could still be complex, intelligent life forms elsewhere. Heck, even in our own solar system that just don't ever reach beyond their planet. Like, what if Europa has like some sort of ultra, human equivalent under all that ice? We would never know because like.
That is true.
They develop their version of radio or whatever the fuck, but like their development like trajectory is going to be completely different because they're totally underwater. So like they're not. Why would they ever build rockets?
Or why would they ever have radio when sound travels through water like so much better? Like just everything's sound, right?
Right. So that sort of thing is like it's going to be tough to find because like. It isn't necessarily true that everything is going to follow a similar development path as us. And the window where we were just puking signals out of the planet just all willy-nilly is very, very small, like maybe 40 years or so where we just puking radio waves off of the planet. Now everything is very tightly controlled, very tightly focused onto the planet because it's more efficient. So like, even if there was something out there listening and vice versa, where we're listening, the window to find it, we may have already missed it 1,000 years ago. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's like, it's like a time dilation effect over distance. So like the further you get away, I mean, there's so much time difference between us, no matter how we could possibly travel or talk or communicate, even over, even over light speed communication. Like, you just you'd miss each other entirely. Throughout like the entire evolutions of your society. They have to be somewhat close, but I think you're right. I mean, I do think that it's plausible that if life could form here, it could form in other places, and that life could even look different from what we know life could look like. Yeah. There's always that too. It's like, right, we haven't figured out everything in the universe. We figured out the atomic, the subatomic. Now we're down to like the nano scale, we're down to quarks and gluons and shit. And now we're doing, we're just getting into the quantum mechanics, right? It's like, who knows how deep that onion is? We might be through like 3 of a billion layers.
And there's it's my nails, you guys. I have a anxious tick. Like if I have to file at my nails, otherwise I pick them and I pick at my nails.
Hey, file away,
sorry.
brother.
I didn't realize I was making noise.
No, you file away, man. You're a co-host on the show, and if you want to file your nails and do some freaking, you want to give yourself a little mani-pedi or whatever, you go right ahead, sir.
I found it's an expression of stimming, right? For it's how part of my ADD manifests. It's this. Because like otherwise, like I'm constantly like picking out from underneath them just to like keep my hands busy. So sorry, I didn't mean to be annoying.
Dude, what if there was life on the sun? How weird would that be? Like we found creatures on our planet that can live in literal like lava vents and bacteria that survives in these extreme situations that literally 20 years ago we didn't think was possible. Like that biological life could not survive in that situation with that high of sulfur and heat. And what if there is some kind of biological life, or not even biological life? It could be something else, right? Anything that's arranged. Yeah. If a computer can literally exist that does all these things that we created, why couldn't it exist in nature theoretically?
And two, there's there's like varying definitions of life, right? There's also like it isn't necessarily going to be carbon based. Like we've found that like it might actually be possible for there to be like silicon based life forms and stuff. Like just the carbon thing just happened to be convenient here, you know, that kind of stuff. Like,
because like what defines life anyways? Like if you want to go in deep, I mean, literally it's for us, it's neurons. We're just a computer, right? It's a bunch of neurons firing, and it's like we're just our muscle movements, everything I'm doing right now is a coordination of all the data that's been stored in all these neurons that are in my brain, and they're communicating. If those neurons degrade, then I forget who I am. I don't know how to eat anymore. And maybe I even forget to breathe and I die, like Alzheimer's or something like that, right? Yeah. It's like we are whatever our neurons are. Why couldn't that exist in some other form? I mean, as long as something evolves to have a communication, that's what it comes down to. Life is just communication, right? Cells can talk to each other, neurons can talk to each other. It's just a form of communication, just like radio communication. Why couldn't you have something in nature, theoretically, start off is basically a living computer, just like we are, but something else, right? It could be like bits of metal that are transacting, you know, electrons back and forth to give some kind of sensory input from its environment. You know, it's like you could literally have in the infinity of the universe, you know, who knows, there may be a planet of computers out there that are creating humans. Yeah. You know, I know as weird as that sounds, but there could literally be a civilization of naturally evolving computers, like mechanical beings that evolved through recreating themselves. Just like, we're out there like making like, you know, freaking bows and arrows and stuff. And they're like, you know, manufacturing new limbs and new processing units to speed themselves up. And then they're like, one day they're like, you know what? It'd be really cool if we grew some biological like servants, and they're sitting there on their meat computer, you know, talking on their meat internet. You know, it's like, I know, and this is like way off base. I'm not saying that I have any evidence to support this. I'm just saying that in the infinite universe, as weird as it is, that life formed here, we visualize ourselves. I'm sure every cell in our body's like, oh, I'm a living being. Like, you know, it eats, it walks around, it shits, it does all those things, every cell, and they're in the universe that's your body. I'm sure they're not aware that they're like in your body and doing their job for you.
There's a difference. There's difference between life and sentience. Right.
True. Very true.
So,
but what defines sentience?
The bug or whatever is unlikely to be sentient. They are not fully self-aware, right? Or not, and even then there are probably levels to that. Like, you know, my dog, I'm sure, is aware that it is a dog, or in a sense, like that it exists, right? There's no,
it has emotions,
that sort of thing, right? So, like, there's a certain level of self-awareness, right? That that is part of being sentient. But like bacteria, that's just might as well just be like a biological robot. It does its thing because that's what its code is telling it to do. It isn't aware of itself, right? And that it exists within a larger system.
But if you gave a computer sufficient power and sufficient autonomy to learn on its own, like machine learning, for instance, all we are is like when you're born, you have certain functions you can do. You know how to basically like, you know, eat, shit, and sleep. Like that's your bio. Like you don't even know how to walk when you're born, right? That's something that you develop as you go. But there's instinctive things you learn, but you wouldn't speak a language at least not a recognizable language like we have today, unless it was taught to you by another generation as it evolved over time. Like if you didn't learn those things, you would be no different than the dog. You'd be probably cleverer because you have more neurons. And you can store more data, but at the end of the day, you'd be just running around trying to eat shit and survive, right? I mean, that'd be your the only things in your life that would matter. It's what separates us from that is that each generation we're passing on knowledge, and we're giving the next generation a leg up, right? Because we're giving them more information. Same thing with your dog. Like you teach your dog to do tricks. You teach your dog to have empathy. You teach your dog to actually be nice and be happy, and it wants to please you and stuff. These aren't things a dog cares about if it's born in the wild. Right. Like if it's born in the wild, it's going to just like kill shit and eat it to stay alive, right? I mean, it's like you've imparted that on your dog because your dog showed that it has the brain capacity to learn those things. Well, what happens if you gave an inorganic thing like a computer, basically the equivalent of neurons, right? Bits, and you gave them the ability to learn from literally any source. You didn't get to pick where it learns from. You just allow it to get all the data in the world, and depending on what order that data goes in, it's making those decisions to figure out what it does. It would be indistinguishable from human life. Like if you exposed it to the human condition and you gave it the same capabilities and same senses as a human, so say like vision, hearing, and stuff like that, in theory, you would have something that as long as its bits acted the same way as the neurons in your brain, basically picking the more advantageous paths that benefit you, you would in the end up with something that's very human-esque or human-like that would become self-aware, or at least it would appear to be self-aware, which I'm saying that's kind of what we are. Like, we think we're self-aware, but are we really? Where everything that we're saying is a language that we learned growing up. Everything we're using is stuff that was built with technology that was like, you know, pushed by the generation before and then advanced on. It's like, are we really any different than just really fancy computers, like biological computers? And I'd say no.
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, no.
I think we're interesting.
Yeah.
I think that we're unique. I think that we can't predict what each other are going to do with 100% accuracy, so that makes things interesting. But with a computer, you wouldn't be able to do that either. If it was fully open to machine learning and you didn't understand every single data point that it got, just like humans. Right. Nobody knows what data points you got. You could be surfing around on the internet. Your mom don't know what you're looking at, right? You could go to school and be hanging out with the bad kids that your mom doesn't know. There's a lot of inputs that you get that create you as a unique person that no one person understands exactly how you work. But if you raise that person in captivity and you controlled all of their inputs, everything they observed when they observed it, you would arguably be able to predict exactly what that person was going to do. I don't think that experiment's ever been done, but there's no reason why you wouldn't, because you know what knowledge they possess.
Right.
And by observing them with all the inputs, you know exactly what their decision-making process is going to be based on the data and the order that it's given. So if you follow that throughout the entire life and they have no external stimuli, not so much as hearing a voice through a wall, even dreams, like would they have every dream that I've ever had, no matter how bizarre it is always based on something in reality. Like, I still speak English in my dreams. If I'm flying, it's because I've seen Superman do it. You know, it's like everything in my dream, driving a car, it's never like something like really crazy. Like in my dream, I'm like a Salvador Dali painting or something, you know. it's always something based in reality and something that you know, because your brain has to use what you have the canvas that it works with, right? It only has so many paints.
I do think though, and this kind of bumps on that nature versus nurture argument. I do think that there is still going to be an element of randomness to it. You wouldn't be able to, at least on an individual level, predict maybe within a certain level of accuracy, but like regardless of the external data, each individual is going to perceive that differently. And so like that interpretation is going to be like how twins, right? Twins are basically genetic duplicates, but they still end up being different, like personalities and stuff. And so like there has to be some level of like fuzziness to it. It isn't purely just external input that like determines the outcome, you know?
I think that as long as you know the arrangement of every single molecule at any point in time, you could actually predict 100%.
If you get down to that level, sure.
Like, you throw dice. Dice are considered like random to some extent, but if you knew the angle and the velocity of each cube and the density and the air pressure, and if you knew all of that, you would be able to determine with absolute 100% accuracy how the dice were going to land. So even though you think it's random, is it really though? Because it's pseudo random, because you believe it's random and everybody else around you believes it's random, but is it really random?
Random doesn't mean unpredictable.
That's true. That is true.
And so
it's like percentage of predictability, right?
With enough data, yes. If you, and we've had that conversation.
Oh, before. Yeah. No, it's a great conversation.
If you could, with enough input, yes, you could reliably predict an outcome. But like it gets to a point where there's just too much data to process.
Yeah.
You know. So,
but like drugs, I mean, drugs are a great example of this. Like, actually, this is, if you were a sentient being making all your own decisions and you were purely the influence on yourself, and you were basically like somebody, like you could just do anything you wanted, whenever you wanted, with reckless abandon, then how can drugs change that? Because you're literally changing your neurochemistry, which changes how you think and can change your predictability completely, right? I mean, you could have somebody who's the nicest person on earth and pump them full of PCP and beat the shit out of them and have flashing lights, and they're going to go freaking insane and crazy and run around and do stuff. And then when they get through that episode, they'll probably remember what they did, but they're not going to understand why they did it. Just like when you're drunk, you get super, super drunk. You know, sometimes you might start being an ass and take a swing at somebody. And when you're done, you're like apologizing because you're like, why did I do that? That's like so not me. And it's because we're all just victims of, or not, I shouldn't say victims. We kind of are though. We're all just the culmination of all the neurochemistry in our body. Like every muscle movement we do, everything we do, every shit we take is all spurred from chemical reactions in the brain coming to a conclusion. It's just a big logic gate that's just infinitely complex. And so if you could recreate that outside of nature mechanically, you should end up with the same result. You should literally have a computer like wondering where its body is and why it's not aging or why it's not dying if it was exposed with everything and led to believe that it was human. You know, it's like, did you see the story of the narwhal that's with the pod of whales? So, so there's like this up in Alaska, they're studying this. There's this narwhal that got abandoned, you know, but it's roughly the same size as the whales that it's with. So it joined a pod of whales and they basically treat it like it's one of them. And it even acts like them, and it moves, and they accept it as basically this weird whale that's got spots and it's got a big horn sticking out of its head, but they treat it like all the other whales, and it thinks that it's its pod. And you're like, okay, well, that's really interesting, because in nature, the way that they form these pods and everything are from the familiar relationships, right? They're born into a pod, that pod raises them. Every once in a while, one wanders off or gets separated from the pod, and then it goes, joins another one or creates a new pod. But realistically, it's like them accepting that animal and it accepting them was just a product of its environment, right? Like for survival, it needed to find a family, and they were both willing to bypass some of their logic and be like, listen, it's advantageous to have another person in the pod. And it's like, I need a pod to survive, because if I'm a lone wolf, I'm going to get picked off by something. So it's like, that relationship was formed. And I have to believe that if you did that 100 times over, given the exact same variables throughout all, the same outcome would happen.
Yeah, probably.
But the thing is, we just don't know the outcome, right? Like my favorite episode of Futurama is there's an episode where they create a time machine that can't go backwards in time. It can only go forwards in time. Did you ever see that one?
No.
So Farnsworth creates a time machine that can only go forward in time. So they get in it and they go to the future, and then they go a little bit further and they go a little further, and they're trying to find a time where somebody created a time machine that can go backwards in time. So they're literally going forward in time, trying to wait until they get to a time where the technology is sufficiently advanced that they can build a backwards time machine that goes back to their time. They end up finding that time, but then something screws up and they go past it. Well, now the Earth's gone. It's like burned up by the sun, and they're just on this desert plain, and there's no technology, and everything on Earth's dead. And they're like, oh, what do we do? They're like, well, let's just end it. Let's just end it right here. So they just punch it, and they're going to watch the universe end. And so you see the universe expand, it contracts, it explodes, Big Bang happens again, it all distributes, and then it goes through, and all the variables from Big Bang are exactly the same as the first one. So they literally just keep going forward through time until they loop all the way back around to exactly the moment they left, and everything's flawless.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was like, I really like that, because it does show that if all the variables are the same, you should get the same outcome, even over like billions of years. As long as one variable isn't out of place, the reaction should be the same. Because if they were random, how would you have physics? Right. How would you have rules of nature and all? Why would you have why did mathematics work? If random truly existed in nature, like true random, right? Like you could literally have 5 of you and you could all make different decisions, even though up until that point you all had exactly the same data, raised the same biology down to the cellular level. If one of you could make a different decision, then that would throw off everything that we know about math, physics, everything across the entire known universe. Because if you have the same reactions and all the chemicals, and we're all just chemicals and neurons firing and electrical impulses, those all have to apply by the rules of nature. Right. So if you were able to have 2 people with those same exact chemical reactions, everything come to 2 different conclusions, that would irrefutably prove that we're wrong about like the standard mathematical model of the universe is wrong. It doesn't work, you know? And so I know it's kind of a bummer, like when you think about stuff like that, because you're like, man, are we really just automatons? Like depending on like how we're raised and who does, I mean, are we really in charge? But it's like, we kind of are. It's just, we feel like we are. We're carrying out those instructions, but those instructions are new to us, so we don't know any better.
Yeah, I don't know. That's
I mean, it's out there. It's definitely out there. I'm not trying to pitch this as like come join my cult. I'm just saying it makes sense that if you look at everything equal, like if you create an experiment in a petri dish where you have 1 cell and then you feed it in mitosis and it creates 2 cells and then 4 cells and then 8 cells, it's like that becomes a predictable model. You know exactly how much energy you have to put into the system to get the mitosis and create the cells. Right. And you can track that and figure out what it is over time. So if we're just chemical boxes with billions of cells or trillions of cells and neurons firing, you should be able to theoretically track every single one of those variables. And if you could, you should be able to determine exactly what the next firing is going to do, the next million firings, the next 10 million firings, and determine what the action that would create with the muscles and the eyes and the input of the ears. You should be able, if you know every single variable and every input, you should be able to predict with 100% what will happen.
But doesn't the fact of observing it change the outcome? Isn't that the basis for the uncertainty principle?
Well, I could be really, really cheap and just say that that's another variable, so it's predictable. So you would just be able to predict what they would do observing it.
You can't be outside the system enough to where your observations don't affect the result.
I actually agree with you on that. I completely agree with you. But you can react to those observations, which would be predictable. So if you predict that that observing it would change your view, then you changing your view based on observing it is still predictable if you have all the variables of you observing it in the first place.
I feel like the effect of the observation is still only predictable to a certain extent.
So your stance is you think it's a high likelihood of probability, just not 100%.
I do think it would still be, there would still be some level of uncertainty in the outcome. There has to be.
Now to play devil's advocate to myself and decide with your argument, I would say that our knowledge on quantum physics at this point is kind of proving that there is somewhat of a random nature that does exist in nature.
Yeah.
Like random does exist on the quantum level. Like you can have something be both yes, no, and maybe all at the same time simultaneously. And even though that state can be predictable, it's not at 100%.
Yeah.
That's what makes quantum computers so awesome is they don't do the whole yes or no. It's kind of like variable of maybe.
Yeah. It's within, again, with a certain
probability.
It could be a high level of certainty, but I don't think it would ever approach one.
Yeah, if I remember right, quantum mechanics, you cannot
possibly.
Yeah, quantum mechanics, there is no such thing as 100%.
Like, there's also the matter of perception, right? Like, I was talking with the teenager.
I love these conversations. This is what I was
like. I've often said like perception or truth is a matter of perception, right? It's not fact, right? That's different. And she brought up an interesting thing all on her own. Was like, what I see as red looks different to you.
Yeah.
We've agreed, like, because we've all like collectively in school or whatever, and we point at this square and somebody says, this is what blue is. But like, you are going to see blue differently than I see blue. And there's no possible way for me to really know your blue from mine or my red from yours. Because like,
it's like a negotiation. It's like,
how are you going to describe it? How are you going to tell me what the blue looks like?
Well, have you ever seen like how a colorblind person explains things?
Yeah.
It's like a colorblind person. Like you can point at one thing and say that's red, and they'll be like, "Yeah, that's red." And then you put corrective lenses on them, and they're like, "Holy shit, that looks completely different." Now they're really seeing red. They thought it was red because you pointed at them and told it was red, and they're like, "Oh, you're the first person that told me that color is red." Just like learning a new language. If you went to like Italy, and they're like, "That's I don't know what's color for red in Italian. I don't know." Like, okay, we'll do Spanish, like rojo, right? So you're like, oh, that's rojo. They're not thinking that's red in their language. They're thinking that's rojo. So if you taught that to another person that never knew what the color was, I'm saying that's your first language. They're going to point, if your mom tells you the sky is blue, you're going to think it's blue. But if you're raised to believe that's purple and nobody else convinces you it's purple, that sky is always going to be purple to you. And if somebody calls it blue, you're going to be like, you're an idiot.
Well, and then it's an argument of symbolism, right? Like we're just using a different, I could call the sky K. It doesn't matter the symbol as long as we agree that that's what it means,
True. But I will, the one thing I will say, like to concede my argument as far as predictability is I'm not saying that we're just mindless automatons. I'm not trying to minimalize it down to we're all just robots doing our job. What I'm trying to say is that there's no possible way with our current technology that we have to track every single particle, every single piece of matter or antimatter in the universe. Yeah. In real time, even not in real time. There's just the technology doesn't exist, and it may never ever exist because honestly, think about it. The thing that would be able to store that amount of data would have to physically be larger than the universe it occupies. Yeah. So it's not going to exist. It affects its own system. So you could argue that we're both right in that, yes, you could predict everything that we're going to do if you had every single variable, but it's unlikely, if not impossible, that you will ever have all those variables, and you will never have them in real time, which means the next thing that the person does is always going to be one step of ahead of what you can predict.
Right.
Which means realistically, even if random didn't exist, we would never be able to prove that it doesn't.
Right.
So that I'll concede.
We could get to a high level of certainty, but it wouldn't be 100%.
True. Like, I don't think 100% exists.
We're pretty sure shit's not random, but
How weird would that be though? Like how weird would that be if we found out, like, let's say, in the future, we do all this research and we find out that our solar system is literally just a cell. And our galaxy is just a collective cell and organ, and our organs in the universe are a body. And we find out that there is a living, breathing, thinking being that we are all doing our jobs inside of it right now.
Think about all the stuff that must be there that we can't perceive.
Like, is our cells having podcasts right now? Like, are the cells inside of our body, like, their broadcasts, are they doing like their version of a Twitch podcast, and like all the cells are like gathering together and be like, man, this guy's really smart. He's talking about being inside of this giant human being. This sounds awesome. We wouldn't perceive it because it's such a different level that they communicate. We would never perceive that as being random or being intelligent, but to them it is.
Right.
Just like your dog. I'm sure your dog thinks it's the smartest fucking thing on earth, right? I'm sure your dog doesn't look at you and go, my God, that thing is the smartest thing ever, right? I mean, to them, they're like, why doesn't he lick his butt? Why is he using that toilet paper? What an idiot. But the point being is, like, you being yourself, to you, you're kind of the center of the universe. Like, we learn how to play with each other and learn from each other and work collectively together. But realistically, it's like the only person that you have a true point of view and like understand what it's like to be a human is you, like your own personal point of reference. And nobody else, no matter how hard they try to emulate that or mimic it, will never have all the variables.
Yeah.
So you are the one and true and only AuxxZillary. So there is a uniqueness to that we all have. So, but the whole argument that I was going for is, like, if you could, like, in theory, track every single variable, if you can do math and you can write down 4 + 4 = 8, if you can take every single cell, every single atom, every single spin, every quark, everything, and you know exactly how it's acting, and the scientific laws dictate that it has to react to antimatter, null space, whatever. If you know every single thing about everything, if any one of those operations broke protocol, that would be a truly random action, and I don't think our universe could exist. Like, with the laws of physics, I don't think the universe could actually exist if you just had random occurrences where just anything could happen, even though it didn't make sense to physics at all.
Yeah.
So like the sun just decides that it's going to have a nuclear reaction that takes out the entire universe, even though there's like no flammable material to propagate the wave, right? Like, if that just happened, how would you explain it? Because it would be a truly random action, because you know exactly how it's going to happen. We can even predict solar flares now, right? And we're actually not that smart, but we can figure out.
So I feel like you could still have a certain level of chaos, right?
Yeah.
Within an ordered system. So, like, the idea generally accepted is that, like, the universe is trending toward, well, actually, we've observed that the expansion is accelerating, so this doesn't quite line up with the whole entropy thing. But I believe at some point, right, it all eventually just nulls out. The whole idea is that the system wants balance, and by balance, it means, like, just entropy. Eventually, everything's going to vibrate to nothing.
Hey, give me a second. I got to run it. It says real quick. Apparently, one of my friends left a coffee on my porch, and I didn't see the notification. So I'm gonna go.
Shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go collect my coffee. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Keep these guys on their toes. I love conversations like this, because, and just to be clear, guys, I'm not saying that I believe this is 100% true. I don't believe in 100%. I'm just saying that I'm trying to open my mind and look at it like just scientifically, based on just physics. Is it possible that we're just whimsical meat machines? And because we're the machine, we don't really understand, because we're the machine. We're going to do what we're supposed to do, and everything that we do, even me analyzing what I'm doing, is no different than the computer deciding it needs to defrag its hard drive. It's like it's an internal inflection. I'll be right back. Tell them cool stuff, Ox.
To continue down that thought is, like, there, like, think of GTA Online, right? There are, or any sort of emergent gameplay system, there are rules, there's a framework within which the players have to operate within, but within that framework, they're free to do and manipulate those tools in unpredictable ways, right? And so, like why is that concept not like that could be a similar, just bigger, right? That's how the universe works. There are certain rules that you have to abide by, otherwise the whole system falls apart. But within that system, you're free to operate as you will, right? And even then, like even with GTA Online, you can break the rules sometimes, but like there are heavy consequences for that, right? That's how shit breaks. And again, it isn't necessarily breaking the system. It's just using the rules in a way that isn't. I hesitate to use the word natural. That isn't intended by, and this kind of bumps into maybe intelligent design, right? Because where does the framework come from? If I observe you from 7 light minutes away, so by the time I observe you, the action is complete. Well, isn't that how we end up observing most things? Yeah, I don't know. Like there can still be a certain level of randomness and chaos within a not an ordered system, because I think that actually has like a firm definition. And so within a framework of rules. Drink green tea instead of coffee and headaches go away. Yeah, I mean it's still caffeine. You're still just taking the edge off of that caffeine withdrawal. I do enjoy a nice green tea. I bet it has enough bagel and crumbs for me to live in. Today would probably be peanut butter oatmeal. Man, I do love me a good bagel though, and a fucking English muffin. Ugh. Yeah. So I do think like I said, within like the universe or whatever, is sort of emergent gameplay, right? There are certain tools. We were given certain tools and there's a rules and framework to work within. But within that framework and given those tools, we can operate in unpredictable ways.
All right, catch me up. TLDR me.
So I was saying that like I kind of reduced it to GTA Online, right? There's a certain framework. There are rules within the system.
Yep.
But within that system, the players are free to operate in unpredictable ways, right? They're given a lot of flexible tools and certain rules within that they operate within, much like physics and the universe, right? There are certain rules. There's a framework that we can operate within, and sometimes we can break those rules with consequences. No,
you're right. This is actually a good comparison.
But within that framework, we're free to do a lot of random, unpredictable shit. The rules are flexible enough to where we can do a lot of things that might not necessarily be, and I hesitated to use the word natural, right? Because like we, even on this planet, we've done things that perhaps are not easily done by the strict application of the rules, right? But just like GTA Online, I don't think Rockstar really intended for people to do the things that they have done with mods and things like that. But there are certain rules, there are certain tools that operate within the framework, and like the universe probably didn't intend for us to create some of the elements that we have, because like we've used the tools available to us in a very particular and special way to do these things, to come up with these results. But it's still playing by the rules, right? It's still within the framework. These things still are technically possible, although unintended.
No, actually, I think that's a good comparison. I think that's a good comparison because we're just operating. I mean, everything that we know about physics is literally just rules that we've discovered.
Yeah.
And us bending the rules would be finding new ways to do things that previously we thought were against the laws of nature.
Yeah.
Like we've done that, right? Like I'm sure we didn't know that fission and fusion were possible things in the, in the 1700s and 1800s, right? At one point in time we were throwing sticks at each other. We didn't know that you could like explode powder and like shoot a projectile through the air, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things that we've discovered that I guess you could compare to like in GTA, where it's like the developers are like, okay, you got to do the mission, but then instead of doing the mission, you drive downtown and just kill a bunch of people and run them over in your car. And the game's like, well, that's not really how we intended it to be played, but there are consequences. Like the cops are going to come after you. You're going to get a star level. You're going to fail the mission. I mean, there are consequences for your action. You do have to pay for them, but you can do it. Like you can go off the beaten path if that's what you want to do.
And an even higher level, like with GTA Online, like you could cheat, right? You're still using the framework and the tools that are given to you, but you're using them in a way that is exploitive or breaks the server or whatever. And so you're breaking the rules, and so the game crashes or you get banned and things like that. I mean, we're starting to get into different sort of, I think we're taking the analogy a little too far in that sense, but like you can do things within the system that break the system. And like, that's kind of some of the concern with things like the LHC, right? Yeah. Like we're starting to push the boundaries of the rules, and there's concern of, well, what happens when we break the rules? Like, can we break the rules? Like, and what is that even going to look like?
Yeah.
Like,
or is it really even breaking the rules, or is it still operating within the confines of the game, just outside of what they thought you should be able to do?
Right. We just found a new barrier, basically. Like we flex to the rules and we're like, oh shit, now we can do some cool stuff. We can do things that we didn't think we could before. Yeah. Which again, I think applies very well to the GTA Online sort of analogy. Like people took modding tools and started pushing the boundary, or Arma 3 even. Yeah. Like, do you think those guys predicted, they knew that that PUBG was going to come out of it, that people were going to do RP servers and things like that with it, like to the extent that they have? No way.
Actually, I just thought of something while you're talking about gaming. So the gaming analogy is GTA 5, which I would argue is, even by today's standards, a pretty sophisticated game. Like they took Sandbox to a whole new level, system. Right? I love it. I still play it today. But if you think about games over time, like starting with Mario Brothers, right? When you start with a game like Mario Brothers or Pac-Man or something like that, you end up with something that's perfectly predictable unless there's an actual bug. Like it does exactly what you tell it, because every operation is known. The problem is, the more complex something gets, like a game, for instance, the more unknowns can occur. So I think by your analogy, humans are just the ultimate, and obviously self-awareness isn't going to give us the capability to know everything, because you'd have to be on another plane above us to understand everything that we are. So we'll never achieve an absolute perfect understanding of how everything on us works, like down to the nanoscopic level, because at that point we would basically just be building computers, because we'd be programming them. We'd be making custom DNA. We'd be making custom memories and inserting them into your brain and controlling your inputs and outputs to get like a perceived response. And you can do that. That's the thing, is you can do that. I mean, brainwashing, right?
Oh, sure.
Like brainwashing is a great example of this. If you take a human being and you put them in a room and you beat the shit out of them when they believe what they believe today, and then you feed them a steak and massage their feet when they believe what you tell them to believe, they might bullshit you at first, but if you repeat that operation sufficient number of times, they will actually start believing the things that you tell them. And brainwashing works because of the human mechanic that at the end of the day, we are self-aware and we want self-preservation. So anything that allows us to survive versus perishing is going to be the decision that we make when it comes down to being that simple of a decision. So that need to survive makes us predictable in that nature. So which kind of goes back to like, the inputs. If you control all the inputs to somebody, you can, to a reasonable extent, predict the outputs. Maybe not 100%, but like to a reasonable extent. Because I'm sure not everybody's been brainwashed. I'm sure there's been people out there that they tried to brainwash and they're like, no, just kill me. Like my education up to this point, my knowledge of the world makes me feel confident in my decision to just not believe anything and just let you infinitely torture me to death. like there may be somebody out there that is sufficiently prepared to do something like that, but I would argue that's not the average person, obviously. It is interesting though. Like I love these little thought experiments like this. This is what I live for. Like I just sit around in bed and pontificate about shit like this all the time. Because the thing is, like one thing that I think is not really an invalidating point to my argument, but is an interesting variable, is if I'm sitting here talking to you about how I'm a machine, right? and that every input that I have into me is controlling me and dictating my next action, then that means at some point in time throughout my life, something happened that made me feel like I need to have a third-party perspective and self-analyze myself and everything I'm doing. But if that's true, then everything I'm saying right now, talking about knowing everything that I was going to say, is it'd be an infinite loop. It'd be a recursion, right? Because I'm talking about me being a robot, but if that's part of me wanting to talk about me being a robot, which is part of me wanting to talk about me being a robot, you basically just hit an infinite recursion and blow the stack off that thing and you're done. That's a bad developer. It's like, no, don't do that. So there are a lot of arguments to be made for we understand way less than what exists. And I don't think we will ever know everything. And in order for you to predict everything, you would have to know everything. So my argument, what I'll end on here, my closing argument is, if you could predict, or not predict, if you knew every single gluon, nuon, atom, quark, if you knew everything in the universe in its state in real time, you with 100% could predict what every single thing in the universe, you could predict with 100% accuracy, and even run the simulation out to the end of the universe and know exactly where every particle is at every single moment if you knew every single piece of data. That being said, I don't think that it's possible for us ever to achieve a state where we have that knowledge of the universe. Because if we did, we would basically ascend a higher plane, right? Because if we knew how the entire universe worked, we would also know how to manipulate that universe on levels that would completely change the outcome. And now you changing the universe based on your predictions that change the predictions would be equivalent of traveling through time and changing the timeline, which would then add this perceived random nature. So no matter how high of a plane you get to, you are always going to have the opportunity with knowledge to alter that plane. So I guess you could say that, it's an infinite recursion. Like, there's no way that you could ever predict everything, because to have the knowledge to predict everything would then put you in a position to change it. Right. You'd basically be a god. That's what you'd be. You'd be a god. You could just make anything happen at any point in time. And then you wouldn't have to predict it, because you'd literally be creating it. Like the whole universe would just be your little holodeck. Dreams, right? Goals. Those are goals, man. Goals. No, I love talking about that shit, as you clearly can tell. Yeah. Oh yeah. Let's here. Let me hit a couple super chats and then we'll jump into the topics now that we've gone deep into the psychology. No, I love that shit, even though I'm no expert on any of this stuff, and I'm sure there's like a million people out there with PhDs that can be like, oh, here, I can tell you in 10 minutes why you're full of shit. But I like to look at stuff like that and run thought experiments, because it's based on my knowledge of the universe, which isn't very much. I'm not particularly smart in any of these subjects, but I like to just look at it and run like these little simulations in my head. I think a lot of that comes from being a software developer, because when you're a software developer, you can predict a lot of what's going to happen, but not everything. Because you can always have a compiler error, you can always have a single bit error, you can always have a cosmic ray knocking your fucking memory bit out of alignment, you don't have ECC. There's all kinds of weird free radicals that happen when you're programming, and it's combating those, learning about them and protecting yourself from them, that make you a good developer. Like making resilient code. So I'm kind of like beating my own argument to death right now, because it's like the fact that I have to do that with my own code when I know all the variables going in. Well, I guess you could argue I don't know all of them. That's the whole reason why there's a bug. But anyways, you get the idea. It's just this infinite recursion, because like every time you think you know everything, now by you knowing everything, that changes everything. Therefore, now you don't know everything. And that just happens over and over and over again, infinitely, from moment to moment. Hey, Pup Shepherd, thank you for the $5. He said, I'm glad I'm moving. Landlord thinks everything is a fire hazard. Oh shit, Pup, are you getting kicked out? She saw my networking equipment and feared it would burst into flames. It's low voltage. Well, Pup, I got some advice for you, Pup. Go put on your best Pup GIMP mask thing. Go get yourself the ball choker and a chain, and then go up and knock on your landlord's door and give her a proper send off before you leave. Like on your last day, right before you head up, like just go up there and be like, hey, it's been nice living here. Like when there's like no return, go up there. It's been nice living here. Just give her the shock of her life. It'll be hilarious. So make sure you record it and put it on the internet. Karina Freeman, thank you for the $4 tip. I appreciate that. Blue Star Love Life, thank you for the $9.99. He said, nope, I'm 48-year-old. The salesperson and I are lol about it. Hold on, I just put my head into the sand and worked. Metalwork, 3 stories, bag house extra. Okay, I'm not following any of this. Thank you, I feel younger now. Yep, first cell phone. Oh, okay, so you were the guy with the cell phone. So this is your first cell phone. You're 48 years old, and you're a metal worker. Wow. I don't know what a 3 stories bag house extra is, though.
Basically just worked tough, kept his nose to the grindstone.
Got it. There we go. Sometimes when I read these things, I don't get them because I'm dyslexic as hell. Michael Hauser, what's that?
I say I'm a good gister.
Oh, you can get the gist. Like if I just give you a random smattering of words, you can usually gist it. Dude, that's all. See, that's a great skill, man. I wish I had that. Michael Hauser, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said the omnipotence that you speak of is effectively what a Daedric Prince Jigalag tries to achieve. Perfect order undone by madness and randomness. Yeah. So I'm guessing that's a story of somebody who tries to understand the universe, but basically can't because it's so crazy and random.
One of the, I think it was like an Oblivion DLC touched on that.
Because I personally don't believe anybody wants to be evil. Like given like the right variables, I don't believe that anybody would like purposefully want to be an evil person. I believe that people do evil things because they genuinely in their head believe that that's something they have to do. I feel like, you know, all their experiences up until that point basically put them in a position, or mental health, because you also have to realize that some people don't fire on all cylinders, right? They have real mental health problems that can be caused by chemical imbalances in the brain. Like if you have somebody that has massively high like norepinephrine, testosterone, what's the other one that like gets you pretty jacked? Adrenaline. Like if you have really high levels of that, and then you have like really, really, really low levels of say like estrogen and the feel good bits like serotonin, and you know, if you're all out of whack chemically, you can do bad shit. And from your perception, it's like you don't feel like you're doing bad shit. You're just overreacting to the world around you. You're overstimulated. You know, and so you know, it's just like people that are severely autistic that hurt themselves. It's like I don't think their goal is to hurt themselves. It's just their brain is telling them that they need to be doing that at that moment, and if they don't, they feel really uncomfortable. Like, so that's the other component of that, where it's like, you know, if you understood all the variables and you could bring them into alignment, like if you take somebody that had brain damage and restore the broken part of the brain and get their neuron transmission levels back to normal and everything was working normal, you would perceive a huge difference in that person. Like they wouldn't be anything like they were. Like a serial killer, you could take somebody who is a serial killer because of a mental illness, treat them with chemicals or whatever, get them back to a calm frame of mind, and they probably wouldn't be a serial killer anymore because they wouldn't have the urge to anymore, because that urge is all driven by chemical stuff, right? Like whether it be the excitement of doing it or the fear of doing it or the fear of getting caught. It's like, you know, it's adrenaline is a drug, right? Oh, yeah. So I think that you could fix and we actually create a lot of problems with it too, but we fix a lot of problems with pharmacology. But yeah, unfortunately, you know, that's the problem with something like that is you get it wrong a lot of the time, especially when you don't understand every single thing about human biology. In humans, the weird thing about humans is we have a lot of interoperable bits. Like we have interoperable hearts, livers, lungs. I mean, they still have to be matched based on blood type and immunity and stuff like that. But those bits are pretty interchangeable human to human. The brain, however, we know still very little about. Like we understand the gist of how the neurons work. We know how to even pick up electrical signals from the brain, but I mean very rudimentary, right? We can tell when the part of the brain's like generating voltage. That's about it. We don't know 100% like what every voltage means, right? So we can't like read minds. Neuralink can't read a mind. It can just basically get in the ballpark and record a signal when you're thinking or doing something. That signal is going to be different for every single person. So our brain is kind of our unique thing that isn't interchangeable. It's the thing that like defines us. And because it's so different for every person, when you try things to mess with chemicals, like if somebody has ADHD and you give them Adderall, for instance, I take Adderall, it may have one of two effects. It may calm them down and make the world more rational and allow them to focus, or it might make them batshit crazy and bounce off the walls and fucking grind their teeth. You know, it's like, how do you have two people with the same drug have completely different reactions? You know, it's the brain, man.
It's funny because like I get a bit of a mix of that actually. Like it's so they put me on the extended release stuff, and I've just started like my second month because like I was actually off of it the whole week I was in Cancun, so like now I'm kind of starting over. But
it's hard to come back from that, bro.
I notice about 3 hours ish in is like I guess when I'm peaking, because like I feel not like jittery or anything, but like that's when I'm like the most like laser focused. That's the most like motivated in a way.
Yeah. You take XR, right?
Yeah. It's dextroamphetamine
XR.
That's the one.
Release.
Yeah, that's the extended release stuff.
Yeah, the extended release tech tends to have like a peak after 2-3 hours, and then you have pretty hard crash in the afternoon.
Thankfully, so my crash isn't too negative. What I've noticed though is I have to be very conscious about eating. I'll
Yeah, you have to
I'll
force
go
yourself to eat. It kills your
in a
appetite
big
completely.
way. Yeah, like I have to remind myself to snack or something, because like I'll feel it, but it doesn't seem very urgent.
You also don't drink water either. That's the other thing. Is for some
That's
reason
a huge one.
You don't eat and you don't drink water. Amphetamines kill that system of your brain that doesn't want that wants those things.
And that's where to me the crash is that dehydration. The note, like I haven't been binging like I've seen some people like, oh my gosh, 8 o'clock hits and now I'm just like, oh god, I have to eat everything.
That happens to me, by the way. Like I do all my eating in the evening, which is the worst time to do it. But it's like the Adderall kills my appetite. Like I look at food and I'm like, I could eat it, but I just don't want to.
That's it. Yeah. I recognize like, oh yeah, I guess I'm hungry, but like I don't have to take care of that right now. And so, but there's like the other side of it. Like I'm not. It like calms a certain part of me, but also like amps up another side of me. And so this is a game changer for me. Like if I can just like start actually organizing things, getting things listed and like think ahead and like get things planned out, man, I'm gonna be a monster. But that's now for me, it's like now that like there's some focus to the laser, now I have to aim it correctly, and that's my next challenge.
Yeah, no, I struggle with that too. Like as long as if I start doing something and I'm engaged on it, then I can just do it for an infinite amount of time till the task is done. But it's getting that thing in focus and targeting it. If you don't do it by the time your Adderall's like at 100%, then you end up like laser focusing on something that doesn't matter. Right. And you get stuck doing something like watching YouTube videos or something like that. You get
like for me now, I'm like, okay, well, what should I be doing? Like, what am I doing right now? And that's the hard part for me right now. Is like, okay, what's the next thing?
Well, I can tell you my tricks because I've been on it for like 13 years. It's one, always eat in the morning before you take your medicine.
Yep.
So because if you don't, you'll take the medicine within 15 minutes. You'll have no appetite for 8 hours.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I do is I make sure that I drink a shitload of water in the morning, then go take like a big old healthy piss, take my Adderall, and then I won't crave water thing. And so I make sure that I go drink. Like when I go downstairs, I'm like, drink. When I go in the room, drink. Like I don't think about when I'm thirsty. I just every once in a while when I see the bottle of water, I just pick it up and drink it. Yeah. And because if you don't do that, you will dehydrate so fast. Holy crap, man. Plus Adderall is a diuretic, amphetamine. So it flushes the water out of your system and out of your cells. So staying hydrated is even extra hard. So you have to drink more water when you're on ADHD meds, but you don't want to drink water. So it's like a double whammy. It really does screw with you. My biggest problem with it though, and always has been, is the crash at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's readily apparent. Like you can see it in real time. Go watch my Twitch streams. When I hit 5 o'clock, almost to the moment, because I take my Adderall at the same time every day. At 5 p.m., you will see me within a 10 or 15 minute span go from being fully alert and fully aware like this to just like literally losing my thoughts and rambling. And I slow way down. And that's that Adderall crash. And you do level out. Like it goes down and then it comes up and then you're fine for the rest of the night. But that crash is like very real. And the only way to stop that crash, which is what I used to do, but I'll tell you why I don't do it anymore, is I'd take another 5 milligrams of the fast acting. So when I was coming down on the crash right before that, you take the 5 milligrams and that basically just levels you out a little bit and then brings you down slow. But the problem is that suppresses your appetite. Then you can't eat dinner. You still don't drink water. And then like 10 minutes before you go to bed at like 1 a.m., you want to go eat like an entire like, an entire like roast pig or something like that and a quart of ice cream. And that wasn't really working for me. So I was like, I just accept the crash now. You can drink coffee though. The problem with coffee though is it sticks around too long.
Yeah, I don't. I try real hard not to drink coffee after noon.
Yeah, it fucks with my sleep like so bad. Yeah, that's my biggest problem with it. So why don't you tell us, sir, about this Google Supercharge in the YouTubes? People want to know about that.
Cool. This is a cool thing, I guess. Hang on, let me pull up the link again.
The old Googs, man.
Yeah. So they have it's for video processing. They're using like a custom GPU sort of chip to process YouTube videos on the back end.
Who makes
much faster? I believe it's their own.
Google's doing in-house silicon. I didn't know that.
Or it's like custom. Yeah, it's Google has developed a custom chip to keep YouTube. Oh, this is poorly phrased. They have bad.
Oh, it's called the Argos.
Editing.
So
yeah.
Okay.
And so I guess it's just wicked fast. It's way faster at processing your videos. Like it says, when it processes a high resolution 4K video, it can be available to watch in hours instead of days. It's a specialized.
Yeah,
it's a specialized CUDA, like a specialized CUDA chip.
So okay, I'm looking at the layout of the chip. It looks like what they did is, like in a conventional GPU, you have a ton of CUDA cores, like or processing cores, depending on the technology. You have a ton of you have a bunch of pipelines, right, and processors, and then a very small part of your GPU is like an H.264 encoder. Mm-hmm. So what they did is they just ripped out all the freaking cores and just did huge arrays of encoders.
It's just pure. It's pure focused on encoding.
It literally looks like a card that has. Hold on, it says right here. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So basically the entire card is just 10 H.264 or VP. Or actually VP9 looks like what they're using. Yeah. So H.264 VP9 uses about 30% less data for the same image quality. So yeah, they basically just took HEVC encoder that can do H.265, VVC, VP9, and so it does a bunch of them. It's basically hardware accelerated encoding for video, and that's all it does. It's not a GPU at all. It's literally just a video encoding card.
Yeah,
and they just it looks like, and they don't even have headers on the back of them, so it looks like they're just dropping these into as many PCI slots as there are on the motherboard, and you got a rendering farm.
Basically, which makes sense. Like at some point, you do just have compute cards. Like that's all. And
it blows my mind they didn't already have something like this though. Like what were they doing before? Was it just GPUs?
Well, it seems like this has been a thing for a bit, but probably like Tesla cards or something.
Yeah, it does say the Google engineers did design this thing. 100 Google engineers worked on this first design of the chip starting in 2015.
Yep.
Let's see what we got here. Customers have to pay attention to the bandwidth one way or another. Our goal is to make sure that people can get the highest quality video on whatever device they have. Oh, so I wonder if this is doing like real-time transcoding too.
Maybe it seems to be at least the way that the article is talking, that it's like when you upload a video and it's processing, that's what these cards are doing. It's encoding it into the YouTube format, this AV1. AV1 video compression.
So for perspective, 500 hours of video content is uploaded each minute to YouTube right now.
Isn't that insane?
Every minute, 500 hours. Holy shit. Okay, I want to see what the multiplication factor is on that. So 500 hours a minute, right? So 500 times 60. What is that? I probably could have just figured that out. 30,000 minutes every minute. So 30,000 times real time is uploaded to YouTube. How do they even store that? Jesus Christ.
That's what I mean, right? Part of this has to be for storage purposes too, because you're not. Yeah. I upload a 4K video and it's 50 gigabytes or something. They're not storing 50 gigs. They're going to compress that down and re-encode it so that it takes up less space.
Yeah. Wow, and it does say that like the VP9 codec that they use is 30% more compression than even HEVC for similar image quality. So obviously that's huge storage savings, right? When you're talking about like, terabytes, thousands of terabytes or petabytes, actually thousands of petabytes.
So much
of storage, like that's huge savings. Like when you save 30% of the storage, I mean, just if you physically look at that in the size of a data center, that is massive, right? That's like literally building size things that can disappear because of your storage requirements. Yeah. No, that's wild, man. That's absolutely wild. And yeah, they said these cards are like remarkably fast too. Like they can encode a video 20 to 33 times faster than the conventional servers that they were running before.
Love it.
And oh man, that's pretty cool. They should release these cards to the public so people can buy them. Like I'd buy a card with like 8 video encoders in it if I could, like in Adobe Premiere, encode my video in like 30 seconds. I want that. Give that to me, Google. Like sell that to me. That can't be that expensive either. Like honestly, like video encoder chips have been around forever. They just created a board that just dense packs them, right?
That's all it is.
Yeah, they got rid of all the GPU shit and they're just like, let's just make a huge array of video encoder chips. And it looks like, are they using multiple types of video encoders? Like I'm wondering if each video encoder can do the types or if they have different ones for different types.
It seems so. Let's see. It says Google parks 2 Argos chips on each circuit board. The chips also create versions encoded with different compression formats.
Wait, so it's got 2?
Yeah, each circuit board has 2 of these Argos chips. Each chip has 10 encoder modules.
Holy shit! So it can encode 20 videos simultaneously. at 30% faster than what their old data center could. And that's per card. So if you had a system that had 8 slots in it, right? Like how many slots? What's the max PCI slots that you've ever seen on a server motherboard? Like going through Puget?
8.
So 8. So if you got 10 per chip, that's 20 per card.
Yeah.
Times 8. So now you got what, 160?
160 cores, I guess. Yeah.
160 videos. So one server, one little server in a rack could be encoding 20 videos simultaneously. Holy shit. That's awesome, man. Yeah, I had no idea that they had custom silicon doing this.
That's so cool. And good for them. Like, that's great.
You know why they'll never sell this though to the public is because they don't want their competitors to have it, right? They in-house built something that can encode video and save storage and compute time. And those are the two most precious, expensive resources when running a video service, right?
Honestly, since they don't have to have output. These are basically like half thick cards.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
you could use a bus multiplier, right?
Something like that. You can talk to whoever to make some special boards for you that you could probably rack out 12, 20 or 12, 16 of these, some multiple of 2.
Well, have you seen Joel's crypto mining rig? 3D
yeah, things like that.
Yeah,
where they got just a bunch of 1x. They got a bunch of 1x slots on them. Yeah.
So he can run I think it's like up to 19 cards. I don't think he has it fully fitted, but it's either 18 or 19 cards total that thing can run in the chassis, and they can all connect to one motherboard. So, because that's the cool thing about encoding video is you don't need a lot of bandwidth on the bus. You're not sending billions of polygons and textures. You're literally just sending the compressed encoded video. Like you're sending a video stream to it, and it's encoding it and sending it back to you. And it's like over a 1x PCI slot, you probably wouldn't even max it out for bandwidth for the card. So you could, if you could do 20. And if they created a custom card, they probably also have a custom rack mount chassis and everything. I want to see what one of these looks like.
Set. Yeah, the data center here would be neat.
If somebody can find a picture of this in production, like this thing deployed, dense packed in a server, like tag me on Twitter because I want to see what this looks like what a dense packed server does doing this.
Oh man!
And it looks like they kept them really slim, so they're obviously packing them really tight together. And the fans are in that configuration for a push pull airflow through a server rack. I mean, this is cool. This is cool shit, man. And it looks like it takes an external power too, obviously, because it's not going to get enough from the bus for that many encoding chips. But it only has one power connector, so it doesn't look like it's even that greedy on power like a modern GPU would be.
Yeah.
Oh, this is cool shit. Somebody actually mentioned in chat, I saw this talking about the blockchain. Yeah, it was Eon. Eon said IPFS companion, is that being used for YouTube now or that whole thing? No, YouTube does not use IPFS. IPFS is utilized by Library or Odyssey, I believe. If you don't know what IPFS is, it's basically like a distributed blockchain based storage that's peer-to-peer. So basically, instead of having to store big elements of like video and pictures and binary content inside of a crypto blockchain for a cryptocurrency, instead they create like an outside token that you can actually just put the pointer to in the blockchain, and then it points to this IPFS thing, which is a distributed file system across the world. And anybody can put stuff into IPFS as long as you pay the gas fees to like store it in there. And I mean, there's probably some crazy shit in there if you go look through it. But just think of it just as like a giant distributed hard drive that the whole world has access to. And as long as you pay the fees to post there, you can put your shit in there forever. And it will literally live there forever. So be careful. Don't accidentally like double click your dick pics and upload them there because there is no getting it out. Once it's an IPFS, it's an IPFS forever. So what happens on the internet stays on the internet for literally ever.
Yikes.
Let's see here. Bazooka said, PCI Express bifurcation is a thing, especially with PCI 4.0, lots of bandwidth to split. I know of some places. Yeah, no, we've seen the cables. Like you can literally just buy these like cable dividers. They even make backplanes where you just plug in like one thing and it's like 5 more PCIe slots.
There's heck, you can get ITX cases that'll bifurcate one X16 into two 8s, and that's plenty. Like you're probably not going to see much in the way of degradation, like even playing games. You could rock yourself a nice video card at X8 and a network card or something if you wanted to, in addition to that, or a capture card or something, and probably be just fine. Like even without PCIe 4, like we've done, Puget has done some testing, at least as far as like productivity and stuff, Adobe applications and whatnot on, whether X8 or X16 really makes a difference. And it's not it's not significant enough to be too concerned about. There's like some high memory past, back and forth sort of stuff that will be affected, but generally you're pretty okay.
I mean, for video editing and stuff like that, I can't imagine that you're using that much bandwidth on the bus. Now, for like 3D rendering, I would say that you're probably really pushing the limits.
Yeah, there's some effects and whatnot that are incredibly GPU bound, like that will tank your shit just like a 20-second clip, like. And it's not even really super significant kind of stuff. Matt had done some side by side testing with I think it was like it was like Corridor's 6 or 8K footage, and there's like one effect that they apply to like everything. It's some sort of like filter, some color filter or something. Probably like that they put on everything.
Yep.
And he's like, watch this. Like I'll try scrubbing or encoding one without it and with it, and like it's night and day. It'll do like 1 frame per second with it, and then like you can get up to the 24.95 frames per second like without it, kind of a thing. And then there's like some tweaks you can do to like for hardware acceleration and something blah blah blah. There's a good video. Go find it out there. It's on Computer Systems YouTube somewhere. But it's pretty mind blowing the effect that like these certain settings were doing. I wish I could remember more about it.
You want to see some crazy shit that's going on in GPU right now? Here, I'll put a link in chat.
3080 Ti.
No. So the 3 series cards, well, technically the 2 series cards too, because they do have the Turing chips. Have you seen this mesh shader shit that Nvidia's working on? This is some next level shit, man. This is going to be game changer. Like, I know Nvidia's created a lot of things that are kind of willy nilly, like people didn't really adopt, or RTX, the frame rates kind of sucked, so people weren't using it in many things. Stuff that was cool, but it just wasn't really practical use. This is the first thing I've seen in a while from Nvidia that is like game changer for both performance and making it look better. Mm-hmm. And the idea behind these mesh shaders, I just took a cursory look through this thing, is basically teaching your GPU how, or more importantly, allowing developers to teach your GPU how to do more work on the GPU in a faster and more compartmentalized manner. So you're not wasting time. So the way a GPU normally works with all the different shaders that you put on it in the rendering engine, like if you're using DirectX, for instance, you'd go to the thing and you'd say, okay, render all these polygons that are in my world, put all these textures on them, add the lighting effects. Each one of those is like a stage in the pipeline. And what happens is you render all the polygons. Then when you get to the next stage where, you're looking at the camera in the direction you're looking, you just rendered all the polygons that you can't even see. Like the shit that's like occluded behind things and hidden behind things. So you're having to render this entire world, even shit that's like behind you that's not even in your frame of reference is being rendered and moved along with you. And so now what developers can do is they can actually access the GPU and build their own pipeline from soup to nuts using this mesh shader stuff. And it basically allows them to create a logic loop that doesn't do any unnecessary work, or I should say not any, but very little unnecessary work. So if you're looking off into a field, it's only rendering what you can see. And anything that's far away actually gets tessellated down to less polygons. And it's not like it tries to render all the polygons out full scale like it would now and then try to optimize, which just is wasting bandwidth. It just does it right from the beginning. So they're saying there's situations in this where you could probably see like 400, 500, 600% performance increase in frame rate with the same visual quality. And so they actually have a pretty cool demo that you can watch. I think it's at the end of that article I just linked. There's a demo video you can watch called Asteroids Demo. And it's basically a ship flying through like this asteroid belt that's densely populated as far as the eye can see. It literally looks like there's like 1 million asteroids on screen. But because it's only rendering your view, and it's only rendering the asteroids close to you in high resolution and the ones far away in a lower resolution but can't be perceived because the pixel density is so low, it looks like this consistent experience that you're flying through. It looks indistinguishable from having this shader turned off, but it's way higher performance and way smoother. So once this becomes mainstream and you see developers implementing this in the next generation of games, and they will, unless this is my biggest fear with Nvidia, is AMD is actually giving them a good run for their money. I still don't think Nvidia is obviously the leader.
They're getting there.
AMD's good, and the problem is Nvidia keeps trying to create these proprietary technologies that keep AMD from competing, right? I mean, that's how they kind of do their thing, like RTX, right? ATI had to create their own version of it. Now DirectX has to have 2 completely different pipelines depending on which card you have. If they would release this publicly, and allow everybody to do this mesh shader level shit, oh my God, would this get adopted by like every game developer in the world, like right out of the box? But the problem is right now, it looks like it is a massive investment for the developer to build these pipelines using Nvidia tech. And if they do, none of this can work on ATI, or sorry, AMD, I should say. And so that becomes a problem, right? I mean, it's like PhysX. Remember, PhysX never really took off because it's like you had to have a card that supported it and you had to enable it and you got these cool particle effects and shit, but then the developer had to create an entire new code path in the program that would never be used for anything else other than that one thing. And that's how you kill a technology. So I hope that this is one of those things where AMD creates something that's very similar and either they both get implemented in DirectX and Vulkan, or even like Nvidia, just out of the goodness of their heart, because we all know Jensen's like, he's a real team player. Hopefully a leather jacket will allow, some aspect of this to become public domain so that it can be openly used. Yeah. I doubt it, but no, it's a really great concept. I can't believe that they didn't think about doing something like this earlier, but it didn't make sense on older cards because they didn't have the Turing, what are the Turing cores or whatever it is?
I think that's
basically these are like high precision cores that are designed to do like, was it fractional math, like super fast, right? That's why they can do ray tracing. They excel at ray tracing where the old cards couldn't because they literally have optimizations for doing the math required to trace high volumes of particles of light. But the cool thing about that is these processors are also uniquely high performance for other operations. And that includes these pipelines that they can create. Like the whole rendering world of the game basically can be set up on the GPU and run on GPU, which I think is the coolest shit ever. Like imagine your GPU doing like you lessen the bandwidth even going to the GPU, because when you're sending the data to the GPU is doing so much work on board the GPU. Like it's literally running their code on the GPU. It's not having to go back to the CPU and get a new set of instructions and say, do your graphics thing. Right. It's like you're programming the graphics card as you're running the game and saying, set up your pipeline this way for how we're specifically going to use it. And then being able to context swap that thing when you're alt tabbing between things. So if you go from game 1 to game 2, it's able to unload that shader, basically store it and then bring the other one into play. And so you can see, I think it's fucking cool. And what it's going to lead to is what?
Apparently this actually fairly they implemented this at the same time as like DX12 and Vulkan and stuff. This is shader demos from 2018. So like this has been a thing.
Shit, it is. Why am I just hearing about it now?
Because reading some of these comments, it looks like it got overshadowed by the real-time ray tracing stuff instead. This has been a thing.
Honestly, this I don't know why they went the ray tracing route, because this is way more impressive to me.
I agree. Dynamic, like the way that this, I had it muted, but I'm watching them, and then they're pausing and they're doing a swipe thing of like how it's deciding, okay, we only need to do this level of detail for these asteroids, but the ones up closer are a higher level of detail. Yeah. And it's done in real time, or at least from skimming through that article, there's like, it goes through, it scans the index buffer once, and so it knows, like, I guess.
Know why, dude. I bet you this. How much you want to bet this isn't compatible with ray tracing? Because for ray tracing to work, you have to be able to track the path of light even to things that you don't see. And for the light to be accurately reflected, if you lower the poly count on something, it's going to change the angle and direction of the photons.
So, I guess that makes sense.
So I bet you that it was one of those situations where it's like, this gets you high performance and good visual quality, but it doesn't work with RTX. So if they had to push this, then in RTX was the unique thing they had that, AMD didn't have anything like it at the time, right? So yeah, I think they just chose to pick, the thing that was like the new shiny and made their shit look the coolest. But realistically, I think this is way more usable. Like this, like for gaming companies, like if you're given the option, let me ask people in chat. Let's assume everybody, I know nobody has GPUs because they're like $1 billion right now, but let's assume that you all have a 3 series GPU that's capable of running a game with ray tracing on at a reasonable frame rate. Even with the reasonable frame rate in ray tracing, would you still rather run without ray tracing with still really good visuals and baked on lighting and stuff if it doubled or tripled your frame rate? Like, which would you rather have? Would you rather have 120 plus frames per second, or would you be okay with like 50 to 60 frames per second, but with ray tracing enabled? And also, does it matter what gaming content? Like, would you be okay with that, like in an adventure game versus a first person shooter? Because for me personally, it's like the ray tracing stuff is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I love it. And I actually think it does have a practical application, like seeing reflections and stuff when people are coming around buildings. I do believe that it could give you an edge, and especially in VR, which nothing's powerful enough to do ray tracing in VR. But I think ray tracing is amazing. But I think for gaming and the intention of gaming and for skill and low latency, most people turn that shit off unless they're just like doing a visual demo.
I'd rather have away for a moment.
Yeah,
I'm going to use the restroom, and I think one of the little dogs needs to go out. So
do it.
I'll be
do
right
it.
back.
You go take a pee-pee. So I personally would just turn RTX off because, you know, you get used to stuff. Like, you really do just get used to stuff. I've noticed that when you play games, it's like, once you play it for a while, it's like you just get used to the graphics. And it's like, yeah, it might look cooler. Like, GTA is a great example of this. I used to have GTA 5 modded with everything. I put in, I can't even remember the names of the mods. There were so many of them. But I put like 20 mods on GTA 5. And I got it down to running at 4K, I think at 16 frames per second with my Titan XP back when I did this. And it looked photorealistic. Like, you're driving down the roads and it's like everything looked absolutely like ray traced, even though it was fake ray tracing, but still it looked ray traced, photorealistic, the paint on the cars and the reflections, everything. You could not fucking believe how good it looks. Like it looks better than any game that's created today. It makes Cyberpunk look dated. And I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. But it was so slow and the input lag was so bad that I ultimately ended up uninstalling all but like 3 mods. Because having the frame rate consistently above 60 frames per second at 4K was better than it looking absolutely gorgeous at like 1080p running at like half the frame rate. So even though technically like at 1080p, it looked better. Even at 1080p, it looked better than the 4K visually, but you just couldn't see shit as far away. You didn't have the granular control shooting targets at a distance. So I feel like given the option that most people are going to opt for a better gameplay experience and feeling like their controls are more connected versus a more visual experience that you would get from, like, say, a movie. Like with a movie, you're just watching, right? You're just sitting back and watching. So input lag doesn't matter. Watching a movie at 24 frames per second is actually cinematic. It's perfectly enjoyable. But the second you throw a controller in your hand, you have to control the character on the screen. It becomes a huge disadvantage really, really quickly. Even with motion blur and everything like that. Like, honestly, I cannot anything under 60 frames per second just like makes my eye twitch. It really does. Nick said it depends on my monitor and what game. I mean, that is true. Like frame rates look a lot different on, say, CRTs that do scan lines versus like an LCD screen. So, as a matter of fact, that's another thing I've noticed too, is like they need to bring back like CRTs. I know this sounds weird, but I bet you we have the technology to build like a compact CRT now without having to have like a really long tube. I'm sure that we've figured out how to build like sufficient magnets to steer an electron beam that isn't 8 miles long. Because one, they get super bright, like super, super bright, like brighter than any LCD ever could get. Like, you know, if you got a powerful enough electron beam hitting that phosphor layer, it's going to light up and blind you. And the other thing is the round pixels make smaller resolutions look way better. Like, I watched the CRT playing at like, was it 1280 by 720 or so? No, it wasn't even that. It was like 1024 by 768. And I thought that it looked better watching Quake. I watched somebody play Quake on it in one of those retro gaming videos. It was a Sony Trinitron 21 inch running at 1024 by 768 at 90 hertz. And it looked better on that screen, like even with like the camera and it was all focused and everything, it looked better on that than it did on a 20 inch, which is even smaller LCD and 4x3. It was an older LCD or whatever, but with the square pixels running at, I think it was 1280 by 720. So technically a higher resolution, but it looked way more staircasey and you needed more anti-aliasing. So God, I'd love it if they brought back CRTs. That would be awesome. They really should. Is there any companies that make CRTs for anything anymore? Is there any market for them? Like, are there any applications that anybody knows about where a CRT has to be used? Like LCD technology just isn't even practical. Maybe there's like a external appliance or a light gun or a light sensor or something that only works with a cathode ray tube and an electron beam. Like, I'm curious if there's somebody out there still making it, just like the people that still make 24-pin dots matrix printers, even though like who the hell would use those? But it's funny because the old technology is the only thing that works with carbon paper. So if you want a carbon copy, you have to use an impact printer, which means it has to be dots matrix or a typewriter style printer. And so I'm wondering if there's CRT uses somewhere. Please, yes, I demand a modern CRT monitor. I think it would sell really well. Oh, arcade monitors. Are there companies that still make like brand new arcade monitors? Because honestly, last time I went to the arcade, it looked like a lot of arcade cabinets had LCD screens on them. Like I went, I played a golf game. It was an LCD screen. I played this fighting game where it was like 4 versus 4 on each side of the cabinet and it had a giant TV in it. It looks like a lot of them are just moving to LCD screens. CRT adds much additional heat. Well, that's true. That is true. I mean, and power consumption. I know a CRT, they eat power like it's nothing. It's basically like a plasma. Is that you with all the weird background noise over there, like the squeakies and pops, or is that on my side?
Oh, it could have been.
Okay, my headphones sound so freaking realistic. I swear it was in my room. I'm like looking around. I'm like, what's going on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't mute the mic or anything. I mean,
how did your urination adventure go, sir?
Oh, it was a pooping. Coffee. The coffee, man. The coffee does that, man.
I'm on coffee number 2. I'm not even supposed to have 2 coffees with my Adderall. I'm like, I'm breaking all the laws.
I had
you drank a pot,
actual
dude.
cups, half a pot, which I'm sure my doc would not.
No, my doctor like
wag at me a bit, but
I get a lot of latitude with my doctor because I've been on it and I've had so many physicals that he's got a really good read on me. So he gives me a little bit longer leash, but even he said like, don't drink more than 1 caffeinated beverage while you're on your Adderall because people ask me what it's like what's it like being on ADHD medication? It's literally the same as drinking coffee. It's just more controlled and more consistent.
I would agree.
So when on days, because sometimes I don't take my Adderall. Some days I wake up and I don't take it and I'll just drink like a cup of coffee an hour. And to me, it feels almost indistinguishable.
I have noticed because when they first were testing me out the first month, I did notice like I just forgot a day or two, usually a weekend. I did notice that they're like, I'm less awake, I guess. Cause it's a stimulant. There is an upper, like bright, there's like I can feel the surge, right? And like I could tell, like, and then I would question myself, like, wait, did I take my meds or did I just drink like extra coffee today? And it is a very similar feeling.
Yeah.
But like for me, the focus is gone. Like I'm still energized or whatever. Like I'm clear enough to like wanting to do, but man, there's a whole different level of clarity and like thought to action on the meds versus coffee.
Okay.
Like coffee will keep me awake. Coffee will keep me moving, but I don't get the same clarity of thought and the, like it's a thought to action sort of thing.
I guess that's a fair point because I do tend to take my Adderall more on days where I need to be focused on something. Whereas if I'm just chilling in bed and watching TV or having a day off, it's usually coffee. Yeah. So, and I think that's probably just subconsciously because I know the Adderall is going to keep me thinking. The other thing too, is the Adderall is just completely constant. With the coffee, you just get this. Yeah. Like even when you're drinking a cup an hour, it's like 10 minutes into drinking the coffee. If you slam it down, you're just like pinned to the wall. And then you kind of have like a slow roll off on the back. Then you have the next cup of coffee. And if you drink it slower, you're like this throughout the whole day. Adderall is just like whoop, whoop, and then you're level, and then down at the end. And it's very, very predictable and very consistent. So, but people always, I've had people that are like, oh man, like, amphetamines, meth is a drug. It's going to make you like crazy and hallucinate and see shit. And you're going to feel like you're on like opiates and feel like super euphoria and stuff. No, it's none of that. It's absolutely, as a matter of fact, too much Adderall, which I've had because the doctor started me off on like a fucking legendary dose for some reason. I don't know. He must've thought body weight played into it. But no, I didn't get any kind of euphoria. What I got from it was like a tight chest and feeling legitimately like my muscles were sore and like I was super dehydrated. And did it make me any more focused? No, actually. It got me to the point where I was too concerned with everything that was going on with me physically that I couldn't focus on shit. So it took us a while to figure out the right dose. But yeah, no, it's not like, that's the funny thing about drugs. It's never like what you see in the movies. It never is. Like in the movies, you see these people because honestly, dextroamphetamine is just a pharmaceutical grade meth. It's like if you go and cook meth, well, obviously the shit you cook is like of weird purity and you don't know what's in it, the side effects. It's not
as concentrated.
It's not as concentrated, right? But and you have a predictable dose, whereas anything you buy off the street is not going to be a predictable dose. Like nobody out there that's selling this shit on the corner of a street is doing like the accurate measurements and everything down to the microgram. So, eventually you're going to get a hot load and that's not going to be a fun time. But with pharmaceuticals, you still have to find that you have to dial it in for different people. Like, for instance, I have a friend, he takes 40 milligrams twice a day. 220 XRs twice a day, 420 XRs through his day. And if you met him, he is the calmest motherfucker you've ever like met. I mean, literally like Ben Stiller calm. And when he told me what he took, I was like, are you like, whoa, dude, like if I took that, I would just be sitting there wondering if my heart was going to explode.
Yeah.
And he's a small dude. He's not even a big, like I'm a big dude, but blood volume doesn't really play into it when you're talking about something like that affects your brain chemistry. But no, I was like really shocked by that. Some people take an insanely high dose And it's like me, I think I take 120 milligram a day. That's an XR, which is basically the extended release. Yeah, you get 10 milligrams in the beginning instantly, and then the other 10 milligrams dumps on the backside. So as you start to come down off the first dose, the second one like dissolves in your stomach, and you get another go. So it's the same as taking 2 a day spaced out. Yeah, and that seems to do the trick for me. I used to take the fast acting stuff where you just take one, and then 4 hours later or 6 hours later you take another one. The thing I didn't like about that is by the time you remembered to take the second one, you were already in the middle of like a bad crash. And it gets really, really disruptive, especially when I was working as a software developer, when you're like, boom, a crash into the ground, take another one, 15 minutes later, you're like flying to the moon again. It's really disruptive. This is disruptive. You want it nice and smooth. So like at the end of the day, it just rolls off and you don't have to do any good thinking. You know, you can just let it fly. That's why I don't stream it like 9 p.m. at night, because they'll be like, hey guys, what was I thinking? What was I doing? Like it had a huge impact on my life. But the weird thing is, and you'll probably, I don't know, I want to see if you agree with me on this, because this is something I don't think we've talked about. At least I don't think we have. I felt like my ADHD was a superpower when I was single. But then when I got in a relationship, and especially when I had a kid, that's when I went and got medicated, because I could not track all these things that were constantly going through my head. And the Adderall helped me sort all of that out. But before that, when it was just me and I had 100%, control over what I was doing, like I could lock myself in a room, tell nobody to call me, turn off my phone and look at the computer and just do stuff. But when I was in a relationship, I was always thinking about like, hey, where's my girlfriend, or where's my wife? What's she doing? Oh, where's my kid? How's he doing in the hospital? It's like my brain was so divided and so foggy that I needed something to help me focus. And that's when I eventually got medicated. I never felt like I had to be medicated before that. And I actually felt like my ADHD was like a superpower. As a matter of fact, when I went on Adderall, my boss told me like a month after I started taking it, he's like, dude, are you on something? And I was like, and I went to his office. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you're usually like, 1,000 miles per hour in these meetings and stuff. And you've been sitting there and, just kind of like listening, and you seem like a lot more focused. Like, he's like, do I need to be concerned? And then I explained to him, and this is when they had me on the really high dose, by the way. They backed it off and we eventually found like the sweet spot. But no, it was weird. I didn't think anybody would notice, but apparently everybody on the team was like, dude, he's on drugs. I thought I was just like flying under the radar, but no, they like all called me out on it. And then when my boss called me out on it, then everybody else kind of opened up and was like, oh yeah, I thought that there was something weird about you. Like, right. Like, you seem like you're really super hyper focused and everything like that, because that was one of my strengths, was just being able to just be locked in my office and do something for 8 hours without ever leaving the office. Just 100%.
Mine is a little different because I medicated in a different way. So I'm not sure what people are mentioning this nod that I gave, but bong hits for Jesus. So
that's the opposite of Adderall.
I had a very heavy, and people are going to probably push back on this, but I was addicted to being high. Okay, I was, in one form or another, I indulged in marijuana for a long time. No. For a long time. Basically, and I'm free to admit this. It's fine, whatever. It's not a problem like it used to be. But basically, from about the age of 16-ish, 17-ish, to about 30 or so, I was basically high every day, all the time. And so I'm not sure.
Yeah, most people I know that are stoners, they're functional and they smoke every single day, and yeah,
like hey, I was paying my taxes, I was doing my job, I didn't go to jail, that kind of thing, whatever. I was a decent human being, but I did that for and after years of kind of self-reflection and thinking about this, I was doing it to cover other issues, and so like I never really had to experience my ADD or ADHD in its raw form. I knew that the weed was exacerbating a pre-existing condition. Like I can go back to when I was a kid. I wasn't smoking pot as a fourth grader. I know that there was something different or wrong or broken in my mind since I was a kid. And at some point along the line, whether it was like a depression thing or whatever, I found that the altered state of marijuana was better than having to deal with reality in its raw form. However, in a similar way, the relationship that I have with my lady now, and as that grew and evolved, one, I knew, because she wasn't into it, so
that makes it really hard. Yeah, that's
and I didn't want to be high around her. I didn't want to be high around the girls and things like that. It's just, especially not to the extent that I was.
Yeah, it's just like people that drink too. Like if you're in a relationship with somebody else who's also a drinker, even if it's heavy, moderate, whatever, it's like it's a comfortable thing because you both understand it. It's something you're both into. Your lives are, in such a way that you can do it. But if you're, somebody who drinks a lot and you're with somebody who doesn't drink at all, or it really complicates things and makes things like difficult. It's not impossible, but difficult.
And in a similar way though, too, the relationship, really put into contrast the limiting factors of my forgetfulness, of my, mostly just the forgetfulness. The impulsivity and stuff is fine in a way. Like I've learned to curb my blurting and interruption of conversation and things just over the years. But it was having a detrimental effect on our relationship. I forgot an anniversary that I knew about. Like it had been on the calendar. I knew it was coming. I had reminders, and I didn't do anything about it. And that to me was kind of a big moment where I was like, fuck, I really need to start figuring this out. And really started talking to people about it. And there've been like they gave me the antidepressant thing at first, like for anxiety, which was just a further symptom of the ADD. Like I would get anxious about forgetting stuff, and so like I would be over anxious and like freaking out about like, did I forget this? And it would be annoying to have to ask for reminders and things like that. So gone through that. It helped with the anxiety, but it wasn't helping the more serious relationship problem. And so yeah, no, having this diagnosis, I guess, and having somebody willing to try these different things and take my word for it and not just brush it aside as like, oh well, you smoke pot so your brain is fucked. Like it's been great.
Dude, some of the smartest people that I've ever known in my entire life have bad vices.
Oh,
like they do. Honestly, one of the smartest people that I know on planet Earth is, an alcoholic. So some of the smartest people I know on Earth, like even like mutual friends that we have, like smoke weed like every day before, during, after work, and they do genius level things. Like they're amazing at their jobs. And so it just depends, man. It's like people just like everything, people adapt, right? It's like as long as it works in their lifestyle and it works for what they're doing, but it's when it becomes a problem, that's when you have to like change. Right. And that change doesn't necessarily mean you have to stop entirely or anything like that. It's like you just have to strike a balance, right? You have to figure out where it works in your life and it makes you the most comfortable with your new variables.
I still take edible every once in a while because, frankly, being high is better than being drunk. Okay, I mean, I'll have a drink here and there, but I don't wake up the next day feeling like shit. If I even take too much, like sometimes I'll take 2 edibles.
You rebel.
And that's a lot. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is because like that shit's all over the place.
Oh yeah, I accidentally took 8 once. That's I never did it again. It was an accident.
I made my own Rice Krispies one time. So you get the concentrated goo, this RSO, and you put it in, make your own like Rice Krispie treats and stuff. And this is the first time we'd done this at home, and we ate way too much. Like we'd made too small of a batch. Like it was like a 6x6 inch pan, so like they were hefty, way too much. And holy cow, dude! Like an inch square of this stuff, like knocked me. And look, I've got a bit of a tolerance. I've been doing this a long time. Okay, but damn, I was still high the next day.
Yeah, no, edibles stick with you forever. That's the thing. That's the thing I didn't like about them was it's like I want off. Like I'm done with my ride. Like let me off the ride, and I couldn't. And it freaked me out. I couldn't get off of it. I felt like I was on. And plus, it makes time feel like it's going by so slow. Like have you ever gotten to that point where it's like literally like your voice, people's voices sound lower, and their arms are like their movements seem slower, even though they're not. Like I remember when I had the mishap where I had way too much of it. I was like sitting there going like, my wife was laughing at me. She's like, and I watched an episode of Family Guy that felt like it was like 6 hours long. It was the weirdest experience of my entire life. And everybody's and I know people that have had that much before and they're just like fully functioning, you know, it's just, it's really weird. It's like different for different people. It's just like, I've known people that are really bad alcoholics that can literally just drink from the moment. I mean, it's not good for your liver, obviously. It's going to kill it eventually. But I know people that can sit there and literally like wake up in the morning and like crack a beer and drink throughout the entire day and do shots at night and go to sleep and wake up the next day. And they're like, oh, everything's fine. Like no hangover, nothing. You're like, whoa, how, dude? How?
So, because at some point you get to a point where like that is your
baseline
normal state. Yeah. Like you have to be a little buzzed. Otherwise, like you'll be wicked sick. You get all kind of fucked up. Dude, it's no joke.
Yeah, Miss Liz said, you sure that was weed chair? I mean, a friend gave it to me. It was a chocolate bar. He's like, he told me to eat one, and I thought he meant one bar, and it was supposed to be one square, and it was like eight little squares on the bar. I was like, you know, and I ate the whole thing because I ate like 2 or 3 of them, and like nothing happened after like an hour, and I was like, okay, this is weak sauce. It took literally the onset was like 2 hours. It was weird.
Yeah, it'll sneak up on you.
Yeah, I kind of wish that experience never happened because that really made it difficult, like down the road. And and I've had 1 or 2 enjoyable experiences, but everybody's different. For me, it usually makes me sick. It doesn't matter what the ingestion method is. It makes me really upset to my stomach, gives me nausea, and makes me a little bit paranoid. Even when it's stuff like, oh, people are like, oh man, like take this one and there's no paranoia. No, every single thing gave me paranoia. CBD gave me really bad stomach cramps. I was like, wow, I didn't expect that. That's not a common symptom.
Yeah. Nowadays, like smoking makes me super anxious. It doesn't matter what strain. Like it could be your hardcore Gorilla Glue indica stuff, but I still get hyped up and like hand wringing, can't sleep, like anxious, and just that's just the way my body is now.
Well, actually, just smoking in general elevates your heart rate and your blood pressure. Like anything, doesn't matter what it is. It's just your lungs basically trying to extract oxygen through, you know, a bunch of smoke and a bunch of other elements. And then you stack on top of that something that's a psychoactive compound and you have problems. But like me, it's like I take I've taken oxycodone, not every day of my life, but most days of my life since I was, this has been about 13 or 14 years. Nobody takes that shit that long term. It's just, unfortunately, I'm allergic to every other type of medication, like to the point where I have to go to the hospital and have an EpiPen. I've been to the hospital 3 times in an ambulance because of this. It's a specific allergy and I can't take the medicine that would actually help me. So this is literally, out of everything we tried, this is the one thing I have 0 side effects. It did affect me psychologically for about the first 6 months or 8 months, made me feel like a little woozy and a little out of it. But just like everything else, your body resets its baseline. And I've only in 14 years, I've only gone up in dosage twice in 14 years. And they said that that's really unusual because this isn't a medication you use long term. Your body adapts to it way too fast. And it's because I just had to accept that it's never going to get rid of all my pain. It just helps enough to like get me moving and allow me to like function. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. I wish that there was like another solution. We're also thinking about like, I get shots in my back now. Unfortunately, they helped the first time. They didn't help the other 2 times that I got them. They can't repeat. For some reason, we can't strike twice in the same spot. And that's been really frustrating because these shots are like $500 a piece. But we are still actively looking for other solutions. But like, for me, it's like, if you took what I took in a day, you'd probably die, dude. Like, or at least you just sleep through the whole day. Like you would not be able to function or be conscious. And for me, it's like, I can literally take like, you know, a speed typing test and you can, and my score will not change at all between taking it and not taking it. It's actually so little that I forget that I take it. Like I have to actually write a little thing down on a thing to remind myself that I took it, because the effects towards the end are so little that you don't even remember if you took it or not. Like it's very easy to forget. And you would not forget. Like if you've never taken that medicine before and you took it for the first time, you would not forget that you took that medicine. You'd be like drooling on yourself, laying over the arm on the couch, laughing at everything. It's pretty wild, like what your body can adjust to over time. I mean, shit, like, did you see Rush Limbaugh? Holy shit. Rush Limbaugh was taking at one point over 200 milligrams a day of opiates, like, and that was just like the one opiate. He was taking a bunch of other shit on top of that a day. And I was like, dude, that would kill you. That'd kill me probably. Like, and he was like literally going on like a radio show and doing a radio show every day, just like with like his little bag of drugs that he was getting from his dealer every day. And that went on for years and years and years. And you're like, how is that guy not dead? Like, right. It's just wild. But different people, like, you know, once you adapt to something, now the downside is the withdrawal off that had to have been crazy. Like, I'd have to imagine that would have killed him if he didn't go through like a proper detox program or something like that. My rule is I never will go to a level where I can't just have it disappear. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm not going to feel good in like 2 days. I'm going to feel like shit, and I'll probably feel like I have a mild flu and be laid in bed with muscle aches, but I'm not going to be on the ground like, you know, having an exorcist, you know, throwing up, please kill me, please kill me. And I refuse to ever go there because our pharmaceutical system in the United States is so screwed up. There's been many times that they haven't been able to fill my prescription, and then you got to wait for a bunch of red tape. So you're just basically forced into a detox. So I just assume that can happen at any moment. And so I don't want to go because I have a pain doctor that'll give me more. Like, I have a pain doctor that's like, dude, we can just get like, you know, I can actually write, you know, give you more, and we can also supplement it with like gabapentin and a pain patch and all this other stuff. And we can get you like to where you're like super, super comfortable. And I'm like, no, because if you disappear tomorrow or they pass some kind of legislation and it's gone, it's like I am in for like the roughest ride of my life. I think that I'll just accept like 20% pain management to get me at least up and move around, which unfortunately it's getting to the point now where I can't even really do that. But honestly, the drugs will help me be more comfortable, but there's a point where they still aren't going to help me walk. Yeah. So that becomes the big problem. Before it was like just manage the pain because I could still walk, but now my nerves and my legs are physically giving out so that my muscles will just start spasming and stop working. It's basically like imagine your leg just like your nerve just goes AWOL on you. And so no pain management's going to fix that. So I would basically just be making myself comfortable, but I'd be no more functional than I am right now. And so I don't want to go down that avenue. So I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, all right, we're getting close to experimentation time where I'm going to start letting them like put like freaking electrodes in my spine to electrocute the nerves directly. And you guys will know all about it as it happens. So I'll let you know which options we pick and what we try out. They want to put me on something called gabapentin. I'm sure a lot of you know exactly what that is in the chat. The problem is it makes you incredibly fatigued, which I already struggle with fatigue because I don't sleep well. Now, the argument is, he said, with the gabapentin, I'll probably sleep better, which means that I'll probably have more energy and they'll cancel each other out. But I've heard so many horror stories with the gabapentin stuff. Like, that's something I don't know if I really want to mess with or go down that. Oh yeah, dude. It's like, it's basically, I believe it's an opiate. I still believe it's in the opiate family, but you can take it as a oral medication, or you can literally just get a pain patch. That's just 24 hours a day. You just change the patch out like every day or every couple of days. And it's supposed to, it's a specific pain medication that works on nerves. Opiates don't work super well on nerve pain.
They just like block them out, right? Like
this is like a nerve blocker.
Like they just like keep those receptors full, kind of thing.
The only thing, like with opiates, you can feel pain, but it doesn't bother you as much. Like it almost seems like it's more like pressure.
Well, it's like it's like the difference between like touching yourself and pinching yourself, right?
Exactly. It just dulls your senses. That's all it does. And it does it very, very little once you get used to it. Hence why people keep taking more and more and more. And it's like the most addictive substance on planet Earth is fentanyl, right? Which is just a hotter opiate. So you have to be aware of that. You have to know that when you take it, it's going to work flawlessly in the beginning. Then it's not going to work so flawlessly. And then your options are you just accept that it still works a little bit and you keep going on that same dosage, or you go up in dosage to get the same efficacy. But then you're going to have to do that every like 6 months for like the rest of your life. Yeah. And then pretty soon you're taking like, fucking 80 pills a day. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. No, at that point, it's no longer worth anything. Christopher said, keep taking pills and you'll say goodbye to your liver. Actually, untrue. You know me to be a scientist, and I can tell you right now, opiates actually have no depreciating effect whatsoever on your liver or kidneys. It's only Percocet that has Tylenol or acetaminophen in it. Oxycodone itself is incredibly safe to your organs as long as you don't take so much of it that it suppresses your breathing or has a muscle relaxant effect on your nervous system. There's no negative effects to it other than the brain chemistry that it changes. So, and I get physicals every 6 months just to make damn sure that nothing's happening. But that's why I don't have any Tylenol. Usually if they give you any pain medication, they make sure it's mixed with Tylenol. So if you get Vicodin, Tylenol, Percocet, Tylenol. To get the one that doesn't have Tylenol in it, because that can literally be like crushed and snorted and even injected, you have to have like a doctor write a very specific note and sign a pain contract and agree to piss testing and all that shit randomly to be able to get that. Because even though it does, the only reason they put the Tylenol in it is it does help a little bit with pain relief, not as much as you'd think. It's more to prevent you from abusing it, because it literally will kill your liver.
I'd imagine too it helps with the delivery because like it'll it's like a slight blood thinner, right? So like it would help absorb things a little bit, like the Tylenol.
Aspirin is, but I don't think. And I'm allergic to aspirin.
Not acetaminophen
That's Tylenol.
like that.
I don't think Tylenol is a blood thinner, is it?
I would have thought.
To me,
I don't know.
It might actually be. I just never thought. Is Tylenol? Yeah. Okay. So yes. Wait. Is Tylenol a blood thinner? Yes, you can take Tylenol. It's not a drug that slows clotting. There's no such thing as a blood. Wait, there's no such thing as a blood thinner. The blood does not get thinner. The platelets are prevented from clumping and causing clots. Oh, Tylenol is not a blood thinner.
No. Yeah, I've seen it. Does not have the thing as like aspirin does.
And then somebody else answered, yes, Tylenol does thin your blood. Okay, so who the hell do I believe? let me go to one of the ones where it's an actual doctor replying. Let's see here. Yes, you can take Tylenol. It's not a drug that's. It said it's not a drug that slows clotting. There's no such thing as a blood thinner. No, that was the same guy.
Yeah.
So the answer is, if it is a blood thinner, it's not a very good one because I was on Tylenol a lot back in the day, and they still had to put me on a blood thinner when I had the clotting in my chest. So if I know aspirin is though, but I can't take aspirin. Aspirin. So any class of NSAID, if it's a non-steroid anti-inflammatory, that entire class of drug sends me into anaphylaxis. So you have to have an EpiPen around. And I had to learn that the hard way, one by one, because I was like, aspirin, I went to the emergency room. I was like, okay, I'll take Advil instead. Went to the emergency room. I'm like, okay, I'll take naproxen instead. Went to the emergency room. I was like, okay, I'm running out of shit that I can go to the emergency room for. And then finally, one of the doctors on the third trip to the hospital made the connection. He's like, all these drugs are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Yeah, so they tested me for the immune response specifically for that class of medicine. And I'm not allergic to the medication. I'm allergic to what it does. Yeah. Like the effect, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory effect that it causes in your system causes my immune system to just kick into overdrive. And I just plump up even more than I am right now. And I need that fucking EpiPen. But I can tell you right now, the thing is, because I talked to my doctor about that, I was really afraid when they put me on pain medication that it was going to like harm my organs and stuff like that. Because you always hear about that, right? Tylenol will destroy your liver. Like if you take it every day for a period of time, like your liver's gone. Like, I mean, it's actually as hard on your liver, if not harder than alcohol is in volume. It's bad shit. I mean, you can take up to, what is it, like 3,500 or 4,000 milligrams a day for like a short period, like a week or two, and be fine. But if you take that every day for a long period, your liver will be smoked. But no, I asked my doctor about it, and both my pain doctor and my general practitioner said that there is no evidence that the opiates themselves cause any degradation to organs inside of the body. They're nice. They're very soluble. They don't put a stress on your kidneys or your liver. It's only even at excessive amounts. Like my doctor even theorized, he's like, yeah, you could technically, if you took it every day and slowly ramped up the dose, you could get up to taking like 2,000 milligrams a day and you'd feel fine. And it's not really going to do any damage. And I was like, well, that's not what I hear on TV. Like everybody's dying from this shit. He's like, they're not dying from organ failure. They're dying because they're literally suppressing their nervous system and they stop breathing or their heart stops. So that's not organ failure. That's literally like the signaling from your brain gets so dulled down that you can't even drive your organs. Like they literally they suffocate. And so that's something that I was hyper aware of. Like don't get anywhere near that. But I will tell you that opiates are the most addictive thing on earth. I absolutely am addicted to them. Like there's no way to say that you're not when you've been on something for 13 years, regardless of what its use is or what it does for you. It's something that improves my life to the point that without it, my life sucks. So absolutely, that's addiction. Just like you said earlier, it's like being addicted to weed. It's like people are, you can't be addicted to weed. No, you can be addicted to everything. You can be addicted to food. You can be addicted to running. Yeah,
you're not a physical thing.
Yeah,
it's not like Coke, where like your gland is being squeezed like a sponge, and now you're like, oh, I feel like shit because my body isn't creating the chemical that makes me feel good. I was psychologically addicted. I liked being high. I was addicted to being high, not the weed. Right.
No, and that's just it. It's a psychological thing. Like for instance, let me give you an example. So with opiates, that's a literal chemical dependency. So if I come off opiates, my body will dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin levels will go drop. And then it takes a while for them to come back up to baseline. I mean, a while, like it takes a week plus. And so during that week, your body basically feels like it's ill, like you're everything's thrown out. Because remember, if your neurotransmitter levels are all fucked up, your nervous system's all fucked up too. So you're gonna have muscle aches. Your pain threshold goes way down. Like literally somebody pinching you feels like they're like ripping your skin off and shit. It sucks, man. It is not a good feeling. So that's a chemical dependency. But the mental dependency on things like obviously nobody died from a THC overdose.
Yeah.
Like they did, because literally you can't ingest enough to kill you. Like it's only so soluble. Even if you were to smoke it, it's like, yeah, you might asphyxiate yourself or die from the inhalant of the smoke asphyxiating you, but you're not going to die from the chemical THC. That one's relatively safe.
Right.
And as far as the research that I've done, it looks like it does. I mean, just like anything else, it's going to kill some brain cells. I mean, that's it, especially if you're smoking it, because of the delivery mechanism. But you're killing brain cells with a lot of stuff you do. Just breathing like shitty air in your garage while you're sanding apart or painting something. I mean, you're killing your brain cells. So that's going to happen no matter what, depending on like what you're doing and if you're not being safe about it. But as far as like the drug spectrum, that's why THC is like now it's starting to become legalized and people are like actually understanding it. And what it does is, because it doesn't actually physically kill you. Like, I mean, it could inebriate you and you could drive your car into a wall or hit somebody else or go jump off a cliff or slip and fall off a cliff because you're high. That could happen, but you're not going to die from the chemical itself. And that's where it differs from a lot of other drugs, is you can die from the chemicals themselves. Like, even though, like I said, oxycodone doesn't affect your heart or your liver or or even your lungs for that matter in any negligible way, in a high enough concentration, it'll literally stop your brain from making the connection to drive those things. So then you literally just suffocate to death, which is unfortunately what most overdoses are. And that's why, even though I've taken it forever and I'm super responsible with it, I have, what is it? I thought I had one sitting on my desk right here. I must have taken it downstairs. I have what is it called? Naprox? No, not naproxen.
That's like a Aleve, a naproxen sodium.
Yeah, not that. I'm allergic to that. No, shit. What's it called? I forgot. The thing that you stick up your nose and it immediately stops your opioid receptors from accepting any opioids.
Is it pseudoephedrine?
Narcan.
That's in the...
No, they got it in Narcan.
Okay,
So no, I always keep Narcan around, and it's not just for me. It's like if somebody accidentally like stole my medicine or OD'd on it or something like that, I want to make sure that I have something around that I can save them. And Narcan can stop your body instantly from absorbing. It basically just clogs up your opioid receptors instantly. And so if somebody's ODing on it and their heart stops, you can literally squirt this shit in their nose, give them a couple puffs, and they'll pop back into life and they'll be fine for like 10 minutes. You still have to get them to a hospital though for like extended detox and treatment. But anybody that ever has an opiate-based pain medicine around, you should have Narcan. Yeah. It's cheap. You can get it from the pharmacy. Your doctor can write you, same doctor that gives you the medicine can write you a prescription. It's just responsible to have that around no matter what. And I've never had to use it, but I'm glad it's there if I ever do need it. It's like, that's, because you never know, shit can happen, right? So you want to make sure that you have that stuff around. Narcan equals adrenaline? Not really. Not really. You're thinking of epinephrine, which is another thing that they give to people who are having allergic reactions. This is a little different. Narcan literally just prevents your body. It basically causes all your opioid receptors to shut down in your body, and you expunge the opioid that you've like ingested so far into your system, so that your brain, your neurochemical chemistry in your brain comes back almost instantly. It like happens within 30 seconds. It's wicked fast. Like, I watched a video on YouTube of a person that fell on the ground and they were arching their back and they were having a seizure from an opiate overdose, because it fucks up all the signals to your brain and all your organs and muscles start going all wonky, cattywampus. And they literally like grabbed this guy, pinned him, shoved the thing up his nose, sprayed it up his nose, and he like within 10 seconds he was already calming down. And within 30 seconds he returned to sinus rhythm, and they were able to get him onto the table. And he was like fully functional. He was like, "What happened? What happened?" Like, he even seemed like he was sober. Wow. And I was like, whoa, dude, like, how can you, but it's a temporary effect. It's not like you just do that and then you're good for the rest of the night. You have to call 911 and get somebody to get you. Like, same thing with EpiPens. Don't think, if you ever have an allergic reaction and you stab yourself with an EpiPen and then like 30 seconds or 45 seconds later, you feel fine and you're breathing good, you're not okay. All that synthetic adrenaline that you injected you is doing is holding back your histamine response. But as soon as your liver filters that out, you're right back to where you were. Like 100%. So yeah. Basically you're buying yourself 10 to 15 minutes to get to a hospital where they can administer, a continuous drip of adrenaline and also give you a nebulizer to clear your lungs. If you don't do that, you're still going to die. Like, you just bought yourself 15 minutes before you go right back to where you were. So, and anybody that has an EpiPen, I'm sure they've had that talk from the pharmacist. So don't ever think that, like, if you see somebody having an allergic reaction, use your EpiPen on them, because you absolutely should. If you see somebody having an obvious allergic reaction, the pros outweigh the cons using it. But if you do use it, don't just, like, if they feel fine after that, just leave them alone. Like insist upon calling 911 or insist upon transporting them to medical attention, because they'll feel absolutely fine. That's the thing. If you've ever seen somebody use an EpiPen, it's like within a minute or two, they're back exactly. It's like it all the swelling in their face, just it's almost like the water just drains back into their system. Their eyes open up, their throat clears, they're breathing, they're not wheezing. You're like, holy shit, how can something? It's like literally like a hypo spray on Star Trek. It just works instantly. But they don't realize the symptoms come back. They think they're okay. And that can kill you. That decision can absolutely kill you, because then you have a false confidence instead of using that time to actually go get help. Wow. The $1,000 EpiPen. Actually, there's a hack to get around the cost of the EpiPen. One of my friends is an EMT, and he said that you can actually go buy the same exact compound. It's called epinephrine or whatever. You buy the same compound in the little ampules, and you can actually get like 4 doses of it for $25. And then you just buy the disposable syringes, like, like a one-use syringe, and you put the same dosage in it that the EpiPen would have, like into the plunger, and then you just wrap it in electrical tape so that no light can, and put the cap on the end so the needle's not exposed. You wrap it in electrical tape so none of the light gets in there, because the light kills it. Like UV light is what makes this shit ineffective. So you wrap it in there, and then you put it into storage. You have to keep it within a certain temperature range or everything. But yeah, it's the exact same as an EpiPen. The only difference is when you put it in, you have to push the plunger yourself, which you might be afraid of needles, but trust me, I've been there. When you're suffocating and you're not going to take your next breath, and you know that you're going to die, you are just begging somebody to stab you. Like I remember when the first ambulance that I got on, they put the IV in me when I was wheezing and I couldn't breathe. When he was going to put the IV in me, and I'm scared of needles at this point. This is way before I had to go to the hospital and get a bunch of needles stuck in me. I was scared to death. I have never wanted somebody to stick a needle in me so bad. Like I knew that was going to help me. Like he's like, I'm going to insert an IV and this is going to help you, sir. And I'm like, please, faster. Like if you are scared, you will pull that needle out and stab yourself and push the plunger down. So you don't have to worry about, and it's a muscular injection. So you don't have to worry about hitting a vein. You don't have to worry about,
just get it in there.
Just find a big fatty piece of tissue, either on your ass cheek or on your thigh, and just jam that sucker in there and just pump her in as fast as you can. And you're good to go. And then if you can, massage the area a little bit, but I'd imagine that's probably pretty sore after you just jammed it with a giant gauge needle. But yeah, no, you can do that. And then it's like, I think it's like 20. Last time I checked, it was like a couple of years ago, it was $25 for 4 doses, which 4 EpiPens would probably cost you $1,000. So, and it's the same exact thing. Absolutely the same. Kenneth said, Suboxone is the only way I could get clean and live a normal life. Suboxone is a great thing. Suboxone is a synthetic opioid that they use for getting you off an opioid addiction.
Nice.
And Suboxone itself also has some pain relieving effects. So it doesn't just treat the mental addiction, which it does. It gets rid of the mental withdrawal, but it also gets rid of some of the physical pain. Not the same though. I mean, obviously if it was, everybody would just be taking Suboxone. The only problem with Suboxone is it's really, really hard to get off the Suboxone for some people. So what they end up doing is they just transition off of one opiate to the Suboxone, which technically they're more functional because it doesn't have that same opioid effect that clouds your brain. But then they end up getting stuck on that shit too. Same thing happened with methadone. It's like everybody just switched and started taking more methadone, and then they got them hooked on methadone. So there's not, the only real way to like get off of an opiate is it like without a lot of, and trust me, I speak from experience. Again, being on this for 14 years, I've come off, gone on cold turkey, the right way, the wrong way. The right way to come off of it is titration. And that's where you just about every couple of days, you cut the pill in half and you take 1 half less pill every week, little by little. I mean, it can take a long time. It can take 2 months before you're down to like 1 pill a day, but you just slowly do that. And if you do that, the withdrawal is almost not even noticeable. It's very, very little. It's more psychological than anything. So that's the way you're supposed to do it. Coming off cold turkey, as long as you're below a certain amount, is safe, but it's not comfortable. Like you're going to have cramps. You're not going to be able to get comfortable. You might feel some nausea. You're going to feel like you have a fever. You're going to have a headache. Your vision might be blurry. Blood pressure will go up. Heart rate will go up. I mean, all that's typical withdrawal effect from just about anything. But the other thing too is like the withdrawals, depending on how much you're on, might only last like 2 days to as much as like 7. But even at 7 days, even though it might seem like an eternity, it's like at the end of 7 days, you can be completely off of it. Like even on a high dose. And so that's why people go to rehab, because you literally need somebody to basically lock you in a room and make it, you have to give over your will to them, because you'll think it's a great idea until you're, bitchy and pissy and feeling like shit and like doubled over the floor puking on yourself. Then all of a sudden you're like, this is the dumbest idea I ever had. And you're running back to it. So Again, speak from experience. I'm somebody who like, this is something I'm very open about. I know, Ox, it's probably weird for you, but on my Twitch stream, I'm very, very open about all this stuff because as a content creator, I don't want anybody to look at me as a role model, not understanding all of the faults in my life. Like I talk about my therapy, my mental health, all that stuff.
I feel like that's good. It sets a good example. This sort of thing it shouldn't be embarrassing. Like I mostly don't I don't talk about my weed thing a lot because I am a little concerned about how that may reflect to my job. Sure. I'd like to think that, I've done such a great job for the last 5 years that they're probably not going to hold it against me. And as I've stated, I've made tremendous progress in realigning how I handle myself. So I'm less concerned now.
I think that it's like nowadays, now it changes over time, right? Obviously things were stigmatized a lot more before that. Now weed's like a lot more legalized and accepted. So it does make it easier to talk about. Opioids, on the other hand, they've always been shined in a bad light. Even today, they're still shined in a bad light. And I'll even argue rightfully so, because it's not a drug you would ever use recreationally. Honestly, you couldn't pick a worse drug to use recreationally because it's something that unless you are actually using it to combat an actual pain issue, you will actually you will become more dependent on it even faster. Like your dosage go. When you have pain, you at least have this meter in your head that you're basically judging, like the pain and how it affects the pain. But if you don't have that, then you're just shooting for the moon every time, trying to get higher and higher and higher, and that's a losing formula. You will eventually die, like on opiates. So. But I like to talk about this stuff because I think that there's a lot of people online that look at content creators and stuff, and they think that they're somehow these infallible people that have these amazing lives and can do it. And it's like, I know like most of these people behind the scenes, and it's like, I can't think of a single one that what they present on the internet is anywhere close to their real life struggles.
No, it never is.
It never is. So I go the other way. I'm like, let me just lay my struggles out on the table. Let me see, people can see me for they want. And they come after me. I get threats all the time and people I had somebody like try to extort me saying they were going to like tell my wife I watched porn. I'm like, dude, she knows. Like
she was there,
dude. She was literally watching the live stream where I talked about that for like 4 hours. It's like, dude, I'm not sending you any Bitcoins. Get away from me. But I like to present is like humans are human. And I think a lot of people like misjudge themselves, like women that look at like size 0 models on the front of a magazine and don't realize they're like starving themselves for their job. And
you don't see what it takes. And that goes for any level of it. You don't really see what it takes to, it takes 20 years to be an overnight success kind of thing. There's not enough of the documentation of the journey, Yeah. No. I feel it. Yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't realize what time it is. I got you in overtime right now.
Oh, that's okay.
You doing all right?
But maybe another 10 minutes or so.
Okay,
we'll wrap at 1:30. But I just want to say, I was talking with the little one, the intern, just last night. Like I saw her doing some TikTok video or whatever. And I'm like, "Oh, you're gonna post that?" And she goes, "No, dude, I got a bunch of stuff in my drafts and blah blah blah." And I'm like, just put it out there. Like, she's like, "Oh, it's not very good." It's like blah blah blah. She's talking about like, "Oh, I only get so many likes or whatever." And I'm like, you got to think like you're missing part of the thing here. Like these influencers and stuff that she idolizes, this Addison Rae and the D'Amelios and all this stuff. Like they all started at 0.
Yeah.
Right. You go back and you look at their first few. Well, you can't now because people have gone back and liked them. So like the data is a little out of whack. But like their first year of videos and stuff weren't getting that many likes. That's the way it is for all content creators. Everybody starts at 0 followers, 0 likes, 0 everything. Yeah. And so like you just got to put that shit out there. Like eventually you'll do something great.
Is the whole self-made thing is bullshit. Let me explain, and I'm no exception to this rule. Everybody can trace it back if they're honest with themselves. Yeah. You literally get your bump from somebody else every time. It's not like you just create videos and people magically find them on the platform and people all of a sudden you're like a overnight sensation. Unless you do a video where it's like you did something that's absolutely just psychopathic crazy, then it might go viral, that one video. But a viral video doesn't guarantee that you'll take off. I know people that have gotten videos that got 30 million views and every other video on their channel is like under 500 views.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean it. Keeping people around is different, but I will tell you right now that it's the bump that these people get, and you can trace it back for every single one of them. Maybe not the first generation, like when it first started up, the very first people that stuck with it when everybody else didn't. And it was very few people, like the platform only had like 20 people, like PewDiePie, for instance, right?
Right.
If PewDiePie, and nothing against Felix. I like Felix. I think he's actually an interesting person. He's a lot different talking to him in person than he is as the PewDiePie character online. But but like if he started a channel today, he wouldn't be anywhere close to the most famous YouTuber. Like not even close. Right. He's literally the most famous YouTuber because when he started, that was like he was the only one doing that, and he built a giant audience, and then that perpetual motion just kept building and building and building and building and building. But I can tell you right now, everybody I know that has a huge following, you can trace it back to some other big content creator either collaborating with them one or multiple times or boosting their stuff.
Yeah,
like that, and I'm no exception. Like when I did the room tour in the first like week got, you know, decent viewership, couple hundred views, but it wasn't until like was it like PC Master Race or one of those big forums went and got me at the top of the page and posted like an entire article and write up, and then it like went to the moon, and then when it was going to the moon, like Forbes like did a little bit on it, and then there was another online magazine that did. Then I had people messaging me like, hey, you want to come on this news show and talk about it or whatever, and I was like, okay, no, I don't want to do that. But no, everybody was reaching out, right? And then followers were going up, and you can see these like, and if you follow any other YouTuber, if you go look at their stats, like even on something like Social Blade, which honestly the stats there, like don't look at any of the monetary shit. They're total bullshit. I can tell you that from experience. But if you look at the growths, you can usually go and link those events like within a week period of time with events on social media or events on large websites and large corporations promoting that person or collaborating with that person. Like I know many YouTubers that got huge bumps from celebrities, right? They did collabs with celebrities, and that gave them a huge bump, right? That's not a bad thing, but you have to realize that just because you're making content and maybe you're not getting a bunch of viewers right away, that doesn't mean that you're not as good as Addison Rae, like not even close. Like actually you're probably more interesting because you haven't made anything yet and you're a new person and people like new stuff. It's just the right eyes haven't been on you yet. But it will happen if you keep doing it. Eventually, the law of averages, you will have somebody eventually resonate with one of your videos that has a huge following. They're going to tweet it, then those people are going to tweet it and retweet it and retweet it and retweet it, and then 100,000 tweets later, it's viral.
It's all that's it. It's one piece of content that is going to end up making a splash, and that's why you have to just keep like it doesn't matter that this one video only got 5 likes. Like you keep making them. You're going to get better. You're going to and just do the stuff that's fun, right? Like I was telling the little one, the intern, that like you enjoy making the videos, right? Like you have fun with that. Yeah, of course. Well, then just do that. Just make the videos. Like it doesn't matter if only 4 or 5 people like them. Like just have fun with it, and people are gonna find that fun. Like that, and it's like in like Charlie D'Amelio, right? She was trained dancer since she was 4 years old or some shit. Like of course she's gonna be good at dancing at 16 or whatever, because like her entire life had been focused on, like her parents either made her or whatever the fuck. Like she's a professionally trained dancer. So like, yes, of course she's going to be good at dancing. Yeah. And uniqueness is what's going to get somebody to notice you. Like, hey, actually a great example is Eminem. Everybody here knows who Eminem is, right? Yeah. Eminem was literally a nobody until Dr. Dre saw his stuff. And because Justin Bieber. Well, was Justin Bieber another one? He's a 12-year-old kid making YouTube videos. Who was it that discovered Bieber? I think it was Diddy. Okay, yeah, Daddy, I think you're right. Yeah. Like picked him up and made him into something. Like the kid was just some nerd 12-year-old making cover videos on YouTube. Exactly. So being discovered is a big part of the whole formula. And the other thing is never compare yourself to somebody else, because there's always variables that doesn't make that work. Like it really doesn't. Like a lot of people came at me and tried to compare me to another popular tech YouTuber. And if you go look at our courses, it's like we did completely different things, right? It was one went more corporate, worked with large corporations, with large followings. They arranged relationships with celebrities and builds and stuff like that. And each one of those things gave huge bumps that then led to another opportunity, right? Because if they see them do it and it's a successful interaction, then another person's going to want to come in and replicate that success. So you build on that and you build on that and you build on that. And those opportunities showed up for me also along the ways, where just stuff would come out of the woodwork because I do something, then somebody who is more famous than me would find it, they'd promote it, then it would get in front of the eyes of somebody that I never would have reached, or they never would have found me just because the sheer number of things on the internet. So now I'm in their view, they see it, they're interested in it, they elevate it again, and then through 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon, all of a sudden you got a video with like 3 million views,
and you're like, what the hell just happened? But had that first person not seen it, it may have gotten some views, but it never would have grown to that point. Like, you need the right people to see stuff at the right time. And if they don't, it's hugely frustrating. Like, I have people all the time, it's like, oh man, you get 600 views. Like, how do you get 600 viewers or whatever on Twitch, like every stream? It's like, well, I've been streaming for a long, long time. I brought that audience over from YouTube, which, think about it.
Which is incredibly hard.
Yeah, I got 900,000 plus like subscribers on YouTube and like literally like 1 billion views or something like that. And you know how hard it is to get, like, I could get 70,000 people to come over 2 years.
It's, dude, like,
People are very platform loyal.
Yeah, they want to stay on their thing. It is very difficult.
So you can't compare. Don't compare, because the thing is, you're looking at something as apples to apples, and it's never apples to apples. Like if you look, like I had somebody like was going off. I made a tweet about it last night. Somebody was going off about like all these girls that are in hot tubs on Twitch now, and I'm like, but technically it's within the rules. Twitch they found a loophole. Kudos to them, right? They said as long as you're in a pool or in a hot tub, you can wear swimwear.
And even still, like the top 10 streamers, the only woman on that list is Pokimane.
That's true, and she was already like massive anyways.
So like get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah, but the thing is, I see a lot of people that want to try to make excuses for why they're not popular. And the other thing too is like, what about me? I used to get 4,000 live viewers every live stream I did on YouTube. Even when I was on Twitch, I'd get like over about 1,500 to 2,000. Why am I only getting 600 now? Well, it's because I haven't been making a lot of content. People are finding new creators that are making content while I'm not making content, right? It's like when I'm live streaming, I've changed my format. I talk about things that some people don't like me talking about, right? So other new people come in, some old people leave. It's like there's always this turnover. That's why you can't look at it as like apples to apples comparison, because you will go nuts. Like if you try to compare yourself to somebody else, because you may think that those two things are equal in your point of view, but no, completely different ways of getting to their goals. So what I would say is, if you want to be a content creator on the internet, there's just a couple things that I would recommend to you from my own personal experience over 14 years. One is never compare yourself to anybody else. Do not set your goal to achieve what somebody else has achieved or to replicate what they've done. Focus 100% on what you would do. The other thing is, if growth is your goal, then you need to focus more on finding the things that are trending and the things that people are going to most likely be searching for, and model your content around that, but putting your own personal spin on it. Because if you're just replicating everybody else, nobody's going to watch you, because they just go watch the person that does that already. Try to be unique. That's the other thing. Yeah. So it's like, try to be unique. And go ahead.
You are unique.
Well, yeah, by default, right?
Like do just like be literally, like, it seems super whatever, cliche or whatever, but like just really be yourself. Be yourself.
Don't try to be a character. Like, you can play a character if you want, if that's your goal, but like, it's easier just to be yourself.
You gotta like, and like, that's the thing. It's gotta be, you can do that. That it takes the structure. You got guys like Dr. Disrespect. And I remember one dude at TwitchCon a few years back, his whole shtick was like, he had this like dragon onesie thing. It was like a Kirigumi thing. And he wore this crown all the time. And like, that was his gig. He was in character every time I saw it. Like that was his shtick. And like, you can do that. You can totally do that, but own it. Like, it has to be something that you can maintain. Like, you can totally do a character show and be someone else. Look at all the RP servers, like streamers, right?
Yeah,
they're playing their character all the time.
Or
they're
even VTubers, right? Yeah,
they're very rarely themselves, and that's super. But like, own it, and it can evolve and change, and that's good too. Like,
but the most important rule of all, if you're going to be a content creator, and this is the one that I don't think anybody realizes, and I think they almost subconsciously like try to kill that when they go into it, is that no matter what you do, you're always going to have detractors and haters and people that want either attention from you and they're going to force it from you one way or another, or people that just genuinely are so disgusted by what you're doing that they're going to make themselves incredibly vocal. What you have to realize is it doesn't matter what you make. You could make the most perfect content on earth that's the least offensive thing, literally about fluffy kitties getting saved from thunderstorms, and you're going to have some asshole, I'm allergic to cats, you're trying to kill me, you piece of shit. No. Like, you're always going to have people that hate you, so you need to look at it, and because I have so many people message me and say, oh man, I did a stream and I get so much hate and I don't want to stream anymore. It's like, what you have to realize is that hate that they're sending your way is because they want attention from you. That is a great sign.
Yeah.
That is a great sign. If everybody's being quiet and chat isn't interactive and nobody's ever saying anything and they're just sitting there watching, then that's less important than having somebody sit there and trying to get your attention and try. I mean, they're literally, you're such a piece of shit, you're fat, you should kill yourself. It's like the fact that they're sitting there and trying to get me to read their thing and try to interact with them tells me that I'm more important to them than anything else on earth in that moment.
Yeah.
That is a great sign.
Right? Like that's, as it's like a twofold kind of thing. It's one, dude, okay, whatever their words are might be hurtful, but like you just owned that moment for that person for that moment. But also like so like on the one hand, yay, engagement, like it doesn't matter what they say, they took the time to engage. But also the other side of that is empathy, right?
Yeah.
Like that person has some pain in them. And this happens to me. I get riled up about shit. And that is an expression. That's an expression of my not necessarily. It isn't always a painful sort of thing, but it is an expression of some negativity, right? When you are expressing negativity, that has to come from within, or you're reflecting it from somewhere else. Somebody put that voice in your head or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And so like, it's sometimes hard to be empathetic to people who are trying to take out their problems or their negativity on you. But man, like if anything, reflect it back. Like make that a part of your content. Take those hateful comments and respond with kindness. Like force yourself to, you can make a video where, hey, these are the responses I want to make to these hateful comments that I got from this last video. Hey, stink butt McPooper pants 49. Like I thank first off, thank you for commenting. And
engagement is king in this business, dude. Yeah, any engagement.
I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm going to keep doing my thing, and I hope you find something that makes you happy.
Yeah, we actually have a really good example too, because God, I forgot what his name was. Geo something, the flat earth guy from earlier.
Shifter, yeah.
It's like he needed my acknowledgement and attention so much that even when he was banned, after being here for a while and me kind of playing back and forth with him, when I stopped engaging him and then I banned him after he was being obnoxious in chat, he went and created a whole nother account. Like spent his time out of the circle creating that whole other account just so he could come back in and try to engage again. So it's like he really, really needed, like more than anything that was going in his life, more than going to the old Pornhub and rubbing one out, he needed to be here engaging me because he liked seeing that interaction. He liked seeing that a content creator online that's doing this is interacting with him, and that gives him some form of validation, which honestly, that's fine. I mean, I enjoyed that banter up until he got obnoxious and I kicked him out, and he can come back with another account, keep creating accounts. But I'm just saying it's a great example just to show that if people didn't care about what you're doing, and even if you only have one viewer in there that's in chat like, hey, what's up, and like giving you shit, just realize that in that moment you are their world. It could be for a minute, it could be for an hour, it could be for a day, but just realize that even if that person is being nice, mean, it doesn't matter. They are engaging you because in that moment, you are more important to put their energy on than anything else in their life. And that is like a hugely rewarding thing to think about that helps you get away from the negativity of it. And it doesn't always have, like, I'm not going to say it doesn't hurt. It hurts when you get attacked every single day. It starts to make you a little bit jaded. And like, I'm even in therapy for it. So I'm not going to say it's harmless. It's not by a long shot, but I'm just saying it helps me to deal with it. Even talking to my therapist, that the best way to deal with it is just understand that the haters that are coming in, they're exhausting that energy on you because you are really important to them and they see you as somebody who's achieved something they wish they could themselves. And so if you look at it that way and not focus on the words that they're trying to say to be destructive, you realize that they're kind of your biggest fans.
Yeah.
And
like
and it helps you. It really does help to think of it that way.
There's like the cliche line about like you'll either never or rarely be criticized by somebody who is like above you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And,
like,
and largely that's true. Like even in my experience, it doesn't always happen that way, but yeah, it's mostly true.
Like my rich friends aren't making fun of me because I'm not at their level, right? Like they're not, oh man, you're such a loser, or blah blah blah. They, we're friends. Like that's because like it's people who there's always the people who like shit on people, always have some deficiency. Like whether it's PewDiePie saying, oh, I don't know, David Dobrik is a dick. Like, I imagine they're on similar levels. I don't know, but like there's some deficiency in one that is causing them to want to drag the other down.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing too, is just in general, drama sells. The reason you have a lot of negativity is because people thrive on drama because it makes them feel like they're more comfortable and normal when they see other people having struggles. That's another reason why why I'm very, cavalier about talking about my therapy and my mental health and all that stuff, is because it disarms a lot of that. Like, because people want to find that drama. They want to come out and they want to discover that stuff themselves, and they want you to be embarrassed of it so that they can bring it forward and force an engagement and feel like they're the ones that exposed you. And they're trying to use that as an avenue to get fame for themselves. It's true for every drama channel. It doesn't matter. The big ones, the small ones, they all operate on that principle of try to engage another person that's bigger than you are. Try to do something to force them to engage, because if they engage, then they expose their audience to you so that you can then grow. And then the audience is curious about what they have to say, and they go over and watch their content, and then that rinses and repeats. And they're basically being handed a good opportunity from the platform and rewarded because they're getting that engagement. Yeah. And so that's why I've always told everybody, if it's somebody that's engaging you for the purpose of self-growth of their own channel, just ignore them. Like literally just ignore them. Don't even respond. If they come on and be like, oh man, these rumors are coming out and people are attacking, just ban them all, ignore them all, do not engage, because the drama channels can't do shit unless they get you on board, because they can only make so many videos talking about you before they need to get you to engage, or otherwise they don't absorb any more audience and they don't grow. So that's like a piece of advice that I'll give you guys that I've learned over the last 14 years. But I just want you to know, before we end the stream, if you want to be a content creator, people are going to judge you no matter what. And most of the time it's because they want your attention. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. 2, have a lot of confidence. Like if you're going to make content on the internet and you're going to post that shit, don't be so worried about what people think. If it's something that you would enjoy doing and you think it's fun and you think it's funny, I post shit on TikTok all the time, and like half the comments are like, oh man, you're being mean to like mentally ill people. Don't you have a son that's mentally ill or whatever? It's like, yeah, you bent the context so far out of reality because you want my attention, because you're trying to grow a TikTok that when I go to it, all you do is engage other creators larger than you trying to pick a fight. That's your shtick. That's what you do. And once I understand that, then I'm like, okay, it's just engagement, right? And you go through, and that's common. You'll see that no matter what you do, you're going to have somebody that tries to pick a beef or tries to have some kind of a fight with you, because that's good for business in the content creator world. So use it to your advantage. Yeah.
I would say even you don't even have to be confident. Just be honest.
That's true. That's actually true. I agree. I didn't, right? Confidence wasn't the right word for that, but just
be straight up. Like, hey guys, this is my very first video. I feel like this is garbage, but here it is. And there'll be another one next week. There's only one thing that's more important to people than drama on the internet as far as engagement. And that is not just honesty, but relatability. Yo.
And that's where the internet, people try to relate with these family vloggers and stuff like that, but it's because they're relating on the level of that's what they want to be. But you be somebody that resembles what they see in real life, and now all of a sudden you're a whole lot more interesting.
Well, and that's why, you see it in a lot of different levels. People don't want to communicate with a company. They want to communicate with the person running the company, or they want to with a person, a people, with few exceptions, of course, but or even companies, big corporations are tending now to target smaller influencers, like 10,000 or less, because they're more real, they're more relatable. I have to take this call, so I'm going to be quiet.
All right. Get after it. Okay, let's read his lips. Hello, sir. How are you today? Being a content creator on the internet is a hugely rewarding experience. But if you're sensitive, and I am too, I'm a hugely sensitive person, a lot of the stuff that's said to me and the things that people do to me online are very, very cruel and do affect me. It's why I'm in therapy. But therapy has been a huge help, and it helps me understand the psychology of people, why they do that. And then you don't take it as personally anymore. It's like when I have somebody on Twitter that makes a death threat, it's like, yeah, of course I have to follow up and report that, even though it's most likely not credible. You have to understand that person is literally saying whatever they can to get the most shock value possible to try to get your response, because they want to have some kind of control over you and some kind of they want to be able to control your responses and keep you engaged. So they're saying just ridiculous shit that doesn't even make sense anymore, trying to hold your attention. You have to focus on that, not what they're saying. Focus on the fact that your attention is more important to them than anything else in that moment. And if you do that, then it's kind of like, what do they say? Like, picture them with their clothes off, when you're up speaking at the podium or whatever, the old adage. It's kind of like the internet equivalent of that. It's like if these people are being mean and they're engaging you and forcing you to try to interact and trying to guilt trip you and make you feel bad and trying to hold you hostage, these are all things that happen as a content creator. Just sum it all up. Don't look at necessarily the words and the method that they're using. Just look at it and say, if that person really didn't like me, they would just go away. Like, they go find something else to do. They don't care. If you don't like somebody in real life, you don't go hang out with them every single party and argue with them. Like, you just don't hang out with them. If you know they're going to be at the party, you go somewhere else, right? If the internet if they're doing that, it's not because they just dislike you. Because if I dislike somebody, I just don't watch their shit.
Right.
Like, that's what I do. Like, I have, there's people that, big famous people that I don't want. They're like, hey, did you watch that show? It's like, no, I don't really watch that guy because he's a dick. It's like, but that's why I like him. He's so edgy. Well, that's cool because drama does sell. But for me, I have other means of getting my drama. Like, I love drama as much as the next guy, but I have a different flavor of drama that I like. Yeah. And so anyways,
I like it.
I think that there's a lot of people that are way too self-critical about themselves and they end up talking themselves out of doing content creation because of a little bit of a bad experience that they may have had or seen somebody else have. But you have to realize that any engagement is good engagement. It really is.
I know we've said this, I think it was 2 streams back, but I feel like we really should do a stream just surrounded on this topic. I feel like it'd make for honestly a good YouTube video for the channel. Because it doesn't have to be live. It doesn't have to be YouTube. It does, there's different ways of communicating to an audience. Maybe you don't want to do this sort of thing. Totally fine. Video. I don't like doing YouTube videos. I like live content. I'm not very good writer, so I don't have a blog. Right. I try to take good pictures, and I'm interested and motivated to try to take better pictures. I want to try and communicate in that way. But that's important too, is finding a form of communication that resonates with you. And I phrased it that way on purpose because you may not be very good at it in the beginning, but you have to, the part of it is like, I want to write. I feel like that's what I want to do. I want to make videos, and sometimes that's going to be hard at first. But if the passion is there, if the drive is there, and you can get better and make shitty work. It's everybody's first podcast sucked. Everybody's first blog sucked. Everybody's first pencil drawing sucked. Everybody.
Shitty is the new awesome, though, dude.
Everyone. Like, that's part of that. Don't compare yourself to somebody who's already massive. Yep. Because go back and look at PewDiePie's first fucking video. It's probably shit.
Super cringe.
It's probably trash compared to his new stuff. Like, everybody's first one. My first streams with Puget Systems, I didn't have a microphone. I had a C920 that I had personally bought. No microphone. I was showing parts to a camera, looking down on my workbench and typing them out. Like, everybody sucks at the beginning, and just go for it, man. Just keep doing better. Keep making stuff.
Yeah, like I'm actually thinking about creating some new YouTube channels where it's I'm not going to purposefully be like anonymous, but I want to create a character. Like I just want to create a character. And the reason being is like, I'm going to give you guys an example in chat. Like, go check out this channel. This is one of my favorite channels of all time. It's called Bird, BYRD.
Dude, I love you just like busted that out in 3 seconds. Like,
yeah.
All those letters.
Oh, did I? Oh, sorry. I typed
you were just like, yeah, these are fucking great videos.
So Bird is my best example that I share with people of how you can make intentionally try to make a really shitty YouTube channel where you just do whatever you want, whatever comes into your mind, spend the minimal amount of time on it and make the maximum amount of engagement and money. And when you watch this channel, everything in it looks like it was drawn in MS Paint. The animations are absolutely terrible. Some of the videos are only 3 seconds long, but they all have like upwards of 300,000 to like 10 million views. And it's funny because it's like the whole channel is just a voiceover, and even when he fucks up, he doesn't even bother doing a retake. Like, if he just starts like busting up laughing, he'll just, and it's almost like not even script. I don't even think any of it's scripted, honestly. If it is, it's brilliant scripting, because he literally will just be like, "Hey man, I kill you with a knife, stab," and then that's the end of the video, and you're like, "What the fuck just happened?" It just shocks your brain because you're like, "This is so random." and weird and dumb. And like he spent like maybe 20, it took him longer to upload the video than actually creating it. And they're just amazing. And you just watch them end to end. And because they're so short, you can watch like 30 videos on his channel. So your engagement is like 100%. And so this guy figured out how to do this. And I don't even think he did it on purpose. I think it was one of those things he just did like as a joke. He was drunk and it just took off. A lot of people try too hard. You will get diminishing returns. Now, this changes when you get really big. When you get really, really big and you have the budget to get like cameramen and producers and people to write your scripts and teleprompters and stuff, then you can engage the audience that you already have and just kind of hold that audience. But I find there's huge diminishing returns. Every video that I've ever created on my channel where it was a high production value, like going out and shooting with like Volair Media and doing their awesome editing with you know, movie cuts and everything, those videos always underperform my talking head videos where I just turn on the camera and just talk for like 10 minutes. And I could never figure out why the hell that is. And the reason being is people do like the professional aspect thing, but they like it as an addition to. They don't want that to be the primary goal of the video. They want the primary goal of the video to be the content itself, not necessarily the presentation, the clarity. So long as you got good audio, man, your video can suck, your editing can suck. As a matter of fact, that can be beneficial to your video if your jump cut timing's all fucked up and everything. It can make it really funny. And so many people try really hard and they look at somebody like, say, like Linus Tech. I can tell you right now, I did an experiment with Timmy Tech TV back in the day. I don't know if you guys, this was years and years ago. He was frustrated because my channel was growing like crazy and his channel was like, you know, kind of stagnant. And he's like, what am I doing wrong in the videos? Well, the problem was he was doing like meticulous editing where he was explaining things in great detail. And I said, dude, what I want you to do is just go jump cut the shit out of one of your videos and put like 500 jump cuts in it. And he released a video where it's like literally holding the camera. It's like, hey guys, what's going on? Hey, this graphics card's in here. Oh man, this is a piece of shit. Oh my God, I'm gonna drink. Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Okay, I'm back from the bathroom. Let's do this. And it was the most obnoxious thing. And he was like almost embarrassed to post it. And he posted it and that video actually like outperformed everything on his channel. And at the time, now, I mean, he doesn't, I don't think he makes videos anymore, but no, he was like frustrated by that result because he's like, why? He's like, I put all the time into creating a really good informative video, but people would rather watch the video that's half the length, twice the energy, because when you edit with jump cuts and stuff, it gives you the false presence of energy. Like if you ever watched the Internet Historian, for instance, he talks kind of slow, but his jump cuts make it seem like he's saying a lot in a short period of time. So you're like, this dude's like high on crack. But no, if you watch like his live streams and stuff, he's actually like pretty slow and methodical. But you don't get that from the editing. The editing makes the video, and shitty editing is like the new thing. That's what people love. Like whenever I get away from shitty editing, people don't like it. Like when I watch my air conditioner video, I literally, one of my most popular videos right now on my channel is me literally cleaning an air conditioner. Because I just put funny random music in the background. I'm going up and down my stairs, like speeding shit up and, you know, doing like a Three Stooges routine and, you know, just saying, you know, a lot of stupid shit that I never planned on keeping in the video and then ended up keeping it in the video. And you end up with something that's just like really funny and it required a lot less effort. So don't look at other people and be like, oh man, I need a fancy camera. Nope. I need fancy audio equipment. I need to do like really good editing and spend 12 hours on editing. No, just go create something that is just fucking an obnoxious supercut of something that you did with no intention of actually posting it, that you just know that everything that you do in front of the camera, don't censor yourself because you're going to edit it.
Yeah.
Like literally don't think there's a camera looking over your shoulder. Just set up a camera or 2 GoPros, or set up your cell phone and a GoPro, or your cell phone and your webcam, whatever. Set up a couple different cameras, hit record on them all, and just do your thing for a couple of hours. At the end, jump cut that shit together into something obnoxious, throw a little voiceover on if you want, and publish it. Yeah. And watch how that video outperforms everything else you've done.
I dig it.
All right, let me read a couple of these super chats and then we'll get you out of here, bro. Johnny Winner, thank you for the 20 Danish kronars. He said, gotta go now. See you in the next one. Well, bro, you have yourself a wonderful, wonderful night or morning wherever you are. LJ Everett, thank you for the $2 super chat. Said, which we could get more jerry-rigged videos. I'd love to do a lot more jerry-rigged videos. And there's a lot of stuff that I need to do around the house, actually. So that may be something that's coming down the pipeline. I need to take my own fucking advice, because another thing, I talked to my therapist. I'm really good at giving you guys advice I don't take myself. That's a common thing.
It's always easier. Because like I say that same stuff and I'm like, fuck, man, I could be posting more on Twitter or taking weird pictures on Instagram and shit too, and like I don't.
Dude, I bought this over 2 months ago. That's a GoPro 9 with the accessory thing on it, with the shotgun mic and the handhold and the extra batteries. I got all this. I haven't even turned it on but once and plugged it in to use it as a webcam once. And the whole reason that I bought this thing was for the advice that I just gave you. I was like, you know what? I'm going back to formula. I'm going to literally just set this up in like my one other camera, my little RX, hook them onto USB battery packs and just let them record for hours and then just move them around as I'm doing things. Like whether it be cleaning up the room or fixing a door or whatever, and then just go super cut it together and make it funny in editing.
Yeah. The friend of mine, they used to have, I don't know that they produce any content on it anymore, but used to have a YouTube channel where like most of the content was she was like cleaning her house. Or like quick 10-minute, like this is how I get ready in the morning kind of stuff. And she was talking to me about like the ad revenue, and they were making like maybe $600 a month off of just like a few videos of her tidying up the house or whatever. Like, oh, this is the stuff I use for my countertops now. And it was almost like a time lapse kind of thing, or like a sped up, like,
yeah, or like voiceovers. Voiceovers are super popular. I watch lots of voiceovers now where a person will just record themselves. Like I watch a lot of automotive stuff.
Sure.
And there's a channel where a guy literally just goes out and washes his like Ferrari Testarossa, and he's like showing how to clean the paint and everything. But instead of recording as he's doing it, because it's literally an all day thing, he just like super cuts the whole thing, and then it goes like really, really fast. And then he slows it down and he voices over and he's like, yeah, right here I had some swirls you can see that I struggled with. And he'll go do like a little B-roll of it or whatever, put over it. And he just voiceovers the whole video. So all he did was just set up like 2 cameras at different angles. And then he had his phone so that he could do the close-ups when he wanted to. He just pulled out his phone, did a little close-up, and then put his phone back away. He drags all those clips into Adobe Premiere, and he just jump cut, so that it's all the parts of the car for a little period of time. And then he just voiceovers the whole thing as he's watching it for the first time himself. After he went through and edited everything, he's just like, oh, and right here, you can see, oh, the engine's really dirty. Oh, that was nasty. And then if he goes over time, he just grabs that clip and extends it out a little further.
Yep.
So that he can always fit the dialogue in there. And that way you're literally watching the video for your first time and then narrating it. You're kind of doing like the Mystery Science 3000 thing. And people like that because it's like having the director commentary. You feel like you're sitting next to the guy explaining the video and what he's doing instead of you like watching somebody in the video actually doing it.
That's what I want to do with the PC building.
You should. It's really, really fast edit process.
Yeah.
And the other cool thing about it is if you talk, even if it's not the dialogue you use, even if you decide to go voiceover, even if when you're doing the video and you're talking, only talk during the parts of what you're doing you want to display. And then when you drag it into Adobe Premiere, it's flat audio except for where you were talking. And you just go through and just jump cut out all the dead audio spots. And then you disable the audio track and go through and then do your own voiceover dialogue. And that way you cut out all the big 5 and 10 minute gaps where you weren't saying anything because it wasn't anything you wanted to present. Like there's lots of little editing tricks and stuff. They just make this shit like stupid easy to do. And I'll tell you right now, like simple is good. Simple and short. Like right now, I created a YouTube short that got like almost 20,000 views in a day. It's like, that's twice what we get out of a week on the live stream, like in the after views. I got that from like a little short that I put up that was a minute long. So like use
shorts,
that. Yeah. Try them out, man. It's good. It ends up uploading and acting like a real video on your channel, but because you're publishing it as a short, YouTube gives it a lot more presence to your subscribers, so you get way more subscribers engaging it. So if you create a video, go create a short and be like, hey guys, I created this video, and give them like the super cut of it, and be like, if you want to see the whole thing, go over here, and shit like that really, really helps like drive people in to watch it. And always ask people to hit like, always ask people to subscribe. I know those things sound cliche and people are like, I don't want to be that guy, but remember, like 90% of the videos I watch on my TV, which a lot of people watch on mobile devices and TVs, not sitting at a computer, they don't just have a subscribe button on the screen like you do on the computer. They don't just have a like button. You usually have to go into a sub menu or click on a thing to do it. So when you remind them to do it, anytime I'm watching a video, I catch myself doing this. I'll watch like 5 videos. I won't subscribe or like, and then I'll get one in the middle where it's like, hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, please, I'd really appreciate you hit that subscribe. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm enjoying this. And then I go over and I subscribe. So it's like asking people for stuff really does have a positive effect. It really does.
Yeah.
Let's see the rest of these super chats. Kenneth D, thank you for the $10. He said, I take Suboxone like I take my blood pressure meds. I use it as a last ditch effort after cold turkey. This is the medicine to titrate off of oxycodone. Didn't work and I relapsed. I do plan on tapering soon though. Yeah, Suboxone basically just replaces the oxycodone. Many people end up just staying on the Suboxone. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's better than the opiate. Like if your goal is to get off of the side effects without having that high that comes with it. But yeah, unfortunately, that's a common thing with Suboxone is relapse. But you have to try things. You never know if it works unless you try it. And then the last one is from Meme Rascal. Got it. Meme Rascal, thank you for the 10, I think Australian dollars. Said, hey, Jerry and Ox, morning from Australia. Nailed it. Just had our dawn service for Anzac Day. Don't know what that is. So I'm actually awake for your show. Love you guys and hope you're doing well. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm a lot happier now than I was even at the beginning of the stream. And that's another thing I love about creating content on the internet and live streaming specifically, because you don't get this from edited content. is you get to see how people react to it and interact with them in chat. And that's my favorite thing about doing all this is like just watching chat and interacting with people, because this is like my new social life. And over on Twitch, that's what I do. So segue, if you guys want to watch us over on Twitch, we each do our own shows over on Twitch. Check the video description for those links to everything. Also, we're mostly active on the Twitter social media network. So if you want to talk to us publicly and get answers to your questions, stuff, just tag us on Twitter and throw shit our way. We usually see all of it because we're freaking social media whores. And on that note, we are an hour over our normal broadcast, which may be a new record for this thing.
I think so.
And we didn't talk about AirDrop could be hacked, but we can talk about that on the next one.
Sure,
we will get to it, and who knows? Maybe we'll even talk about it on our independent streams over on Twitch, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on Tech Talk. We'll be back again. Business. Yep, we'll be back on Saturday next week. Same bat time, same bat place, 10 a.m. Pacific time here on YouTube /Barnacules 1. And David should be rejoining us next week after he gets his head above taxes, unless the tax man takes him to jail.
Let me check my calendar.
Ox is checking his calendar.
Oh, never mind. That's at the end of May.
Stop trying to check out on me, bro. Jesus.
Hey, dude.
Did you find a better deal than me? Be honest. Did you find a better deal? Are you moonlighting on another show I don't know about?
Nah.
Ox?
I'd promote it here if I did.
You would too, man.
I'd buy my own ad space. I'd buy my own ad space.
Wouldn't it be funny if I never noticed it through the whole show? It's like down the bottom. It's like, come see my new show where I keep 100% of the super chats.
You got to translate the binary.
Totally. Totally, man. You get 1001.
Always drink your Ovaltine.
What did you say to me? 101100. You son of a bitch. 101011 you. Anyways, guys, thank you for everything. Thank you for the super chats. We really appreciate it. We both split those down the center both ways. And that's how we do our thing and how we make our living. And if you guys got any more questions about content creation and stuff, by all means, come over to Twitter, hit us up. And Twitch, when I do Twitch, I'm much more interactive with the audience than during Tech Talk, because with Tech Talk, where, this is our time to hang out and talk. We still engage chat and the super chats and stuff, but when I'm doing the show all by myself on Twitch, that's when I'm most interactive with the audience. So if you want to go back and forth on a subject or something, that's definitely the place to do it. And on that note, we're gonna. Oh, what do you got? You got something?
Oh, I was just gonna say about the content creation stuff and hitting up on other channels. Like I get super hyped for other people's stuff. So like I'm if you got some weird thing, I'm a big hype guy for sure. Like, dude, go whatever your thing is. I'll hype you up, and that's the coolest shit in the world. So do it.
My hype boy. He's our little Anthony Robbins with a beard.
I do it.
He's like Tony Robbins. All right, guys. Man, this has been fun. This was a fun one today. I didn't think it was going to turn out like this. This was awesome, dude. We went deep. We went really deep down the rabbit hole. Also, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you share the link to the VOD after the stream,
please do,
so that people can come and check it out. Maybe even discover the show and come hang out for the next live one. We definitely need to work on our self-promotion a little bit, because it's almost non-existent at this point. So yeah. And again, if you don't ask people, like, could you please subscribe? Please hit the like button on the way out. Anytime I ever ask people to hit the like button on the way out, we get like 3 times the likes of the stream that we don't. So it really does help to just like throw that out there, because people just genuinely forget. They're just not thinking about it. But it does actually help us out a lot. And the more that we can grow and maintain and like get up, the more that we can dedicate to this and we can keep doing it. So it does help out like tremendously. You might not think it helps out that much, but like even just a tiny bit here and there with a like and a follow and a comment, all that shit adds up in the end. All right, guys, love you long time. We will see you next week. Or if you want to see us sooner than that, again on Twitch, all the links to everything social media, including David, who couldn't make it today. All of his stuff's also down in the video description. So check that out. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
All right. Bye.
Give him the wave. Got to give him that princess wave.